Although the opportunity was right in front of him, Fang Qing was more cautious. He held a second-level high-grade escape talisman in his hand and let Qin Rushue walk in front to explore the way. The two entered the cave, and as expected, the cold air became more and more pressing, and layers of black ice condensed around them, exuding colorful and beautiful colors. After walking down for a while, my sight suddenly opened to an underground ice cave. Icicles stand up one after another, and in the middle is a spiritual spring filled with cold air. Bingpa Cave? Qin Rushue's eyes lit up. Read this book. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. Ice picks formed out of thin air and hit Qin Rushue's tortoise-shell shield. Qin Rushue's pretty face turned red and she almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Fang Qing shook his 100 souls, and second-level demon souls pounced out, killing in a certain direction. An icicle shattered, revealing a mid-stage foundation-building monk wearing white clothes and an old face. Thieves of Baihaman, suffer death. He roared angrily, clasped his hands, and cold thunder emerged. Second-level ice soul thunder method? Is this person the master of the Zhong family's punishment hall? Qin Rushue was surprised. With this person's foundation cultivation, and his ice thunder Dao technique, if she were to face him alone, she would definitely be dead. Not to mention, she was injured in a sneak attack before. If it weren't for the second-level body refining, it wouldn't have been a minor injury just now, but a serious injury. Fortunately at this time, several shields appeared to resist the ice soul divine thunder. Fang Qing made a secret with his hands, and drops of liquid mana disappeared into the 100-soul banner. Hiss. A huge crimson sea python spirit emerged, controlling many second-level demon souls, forming a formation, and a heavy black mist shrouded the Zhong family monks. Ah? A high-grade spiritual weapon? Peak cultivation level in the early stage of foundation building? Who are you? The Zhong family monk was shocked. Although he was determined to die, he still wanted to kill a few more Baihaman to build foundations. Unexpectedly, he encountered a tough opponent in the first wave. The dead don't have to know so much. Fang Qing pressed his eyebrows, and the demon subduing Vidra's spiritual attack suddenly fell, causing severe pain in the middle stage foundation building monk's eyebrows. Hiss. The red sea python hissed and twitched its tail fiercely. Next to her, Qin Rushue had begun to take out the formation flags and arrange the formation. The two of them cooperated extremely well and treated the Zhong family monk as a sea monster. A moment later. Ah, I am not willing to give in. The Zhong family monk screamed and turned into a corpse under the siege of many second-level demon spirits and Guishueyin lay. Young master, Qin Rushue stepped forward to touch the corpse, but had an unlucky look on her face. There are only a few middle-grade spiritual stones, what a poor man. I am afraid that this person gave all his wealth to those Zhong family seeds who escaped. Fang Qing came to the ice soul cold spring and felt the overflowing cold air. The third-level spiritual spring is really a good place for alchemy. His consciousness swept over and found 2 ice soul cold hearts in the spring. Of course, they were only second-level ones. This spiritual object can assist the foundation-building monks to break through their spiritual consciousness. If it is nurtured for hundreds of years, it may reach the 3rd level, and then it will be a pill-forming spiritual object worth 100 times. Even the Zhong family was reluctant to destroy it before leaving, probably with the idea of making a comeback one day. But Fang Qing didn't care at all and took it away directly, burning the piano and boiling the crane. Hundreds of years later, no matter how good the elixir-forming spiritual object is, it belongs to Baihaman. Everything that goes into your stomach now belongs to you. He still knows this clearly. Let's go. After doing all this, Fang Qing took Qin Rushue to Shangfang Medicine Garden, preparing to continue the sweep. At this moment, his consciousness suddenly felt a terrifying ice spiritual power, and the core of the self-formed pill battle zone exploded. Is it the ancestor of the Zhong family? He fell? Qin Rushue was also surprised, and then a little confused. This battle is finally over. If you stand high in the sky, you will find that after the ancestor of the Zhong family died in the battle, the remaining resistance of the Zhong family melted like snowflakes in an instant. Junior brother Linghu, how do you feel? Wang Jishuan handed over a 3rd-level healing elixir and watched Linghu Jin take it. This old ghost is so cruel, he wants to drag me to death together. Thanks to the 3rd-level defense talisman given by my senior sister in advance, otherwise this old ghost would have succeeded. Linghu Jin's face was originally black and blue. After swallowing the pill, he finally looked better. He just said when he spoke, there was still a cold air, which turned into ice slag and fell. Fortunately, I finally killed this old ghost, and we can unify the Zio Wanhai, and I can comfort the ancestor. This man is very poor, and only has one life magic weapon, the Ice Soul Bead. It seems that all the information is given to the group of monks who escaped from the Zhong family. Wang Jishuan said. After I returned, I issued a pursuit order, especially for Zhong Lingxiu. Linghu ancestor had a murderous intention. Ruan Jishuan was non-committal, and flipped her palm, and a third-level demon elixir emerged. You also have a share of the inner elixir that can overturn the turtle. This elixir, Linghu ancestor's eyes flashed. Can you refine another tidal pearl? In addition to the third-level demon elixir as the main material, the refining of the tid Al pearl also requires several rare third-level spiritual objects. The ones I used before were also some of the remaining sect treasures of the Bihai Patriarch. Now I am afraid I can only go to the East China Sea cultivation world to get them together. What's more, there is no second fake elixir monk practicing Bihai Gong in this sect. Ruan Jishuan shook her head. I think this elixir can be used as a material for you to break through the elixir formation. After this battle, it will not be difficult for our sect to piece together a source of elixir formation. I hope you can successfully form the elixir formation. If you break through the pill formation, you can live 500 years. Furthermore, the tidal bead can be left free, waiting for the next fake elixir monk. If everything goes well, Baihaman will have 3 core-forming combat forces in the future. Thank you, senior sister. Linghu Jin was overjoyed. A few months later. Jasper Island, Xuanbi Cave. Finally, back, looking at the Xuanbi Cave that was exactly the same as before leaving, Fang Qing sighed with satisfaction. This time I have been out fighting for many years. Although the harvest is quite rich, I am also really tired. Not only him, but also other monks in the sect. Fortunately, Baihaman is now the undoubted overlord of Zio Wanhai, and things will be good from now on. Baihaman obviously also knows the principle of tightness and tightness. Not only did they distribute a large amount of resource rewards, but they also announced that Qi refining disciples would be exempted from mandatory tasks for 5 years to recuperate. This is especially true for foundation-building monks. They can be free, practice, visit friends, and enjoy life. Young master, the General Affairs Hall has issued garrison tasks, and the rewards are very generous, especially for the second-level formation mage. Qin Rushue is a little moved. Now the sect has Tianqin, the 2 third-level spiritual veins of Lianlianai. Sland and Taibai Island certainly need to be garrisoned by foundation-building monks. Among them, Tianqin Lianlian Island is full of spiritual energy. Although Taibai Island almost fell down the rank, it has a third-level ice soul cold spring. What's more important is that this kind of garrison task is not only easy, the environment is good, but the treatment is also extremely generous. I plan to stay in seclusion within the sect for a period of time. You can do whatever you want. Fang Qing waved his hand. But if there is a chance, it would be better for Taibai Island to fight for the opportunity to use the ice-cold spring. Yes, I understand. Qin Rushua nodded, and said, I also received a few transmission notes, involving Linghu Zhong and others. It is a matter of changing the sect's positions. In the 10 years of war, many people died in Baihaman's foundation building, including Tianqing, the powerful elder. Of course I need to add them one by one afterwards. The power struggles within these sects are related to every foundation-building elder. After all, every foundation-building elder has a vote in the Council of Elders. What's more, the monks in the Bihai sect are 90% finished in building the foundation. Naturally, they can only fight for power and gain in order to spread their wings and benefit future generations. In the eyes of outsiders, you and I are just 2 votes, which is of some value to win over. Fang Qing laughed dumbly. What do Linghu Zhong say? The head of the family seems to want to focus on the position of the master of the punishment hall, and Chuizhe, senior brother Chui has made breakthroughs in his cultivation in recent years, and he is in the middle stage of foundation building, Qin Rushue said. The lord of an island, without the cultivation in the late stage of foundation establishment, is difficult to convince people, but the sword cultivator in the middle stage of foundation establishment, with a lot of military exploits, can indeed be promoted. Fang Qing understood, and smiled again. Who said sword cultivators are simple-minded? Isn't Chuizhe dependent on the leader's lineage? It is said that Elder Tianqing was very optimistic about this person before his death, and the leader's lineage pushed him. He has high hopes, Qin Rushue said. What did Elder Ding say that day? Fang Qing was a little curious and asked a few more questions casually. Dan Island itself has lost several second-level alchemists. Now Elder Tian Ding is very worried, thinking about adding elders from Dan Island, basically not paying attention to foreign affairs. Qin Rushue gave some more information. Fu Yunzi, Ku Ruizi were attacked on the logistics ship, and they also died. Floating Yunzi, Fang Qing still remembers that he was a bookish middle-aged man, and the master of Hua Lingsu and Gong Susu. Unexpectedly, he also died. This is the impermanence of war. If the young master is interested, I'm afraid he can expand his power on Dan Island. Qin Rushue is very conscientious. There is also a concubine who also has some influence on the Formation Island. How can there be so much free time? The reason why Fang Qing accepted this mean concubine is that he is too lazy to take care of the secular affairs. He has to explore ancient Shu recently, so he needs to concentrate all his attention. In this case, when it comes to voting in the punishment hall, you can support Cui Zhao on my behalf. As for Dan Island, I will not interfere. After Qin Rushue respectfully accepted the order and went down, he began to calculate his own wealth. The peak of cultivation in the early stage of foundation building, high-grade spiritual weapon 100 soul banner, 3 medium-grade spiritual weapons, turtle shell shield and flying boat, low-grade spiritual weapon jade spirit armor, sea transforming pearl, strange object mirage pearl. There are also second-order high-grade talismans such as the fire bird talisman, thunder escape talisman, and Vajra amulet, and a stack of other middle-grade and low-grade talismans. Beast materials, some miscellaneous items with so many materials, many can be sold directly to Gushu, and there is no need to wait for hoarding to increase the price. Fang Qing secretly made up his mind, forget it. Counting time, Su Hei's Yanba blessed land is about to open. This time, try to get the Jishui, Daoji spiritual object, and the follow-up of the secret technique, yes. Ancient Shu, Yulin County. Disciple meets the master. Watch the interview. Su Hei knelt on the ground respectfully, holding a storage bag in both hands. All the spiritual resources exchanged in recent days are here. Yes, Fang Qing took the storage bag, glanced at it with his consciousness, and couldn't help but feel quite satisfied. He has control over this person's true spiritual life and can monitor it in real time. Naturally, he knows that this person has not deducted or embezzled. This bottle of elixir is suitable for monks to increase their magic power. I will give it to you. Fang Qing threw out a jade bottle and gave another large-size one. Storage bag, you can sell the monster materials in here. I will comply with the law. Su Hei took the storage bag and checked it. He saw that it was full of various monster materials, mostly fish. He couldn't help but be a little surprised. Why are there so many, Shen Shui, submissive monsters? Could it be that the master has just returned from the east? The Yanba paradise is about to open recently. You have been paying close attention, but is there any other news? Fang Qing has no intention of taking this dwarf old man as Mingzi, but just uses him as a slave. Unexpectedly, Su Hei really had news. Master Qi, the disciples inquired in many ways and finally confirmed that the Pai family of Yulin County should have the inheritance of Shen Shui, Taoism, Bo? Please tell me carefully about the Pai family. Fang Qing's heart moved. Su Hei almost fell into a trap when he inquired about the Shen Shui technique before. Unexpectedly, he found another piece of information this time. The Pai family, who has lived in Kangui Mountain, Yulin County, is a subordinate of the Pu family, and has quite a grudge against the sword cultivator Zhao family majoring in Jiamu. There are also some people who practice Shen Shui, and they are suspected of having Shen Shui, Taoist skills, but now the only Taoist monk in the family, Pai Shu Yuan, also practices Shen Shui. Jiamu is the same. Su Hei did not dare to neglect, and said quickly, the villain is just a casual cultivator, and he dare not trade with such a big Daoji clan. Indeed, Fang Qing nodded. The premise of a fair transaction is that both parties are wary of each other. If Su Hei goes to trade, he will be eaten up and wiped clean by others, not even the scum will be left. After all, the folk customs here are not as simple as those on Bu Island. His heart moved, and he secretly calculated whether this time would be good or bad. Auspicious hexagram? Fang Qing looked at the hexagram and secretly complained, it is still a broken place. I collected many hexagram books to improve my cultivation, and now I have established a foundation. On Bu Island a hexagram over there can kill a third-level monster comparable to the ancestor of Jiadan, but in this cesspool, I can only barely calculate my own good or bad fortune. But forget it, it is not easy to have good or bad reference. In that case, let me go and do the transaction myself. You go. After Fang Qing finished speaking, his body exuded mana fluctuations that were at the peak of the initial stage of foundation building, and he flew directly towards Songchui Mountain. As expected, the master has already forged the Taoist foundation, and he is a man among the gods. When Su Hei saw this scene, he could only feel envious in his heart. Songchui Mountain. This mountain is extremely beautiful. Even if it snows in autumn and winter, it is still full of lush forests and full of vitality. This day, Fang Qing used beads to modify his appearance, and disguised the aura of Fei Qi Tao magic. He rode the escaping light to the foot of the mountain. He saw several Fei Qi monks, full of Hornwood energy, and said with a smile, but the monks of the Pai family? I, Fang Shui, came to pay a visit. Daoji overhaul? The convinced monks were stunned for a moment, and one of them quick. Ly raised his hand, we are the Pai family monks, please wait a moment. While saluting, he gestured to the two monks behind him. The two men hurriedly ran up the mountain, as if they were being chased by some ferocious beast. Not long after, a large formation opened at full strength, guarding the mountain airtight. Fang Qing was speechless. Who do you think I am? Tribulation repair? Or is the ancestor of the Pai family not here? You can tell the whole story at a glance. This monk in Yulin County is obviously not doing well, and he is as vigilant as in wartime every day. Not long after, the green light flashed, and an old man came over, fellow Daoist Fang. Well, this person should be Pai Shuyuan, the ancestor of the Pai family. As expected, he repaired the corner wood, which is also called knife-head wood, and dingsha wood. It has a feeling of being in the right position of the wood. Fang Qing smiled and held his hands in his hands. Friend Pai, I'm taking the liberty to come here. I hope you won't be offended. Haha, fellow Taoist is laughing at the shamelessness of this young fellow below. Please come in and serve tea. Pai Shuyuan's face has deep wrinkles and ravines, like an old tree bark, but his eyes are exceptionally bright, with green light coming out. After welcoming Fang Qing, the two landed in a pavilion on the mountainside. Naturally, there were several maids serving tea respectfully. Pai Shuyuan's breath was calm, but he seemed to be calmer than before. After drinking tea slowly, he smiled and said, I wonder where your friend came from? What's the matter? Bootsai, it's just a casual cultivator, and he only came here to trade Zhen Shui skills. I heard that there are Zhen Shui monks in the nobles, but I wonder if they have Zhen Shui Taoist secrets? Fang Qing was honest about his purpose. Zhen Shui skill? Pai Shuyuan was startled. He didn't expect Fang Qing to come here for this, but the skills have always been kept secret by each FA. Millie. If Fang Qing hadn't been a Taoist monk and came to the door to trade skills, he would have beaten the person out. This, although my family has a copy of The Secret of the Whale Swallowing the Sea, it is a family tradition and has never been traded with outsiders. Pai Xiu picked up the teacup from afar. His refusal was obvious. A Taoist friend's home should be good at jiamu and zhenshui as a supplement. Why don't you see me as the object of the transaction first? Fang Qing laughed, took out 2 jade boxes, and opened them one after another. The smell of blood mixed with the salty smell of sea salt assaults your nostrils. Pai Shuyuan just glanced at it and was stunned. This is the material from the Daoji monster? He looked at the box of fish scales and the box of tortoise shells, his eyes shining brightly. After careful inspection, he said, if it is Zhen Shui, Daoji spiritual object, fellow Taoist can actually get such rare monster materials. The method is amazing. There is obviously a hint of fear in the tone. Oh? In fact, I just got these 2 materials by chance, and I asked my Taoist friends for help. How about identifying them? Fang Qing said with a smile. The fish scales came from the second-order low-grade monster, while the tortoise shell was from the second-order mid-grade. He also wanted to hear the evaluation of these materials by the ancient Shuqi Dao monks. This fish scale should come from a demon general, but it was consumed too much during the hunt, the demon energy dissipated too much, and the aura was greatly damaged. Pai Shuyuan picked up a fish scale between his index and middle fingers and nodded. Then he shook his head. If you use it to refine weapons or elixirs, it is quite risky. However, the tortoise shell next to it should come from a demon general in the early stage of Daoji, and it is very well preserved. It can be seen that this person is a little moved. This second-level low-grade crystal turtle was very neat. And he killed it. It seems that in the eyes of the monks here in the early stage of Foundation establishment, it is still a little worse than the early stage of Dao Foundation, but the monster turtle in the middle stage of Foundation establishment was mistaken for the monster in the early stage of Dao Foundation? Fang Qing's heart moved, and he had a firm idea of the future dumping price. Of course, this is just the opinion of one person. There are many cases where the price is deliberately lowered. You need to ask several more companies before you can decide. At this time, the business still needs to be done. How about replacing these 2 things with Taoist friends' home exercises? Fang Qing said calmly. That's all. Pai Shuyuan gave a few instructions, and immediately a family member went down and came up with a box. After opening it, there was a blue book inside. This whale swallowing the Zhengzhu was obtained hundreds of years ago when an ancestor of our family traveled to the east and exchanged it with a monk from the Zhengzhou sect. Only the basic part of the Tao. Yes, he said that if someone can achieve the foundation of this skill, Li Linyuan, he can go to Zhengzhou sect to become a disciple. Zhengzhou sect? Isn't there only Huan sect in the east? Fang Qing was startled. The Zhengzhou sect is still to the east of the Huan sect. In the past of our ancient Shu, the east of the Huan sect is the boundary of the Huan sect. It is so deep and vast that Nanzi Mansion cannot cross it in an instant. My ancestors spent several years traveling back then. According to what Pai Shuyuan said, Fang Qing Kai gradually understood that the realm he was reincarnated in was not a good one at the beginning. This broken place is surrounded by demonic sects from all directions. But if you go all the way east, beyond the boundaries of the Huan sect, you can reach the Central Plains. There are many immortal sects, known as the Tai Xianmen authentic sect. At this time, we know how big the world is. Fang Qing was quite emotional. He took the technique and read it a little. Oh, it's a pity that it only goes as far as Daoji. Haha, how difficult is it to find the Zifu secret? Even if we, the Daoji family, have been searching for hundreds of years, we may not be able to get a copy of the Zifu technique. Not everyone is like the Pu family. Such luck, Pai Shu Yuan flicked his sleeves, put away the two spiritual objects, and said with a smile, but recently I had an opportunity. I heard that the Yanba paradise was opened. The Zifu sword and Taoist tactics are not something we can covet, but there are many Tao-based spiritual objects, magical weapons, and techniques, but we may not be able to compete. There is a hint of invitation in his words. I know that my magic power is weak, so I better not go to the blessed land to embarrass myself. Fang Qing's heart moved, and he invited, fellow Taoist, do you want to have a discussion? Huh? You can also. Pai Shu Yuan's eyes flashed green, and he agreed directly. A moment later. In midair not far from Kangqi Mountain. Fang Qing concentrated on it, made a hand seal with his hands, and a turquoise seawater emerged out of thin air and turned into a shield. This is the foundation building spell of Blue Sea Kung, Blue Sea Shield. With his wealth, he naturally refined the second-level azure spiritual water early. In it, the defense is enough to withstand the mad attack of the monks in the middle stage of foundation building for a long time. Zhen Shui? Pai Shu Yuan on the opposite side is a little strange. This person is obviously also a Zhen Shui, Taoist master. Why does he need the Zhen Shui technique? He made a move with both hands, and a wooden sword appeared in the air. I am cultivating the corner wood. Daoji destroys the sharp edge. The world thinks that only Jinda can practice sword cultivation, but they don't know that I, the corner wood, also have the sharp edge of wood. Pai Shu Yuan activated the Taoist foundation and blessed many wooden swords. The flowing light of the Taoist swords was like a sword array, and the cultivation came suddenly. Puff puff puff. Faced with these wooden flying swords, the Blue Sea shield was instantly broken. The flying sword continued unabated and pierced Fang Qing. Huh? This, Pai Shu Yuan's eyes flashed, and he saw Fang Qing, who had been pierced, turn into a ball of water, and his true body emerged not far away. Yes. This, Fang Qing escaped by turning into water to escape from the flying sword that pierced the heart, and he also wanted to complain. He has practiced hard for many years and spent a lot of spiritual stones to refine the Blue Sea shield of azure spiritual water. Why is it just like a piece of paper? It broke after being stabbed? Fang Qing thought for a while, and instead of taking out the 100-soul banner and the second-order high-grade talisman to honor him, he honestly used the tortoise-shell shield to protect himself and sacrificed the sea-changing pearl. The heavy sea water turned into rough waves, beating towards Pai Shu Yuan. Pai Shu Yuan shook his head slightly, as if he saw something. With a shake of the wooden sword, the sea water in the sky suddenly collapsed, turning into strands of rain and falling to the ground. The two looked at each other. The atmosphere was quite awkward. After a long time, Fang Qing still spoke. Fellow Taoist, is it still the early stage of Daoji? It is the early stage of Daoji. Pai Shu Yuan accepted it. Mu Jian sighed. Although Muda overcomes Shui Da, my Taoist friend's magic power is too frivolous and has no Tao foundation. I wonder which Mingzi it is. Although this person didn't say a single curse word, I somehow felt that he was swearing. It's so dirty. Although it is also one of the developments that I expected, I still want to pretend to be a master of the secret realm. This early Taoist monk who is convinced of Qi Dao is not inferior to the Qi refining Dao in terms of magical power. In the middle stage of basic foundation, if it is paired with a powerful Dao foundation, such as Pai Shu Yuan's destroying front, which is obviously an offensive Dao foundation, and its power is comparable to pseudo-magical powers, it will probably be able to compete with the monks in the late stage of foundation building. It's too much. It's obviously beyond the standard. Even if I use Ji Shui to build the Dao foundation, Jiu Gan Len I. S obviously not as offensive as the human Dao foundation. Perhaps it can only be compared to a monk in the middle stage of foundation building? There are indeed many things that I don't understand about this fundamental mystery. Fang Qing's heart was racing, but he sighed on his face. I am not a Kiko. I just practiced the secret treasure realm technique. What he said was all the truth, and it is safest to deceive people with the truth. That's it. Pai Shu Yuan didn't know whether to believe it or not, but he didn't say anything about exploring the blessed land together. Obviously, in his opinion, Fang Qing is quite lacking in strength. Fellow Taoist Pai, I'm leaving now. There's no need to send me far. Fang Qing cupped his hands and turned into a stream of light, which suddenly dissipated in the sky. Pai Shu looked at this scene from a distance, not knowing what he was thinking about. After a while, he pressed the escape light and came to the house on the top of the mountain. Ancestor? A middle-aged monk who was convinced in the late stage immediately stepped forward. Are you okay? Of course it's okay. You are scared to death when you see Taoist priests one by one opening the formation in vain, wasting so many resources at home. Pai Shu Yuan's eyes widened and he immediately started to curse. I heard from my ancestor that that person is Mingzi from the secret treasure realm. I heard that the secret method can instantly promote a monk to become a Taoist priest. The middle-aged monk was quite envious in his eyes. Haha, hiding evil magic is something that even the devil is afraid of. Promoted to be a Mingzi? Your life is not in your own hands, so what fun is there? Pai Shuyuan sneered several times. Look at that person, he obviously has the power of Taoism, but he still has to find his own skills and try to create Taoism where comparable to the immortal Dao Xiaoyao like us? So that person is looking for the Zhen Shui technique? Is it for self cultivation? The middle-aged man thought, ancestor, since that person's magic power is so weak, how about, a cold light flashed in his eyes. If he could kill a Taoist master, he would definitely gain a lot of money. Humph. Although he said he was self-taught, could he be able to become Mingzi by himself? There must be a master from the secret realm behind him. Pai Shuyuan snorted coldly, you have the guts to offend others? That is obviously a chess piece buried by the secret realm in ancient Shu. I don't know how many powerful connections are involved behind it. Originally it feels strange. After all, there is no reason for Daoji to suddenly appear from the ground, but now I have figured it all out. He looked at the nervous middle-aged man and sighed again. I know it is not easy for you to be in charge. We are pressed hard by the Pu family, and the amount of spiritual resources turned in has increased by several percent in recent years, but the more this happens, the less we can mess up. Old ancestor, I understand. The middle-aged monk's eyes turned red and he almost cried. That's it, it's just that I looked at my disciples and they all lacked spiritual qualifications, and I felt worried. Is the family in such embarrassment already? Pai Shuyuan he couldn't help but be a little surprised, and secretly gritted his teeth. This Pu family went too far. This ancient Shu Taoist foundation is generally stronger than the foundation construction. It seems that we should be cautious here. After a discussion, Fang Qing roughly understood his family's position on the ancient Shu side. If I use all my methods, with the high-grade spiritual weapon and the second-grade high-grade talisman, maybe I can barely equal the ancestor of the Pai family, or at most be slightly better? But that doesn't mean much, so what if you can beat one? How many more can be shot? There are definitely a lot of Daoji monks in Yanba blessed land, including monks from Zifu, Fan. Ji Qing waved his hand, and the magic power of Ji Shui fell down, corroding the rocks and turning them into caves. He landed in it and took out many formation discs and formation flags from the storage bag. Under the surge of mana, formation flags jumped into the air and inserted into the wall, spreading restrictions. This second-level formation, which focuses on concealment, was made by Qin Rushiwei herself. After stuffing a few middle-grade spiritual stones into the array, Fang Qing sat cross-legged, took out the whale swallowing the Canghai Ju from the storage bag, and began to study it silently. Sure enough, it is the Zhen Shui technique. At the beginning of adhering to Qi, you need to refine a long whale and bright moon Qi. This person is ranked at the 7th level of the low grade, and he actually has the hope of the purple mansion? Fang Qing checked the gas collection method and suddenly felt that he had made a profit this time. It was almost impossible to collect the long whale Mingyue Qi in ancient Shu. This Qi needs to be found in the depths of the sea, looking for the place where the whale landed, and using the Qi gathering technique to collect Qi during the full moon. Ancient Shu definitely did not have this environment, but Zhao Wanhai had it. In fact, I don't need to do it myself now. I can leave it to Qin Rushiwa to do it. It seems that this whale swallowing the Canghai Gong must have a follow-up to the Zifu Canghai sect? Fang Qing secretly remembered. Originally I thought that the demonic path was very prosperous in this world, but it seems that it was just the Dao elimination demonic master, or is there an authentic Shenmen sect? It's just that the righteous path in this world may not be very righteous, just like over at Baihaman. Now Tianqin Island and the remnants of the Zhong family are the proper demonic path. Sometimes, the so-called good and evil may be just the difference between losers and winners. Now that I have obtained this Zhen Shui Daoji skill, it can be considered as an alternative according to Fang Qing's plan. The next step is to plan the Daoji matter. If there is no Ji Shui Daoji spiritual object produced in the blessed land this time, it cannot be exchanged for something similar to assist breakthrough. Then we can only change our thinking and practice while swallowing the Canghai Ju. As for Zhen Shui, we can slowly comprehend it. When the time comes to use this to attack the Dao Foundation, one foundation establishment pill may not be enough. Anyway, I still have multiple second-order demon cores on hand, so I will refine a few more. It is difficult to change the Taoism by adhering to Qi Dao, so what's the matter with Tao's birth of pearls? A few days later. A black market fair. Everyone, we still follow the previous rules. Everyone exchanges what they need first, and then exchanges information. A man in black clothes and mask who was convinced by the 9th level spoke and watched the exchange continue. After the exchange meeting ended, many monks dispersed one after another. The big man in black robe left alone, suddenly stopped, a black sword appeared in his hand, and shouted, "Who is following your grandfather?" "Hey, Morongjio, your problem has happened." Su Heijia smiled strangely. He was thin and small. His body was like a ghost, with his hands protruding, and 10 points of green flames exploded. Morongjio sealed his sword, and a layer of water emerged, swallowing up all the green flames. He did not bother to entangle, and used his escape technique to leave. At this moment, a terrifying wave of spiritual consciousness turned into a demon-subduing vajra and blasted into his sea of consciousness. Morongjio screamed and fell to the ground rolling. At the same time, an ice talisman was activated, freezing half of his body. "Hey, run again, where's your Shwambwa vast step?" Suhei took a step forward, handed over Morongjio's black machete, and laughed. More. Ongjio ignored Suhei and instead looked at Fang Qing, who suddenly appeared. "Your Excellency, with the dignity of Taoism, sneaked up on me, a convinced monk, and I was convinced I just didn't know how to offend you." "Haha, maybe you forgot that at the exchange meeting, you wanted to sneak attack on the Buddha?" Fang Qing floated out, and Suhei beside him also laughed and tore off his scarf. "It's you?" Morongjio's face was grim, and he felt as if a stone had finally fallen to the ground. "It's been almost 10 years. I had been hiding for 5 years before I finally dared to come out, but I didn't expect that I was still in trouble. Hey, you kid can escape, right? Now I want to die. Want to live?" Suhei stepped forward in a hurry. "If you want to die, just tell me. I am missing a good corpse in my hand. If you want to live, just relax and become my master's disciple. Are you the master of the secret realm?" Morongjio looked at Fang Qing, as if he saw a ghost. When Fang Qing saw this scene, he couldn't help but secretly sigh in his heart. This secret realm has lost its reputation. Yes, the Yanba paradise is about to open, and the Buddha is missing a few capable disciples. "You have offended the Buddha because of cause and effect. I can only pay off my debt with my body," he smiled and said. "If you don't want to die, just relax your mind." After saying that, a huge blazing sun emerged from his sea of consciousness and fell into Morongjio's sea of consciousness. A moment later. "I pay homage to the Guru. If the Guru orders me, I will not hesitate even to the death." Morongjio knelt on the ground with an extremely humble expression. "Well, first give me the secret book of the exercises you practice and the Shwambwa vast steps." Fang Qing smiled and nodded, and asked again, "How much information do you know about the Yanba blessed land?" "Give Buddha all the information. Don't worry, after this blessed land, Buddha will not have much use for you. There are still opportunities for freedom. I don't know, there will be hope for Taoism in the future. Master Qi, this Yanba blessed land is located in Yanba. Bo Lake is usually so deep that it is difficult for even the monks of the Purple Mansion to enter, but it is said that the descendants of Master Yanba have been born, and they are a pair of siblings surnamed Tian. I am afraid that the masters of the Z Mansion will fiddle with their fates and quickly become Taoist masters to open this blessed place." Morongjio is indeed a black market man, with rich information, and he will immediately have new clues. "Sister and brother named Tian?" Fang Qing asked carefully again, and couldn't help but be silent. "Lao Tian? I didn't expect, the sword repair cave outside Fuzufang was actually taken advantage of by this person in the end? Of course, it's hard to take advantage of this, and it's impossible to say which Z Mansion arranged it, but now, it's even more out of control. Why didn't I count this level back then?" At this thought, Fang Qing couldn't help but secretly be wary, and decided that he would never enter this misty blessed land. Yes. Yanba Lake. The surface of the lake is as green as jade, with vast misty waves and steaming clouds. Besides the lake, there are even monks gathered in 2s and 3s. They are all casual monks who have heard about the name of Yanba blessed land and come here to have a chance. Occasionally, there are a few Daoji monks, but they do not practice together with these convinced people. Instead, they manifest the magic of Daoji. Some gather in the Cloud Palace, call friends, and feast all night long, and some ride on strange beasts, just like gods. 9. Provides the fastest, but these monks did not notice that there were several Zifu monks very high in the sky, looking at all this coldly. "Brother Teng, do you think these junior cultivators are ridiculous?" Pu Shanjun, the ancestor of the Pu family with 3 long beards and a red robe, glanced at the many monks below. "We look at them like a child looking at an ant nest." The other person is the Zifu of the Black Cancer sect, and his face is still blurry with countless black insects squirming. At this time, there was impatience in his eyes. "The blessed land has arrived, why hasn't the destined person come yet?" "Brother Teng, don't worry, although the Tian family sisters and brothers have been given chi bias one after another, which has led to repeated encounters with each other, in the end they are only convinced that the 9th level of chi is perfect. Not only their cultivation, even the fate is a little bit worse, kill each other. The method of superimposing human elixirs may not be able to become a Dao foundation. I am afraid it will be difficult to truly open this misty land. The last time my sister borrowed the poison vat from Brother Teng, she wanted to put the 2 people into the vat like voodoo insects and catalyze it again so that she is 100% sure." A tall and beautiful Taoist nun said with a smile. Hearing this, Mr. Pushun sighed. "The Dao foundation is difficult if the ancient cultivator still the innate understanding to forge the Dao foundation by himself. Now this monk is eager for quick success and instant benefits. If he wants to get the Dao Foundation, he must take several special. You can either use certain Taoist spiritual objects or simply take the elixir refined by the Daoji demon, but there is always no human elixir, ancient cultivator. Where are the ancient cultivators today? A leisurely voice came. The ancient cultivators cultivated their true qi by themselves, and did not need to draw qi. It has been gradually abandoned since recent ancient times, and I don't know how many important people considered it, huh? The monk named Fuji from the Black Sect took a look and saw something. The sloppy Taoist came with his feet on the dark clouds and couldn't help but sneered. Sanji, you still dare to come? The opening of Yamba Paradise is a grand event in ancient Shu. Why don't the old Taoists dare to come? Sanji Master laughed. Behind him, there were a few more faint Sifu Chi. Humph, fellow Taoist, is this why you have taken refuge in the demon clan? Mr. Pushan also snorted coldly. Master Sanji did not answer, but stood silently. I don't know how much time passed, but the female cultivator from the Z mansion smiled softly. Refining the goo will be completed. She took out a small earth-yellow urn with bare hands and gently threw the urn into the air. Many people from the purple house gathered their gazes and could see two sword cultivators, a man and a woman, in the urn, their eyes blood red, fighting to the death with swords. Blood relatives are killing each other. How can you bear to use this method of human elixir? Master Sanji sighed. It's just a Lu Jin spiritual object, or find a Lu Jin monster and use its Taoist foundation to make elixirs. You are rich and wealthy, why should you be stingy with this? Although there are many spiritual objects in Lu Jin, there are few people who can assist Taoist achievement. As for Lo Eugene, Taoist demon general? Why don't fellow Taoists ask fellow Taoists in Luofeng Mountain if they are willing to give their money? Help? The monk surnamed Fuji from Hyman sneered. I think fellow Taoist, but he didn't try his best to stop him. He's just a hypocrite. If fellow Taoist is willing to stop me, I have to admire you. Master Sanji suddenly smiled. That's right, the old Taoist is a hypocrite, and he is also looking forward to opening this misty land as soon as possible. At this moment, the sword fight in the urn finally came to an end. Brother, the female swordsman suddenly withdrew her sword at the critical moment, allowing her brother to pierce her with the sword. The blood in Na Tian Jianxiu's eyes dissipated, and he suddenly let out a roar like a wounded wolf. Lu Jin, mana is constantly pouring into him, and there is even an inexplicable sharp energy gathering. In an instant, traces of sharp golden energy gathered in the sea of consciousness and turned into a mysterious Taoist foundation, which can increase the sharpness of the flying sword, activate the sword's light, and strengthen the sword's heart. What a sharp chapter. But the female cultivator from Z Mansion just smiled and threw the urn into the pot. Go. The poison urn crashed into the lake, causing a wave. Suddenly 5 colors merged in the void, and another sword energy rose into the sky, like pushing a mountain of gold, overturning a jade pillar, and destroying the heaven and earth. Wave. The Taishu breaks open, revealing a portal to a blessed land. There are mountains of mineral gold, rivers of gold veins, and all kinds of hardware items everywhere, carrying a biting wind. It's the Yanba Blessed Land. The Yanba Blessed Land is open. The casual cultivators who had been waiting for a long time exclaimed, and a few couldn't hold back and directly controlled the magic weapon and flew into the Taishu portal. Puff. With a flash of sword light, several corpses fell to the ground. Haha, I don't know whether to live or die, how dare I charge head-on? Pai Shu Yuan sat cross-legged on a huge wooden shield and sneered. The blessed land is vast, the small one is comparable to a county, and the big one stretches for several counties. Master Yanba was a Lu Jin sword cultivator back then. Blessed land, how is it possible that there is no sword energy to protect me? I am waiting for the lower cultivator, but I am not waiting for the upper cultivator to enter, and then I look for the leftovers, and still want to eat the oral soup. The blessed land is vast, why should I be impatient? At this moment, a sword light jumped out of the void, its color turned into gold and it was extremely sharp. The portal of the blessed land was filled with rays of light, which seemed to echo the sharp light seal from afar. It suddenly turned into a sword light, rolled up the monk named Tian, and disappeared suddenly. Old Ghost Yanba really has some plans, Pushan Lord laughed. Fellow Taoists, there is no need to be stingy with your magic power. In an instant, the forest was dyed, the branches lit up with fire, and then turned into ashes. It is the power of embers of fire. There are countless insects, climbing and flying in the void like black rivers. There are also natural disasters and various visions of golden lotus. The gate of the blessed land suddenly opened, and it can no longer be closed. In a flash of fire, Mr. Pushan's figure had long since disappeared. Then, the surnamed Ting Zifu, and the female cultivator, Master Sanji watched this scene silently. Behind him, there were several dark giant shadows as huge as mountains, and they fell into the portal of the blessed land one by one. Before the last pitch-black giant entered, he also specially sent a message. Sanji, what happened last time? You and I each take what we need. I, Lu Fengshan, will do what I say. The thing you have been thinking about day and night is indeed in the misty bless. D land, but whether you can find it depends on your luck, ha ha ha. Master Sanji's expression remained unchanged, and when he raised his foot, the figure had disappeared. Is it really open this time? Look, all those Daoji major cultivators have entered, and nothing happened. Around Yanba Lake, I saw a Daoji major cultivator appearing and entering the blessed land. The convinced monks could no longer bear it and rushed forward. Beside the lake, Morongjio and Su Hei looked at each other. Su Haipi said with a smile, "Junior brother, please come." Morongjio's face was very ugly, with both longing and fear. Finally, he sighed, "Luck." He turned around and turned into a ray of light and threw himself into the blessed land. Su Hei stood outside the blessed land and said loudly, "Fellow Taoists, I, Su Hei, collected Jishui, Daoji spiritual objects at a high price. If you gain anything, remember not to forget Lao Hei, Ba County, the belly of a hill." Inside the cave covered by the formation. Of course Fang Qing did not go to the Yanba blessed land. Instead, he sent 2 disciples to watch the live broadcast with the help of Daoshengzhu's omnipresent power. For such a dangerous matter as downloading a dungeon, of course I will not go there personally. Now one is the master and the other is the master, and I don't know what the harvest will be. He thought for a while and made another prediction for his family. If I go to the blessed land, good luck too. Well, good luck, let's eat chicken tonight. It seems that I am destined to get what I want and get the Jishui, Daoji spiritual object. But, let's add insurance. With a thought, Fang Qing has returned to his Xuanbi cave mansion in Baihemen. Sitting cross-legged on the futon, you feel a sense of security. This feeling of me sitting in the safest rear, watching my subordinates fight for life and death, not bad. He continued to watch the live broadcast with a smile. At the critical moment, I can even control the behavior of the 2 people through the connection of the seed word. General masters of the secret realm should not be able to do this. This is the power of the Daoshengzhu. Among them, Su Hei is responsible for the acquisition outside, so there is no need to worry about it at this time. Fang Qing's attention fell entirely on Morongjio. This person is convinced of the 9th level of Qi, and his physical skills are amazing. Among the casual cultivators who entered Yanba blessed land, he is considered to have strong magical power. At this time, Morongjio flashed and the black sword weapon picked up a human head. "Humph, you dare to fight with me?" He sneered and picked up the harvest from the headless corpse opposite. "Rough gold stone? After refining it, it is a good material for refining flying swords." Morongjio touched his arms and felt that the talisman given by his master was still there, and he felt confident in his heart. According to what the master said, with these talismans, he has almost nothing to fear except for the Dao-based overhaul. Morongjio's heart was burning, and he continued to use escape techniques to rush on his way, and it didn't take long for him to find a cave. Master Yanba is not practicing alone in the blessed land. There should be disciples and servants. He may even have raised many creatures to form tribes or even cities. After all, it is a county, enough to accommodate tens of millions of people. It's just that the environment of Yanba paradise is harsh and may not be suitable for ordinary people to survive. Morongjio was disappointed that this cave was very simple and contained no treasures. Only a few books are placed on the bookshelf. The short notes of hairpin flowers? The essays of Xinyuan? Morongjio wanted to just accept it, but suddenly there was an impulse in his heart, so he opened it directly and flipped through it. "Oh? Do you still have this alchemy sutra?" In the Xuanbi cave mansion, Fang Qing smiled in. Dee said nothing. The little notes of a hairpin flower seems to be just an essay by a woman. It is written well in the small regular script of hairpin flower. But Xinyuan essays are surprisingly the notes made by a monk named Xinyuanzi when he was refining alchemy. With his spiritual consciousness, he just read it once and remembered the entire content, which he can wait to understand in the future. Yes. So that's it. The Tao Foundation is created by the Qi Dao monks. Is there actually a Dao Foundation pill formula similar to the foundation building pill formula? With this elixir book, even if there is no other gain from this trip to the blessed land, it is enough. Fang Qing silently studied this elixir book and gained a lot. The most orthodox practice for Qi Dao monks is actually to understand the Tao and establish the Tao Foundation. Through understanding the Tao, condensing the Tao Foundation with one's own Taoism, and generating the Tao Foundation that is most suitable for you. This is an ancient method of cultivation, which has long been abandoned today. I want to understand the Tao and build the foundation of the Tao. It is basically impossible, or, in other words, it was wrong from the beginning. But the ancient cultivation method is not good, it is difficult to get started, and it is slow to improve. It is gradually replaced by the modern method. It seems that the great sun true solution in my hand is the ancient method. No wonder it has been replaced by the modern method. If you can't achieve it by cultivating the scriptures, in addition, you have to convince the 9th level perfection monks and use external objects to form the foundation of the Tao. This requires several specific spiritual objects, and not just any one will do. For example, Fang Qing also has a large amount of Zhen Shui spiritual materials in his hand, many of which are taken from second-level monsters. Putting it in ancient Shu, it would be a proper Zhen Shui Dao Foundation spiritual object, but can it allow Zhen Shui's convinced 9th-level monks to cast a Dao Foundation? Obviously impossible. Fang Qing also tried to find the Jishui Daoji spiritual object on Bu Island, but this also requires an adaptation, a mysterious fit in the image. For example, the Taoist foundation he cultivated in the Book of Guanhailing is Jiu Ganlin, and the Jishui SPI. Ritual objects that can assist in breakthrough are Ganyuan Spring Water, Diong Yuan Shui, Tian Feng Lingquan, but the second-level Ice Soul Water, even the third-level Ice Soul Water will not work. The judgment in this requires one's own practice. Fang Qing had only gained a vague understanding before, but after reading this elixir book today, he can finally outline it. The last one is the Daoji pill. It is based on the Daoji of the Daoji Dao. It is somewhat similar to the second-order demon core on the Qi refining Dao side, but the second-order monster here does not have the Daoji mystery, so the effect will be much worse. But there are many evolutions of Dao-based elixirs, the bloodiest of which is the method of human elixir. The one with the highest success rate is to dig out the immortal-based elixir of the same Dao-based monks. For example, I cultivate Jishui Jiu Ganlin. If I can capture a Dao-based monk, dig up his immortal base to refine the elixir, and after swallowing it, the probability of me breaking through the Dao-based is almost 99%. But if it is a monk who practices Jishui and other Taoist foundations, the effect will only be about 40 to 50%. If you switch to Jishui to convince a 9th-level monk, even if you use the method of human elixir to swallow all his mana, it will only be about 20 to 30% well. It is equivalent to a foundation-building elixir. No wonder the method of ancient Shu human elixir is popular, but the orthodox Wei Ji Dan, the main material is the immortal base of Dao Ji monsters. The effect is less than that of Dao Ji monks, but if you can find one that matches your Dao Ji, it will be a stroke of luck. Fang Qing thought silently. This Xingyuan essay gave him great inspiration for alchemy. If you can learn more about it, you may be able to refine the foundation establishment pill in your hand into a Dao foundation pill, which will give you more hope. At most, the effect is not that good, but why? Oh, you can refine a few more pills. We even have some ideas on how to convert the Zhen Shui Great Pill into the Jishui Great Pill. This is not a loss. Fang Qing sighed and paid attention to Morongjio again. The Yanba blessed land was really vast. He studied the alchemy book for 3 days, but Morongjio had not yet reached the core of the blessed land. Of course, even if he got to the core of the blessed land, Morongjio would definitely not dare to go in. At most, he would just hang around on the periphery and try his luck. A few days later, Morongjio looked at the sudden rising sword in front of him, pointing straight into the sky, and took a deep breath. We have arrived at the core of the blessed land. In addition to the initial harvest, he had been fighting many times in the past few days, killing countless convinced masters, but only found some metal minerals. As a last resort, we can only come to the core of Yanba blessed land. Under the mountain peak, there is an inscription. Hidden Sword Peak. Those who come here can climb the mountain. After reaching a certain level, they will be transported to the real treasure place and obtain treasures, Taoist secrets, and even the inheritance of Master Yanba. In Xuanbi Cave, Fang Qing looked at the inscription. Master Yanba, is he such a good person? He will give you something as a gift when you come. No matter, let Morongjio try it. Anyway, I won't go there myself. With his instructions, Morongjio immediately stepped onto the steps of Hidden Sword Edge. Boom. Morongjio's expression changed, showing a hint of pain. He reluctantly raised his head and saw the scattered monks on it, as well as the Daoji major cultivators on the mountainside. Even at the top of the mountain, there was a person sitting vaguely cross-legged. It was Tian Jiazi, Tian Jinshin. Heirs are destined to have good fortunes. Are they sent to the top of the mountain as soon as they enter the blessed land? Morongjio cursed in his heart and stepped forward. After stepping onto the second step, the pressure around us increased. Crash. Suddenly, Morongjio moved away from a convinced casual cultivator who rolled down the mountain peak. Fighting should be prohibited here, otherwise it will provoke sword energy counterattack. I don't know how many levels to climb before I can get the reward. Morongjio looked towards the mountainside and saw a Taoist master who could not bear it anymore and rolled down the steps. Fang Qing actually knows this person. He is Pai Shuyuan. Pai Shuyuan exclaimed, but instead of rolling down the mountain, his figure suddenly disappeared. Is there a reward for being on the mountainside? Fang Qing glanced at the mountainside, then looked at Morongjio, and shook his head. Although this person has been able to cultivate to the 9th level of Qi Convince in casual cultivation, and his qualifications and understanding are not bad, that's all. Compared with those Daoji monks, both qualifications and destiny are lacking. Sure enough, after going up dozens of levels, Morongjiu was gradually losing strength. He gritted his teeth and climbed up another level. Suddenly, a huge force surged in, and Morongjiu could no longer hold on and rolled down the steps. But inexplicably, his figure flashed and disappeared in midair. Oh? Is there actually a consolation prize? Fang Qing sneered, knowing that Morongjiu had probably reached the edge of the reward, or maybe the requirements for convinced monks were different from those of Daoji monks. He took over Morongjiu's perspective and found that he had arrived in front of an ancient temple. This palace is entirely golden, surrounded by golden soldiers, arranged in 2 rows, looking majestic and solemn. Jinyuan Hall? Fang Qing looked at the plaque and slowly read out the name of this hall. Under his sight, the golden hall suddenly opened, revealing the infinite treasure light. In the electric light and flint, he caught a glimpse of S. Everil, Jishui, spiritual objects at a glance. Gold Shengxue? There are quite a few water virtue spiritual creatures in this golden virtue land. But according to ancient Shu, it should be Jin Kushui? Mutual growth and mutual restraint? Fang Qing's heart moved, and a loud voice came to his ears, 50 steps up Hidden Sword Peak, give me a secret. Wait, can you change it to the Jishui, spiritual object? Morongjiu spoke, but it was of no use. A golden light flickered and fell between Morongjiu's eyebrows. Fang Qing read it and found that it was indeed a book of Lu Jin exercises, called Jin Yuan Ti. The Dao foundation he cultivated was gold-threaded clothes, and he could practice to the late Dao foundation stage. Damn, I have too many techniques, and now I need the Jishui spiritual object. The hexagram is obviously very auspicious, could it be that, should not be on Morongjiu, but on Suhei? Fang Qing complained a few words, but found something was wrong. Huh? Why don't you send Morongjiu out yet? Could it be that the restriction is broken? Crash. Suddenly, something happened that horrified Morongjiu. The golden column surrounding the Jinyuan Hall suddenly collapsed, and the square cracked, as if a giant beast opened its mouth and swallowed up all the golden armored men. The main hall is tilted this way and that, the door is open, and it seems that it is about to topple at any time. Crash, infinite treasure light gushes out, including utensils, exercises and formulas, and even a flying sword. There must be someone outside attacking this place. It must be the Zifu, they are going to take away the pot weight. Wealth and honor are in danger. Haha, the good luck divination, isn't this coming? Fang Qing was overjoyed, and directly manipulated Morongjiu to come forward, and several big black hands flew out, frantically fishing for all kinds of brilliance. Whoosh! A flying sword with blazing light fell quietly in Morongjiu's palm, wit. H extraordinary spirituality, like a living fish, still struggling. Morongjiu used a magic formula to suppress the flying sword and caught another ray of golden brilliance. This ray of golden light fell directly between his eyebrows. Boom. 10 times more kung fu formulas than before suddenly appeared in Morongjiu's sea of consciousness. It was a Zifu Taoist formula called Tian Escape Sword Ju, a Taoist Ji Rui Meng Zhang. More importantly, there are chapters from Daoji to Zifu. It's so good with this and a flying sword, I will also be a swordsman from now on. Fang Qing was overjoyed, but he did not forget the fundamental purpose of his trip. He saw the opportunity, fished it out with his big hand, and grabbed an alms bowl. In the middle of Bo Meng, there is a pool of spiritual water. The breeze blows and makes a sound. It's unmistakable, it's Tianfeng Lingquan. At this moment, Jinyuan Palace let out a mournful cry and collapsed, revealing one of the formation bases. In the center of the formation, there is something else. It looks unremarkable, it seems to be just an ordinary lump of soil on the side of the road, or part of a clay figurine. What is this? Fang Qing was unconsciously attracted to her eyes and manipulated Morongjiu to step forward. The top of Hidden Sword Peak. Tian Jingchen's eyes flashed sharply, I have received the mantle of my mentor, this revenge must be avenged. He was about to get up, but found that his mouth and nose were injured, and when he touched it, he found that his hands were full of black blood. Not only that, these black blood turned into insects and were squirming. He subconsciously drew out a sword technique and struck it on the Hidden Sword Peak beneath him. Boom. The mountain peak shook, and countless gravel rolled down, suddenly sweeping away all the convinced and Taoist monks who were still climbing. Then, the peak suddenly exploded, thousands of golden lights gathered together, and billowing swirl. Energy rose into the sky. The light of his sword is as bright as clouds and brocade, and as proud as a dragon. It is Master Yanba, one of the 49 famous swords of ancient Shu, who carries the sword with him, Su Jinhuan. Yes. Have fun. This sword suddenly turned into a Hidden Sword Peak. Watch interview. 9 At this time, the stress appeared, and several Zifu monks immediately appeared in the void, grabbing them with big hands. Not only that, at the original location of Hidden Sword Peak, Taishu was faintly broken open, revealing the square where Jinyuan Palace is located. A ray of golden light overflowed. Through the void, you can see Morongjio standing in front of the mud, looking obsessed. Suddenly, Morongjio's entire body turned into a clay statue, covered with spider web marks, and suddenly shattered into a pile of rubble. Stab. The flying sword and even the Tianfeng Lingquan all fell to the ground. Whoosh. A figure directly abandoned the bite of Su Jinhuan and flew into the Jinyuan Hall with a flying sword. It was none other than Sanji Taoist. That's divinity? How can there be a ray of stomach earth divinity here? Sanji, how dare you? Pu Shanjun and other Zifu were all furious, and even abandoned the mouthful of Zujinhuan. Feijian let him run away with Tian Jinchen, and rushed towards the Jinyuan Palace as if they were risking their own lives. Divine nature, also known as elixir nature, Yuan nature, golden nature, and Buddha nature, is the essence of the golden elixir. Gold is immortal. This ray of divinity is the foundation of the immortal golden elixir. So everyone present at Z Mansion almost went crazy. The war in Zifu is about to break out. Baihamen, Xuanbi Cave. Ah. A scream. The moment when Morongjio stared at the mud. Fang Qing rolled directly off the futon and screamed. His eyes flowed out blood, which quickly turned into spring water. Lots of dirt flowed out of his pores and continued to harden, as if to seal him alive into a clay figurine. Is this Taoism? Am I about to become Taoism? Taoism bead. Fang Qing called in his heart, Taoism pearls rolled around, the clear and turbid air flowed, and the clouds steamed and glowed. Hoo-hoo, after a long time. He gasped and climbed up, tearing off the mud on his body. His heart was full of fear. Good luck? I almost died, but good luck? Thinking of this loss, it was even more painful. Not to mention anything else, Morongjio died on the spot, and he was completely lost because of the flying sword and the Tianfeng Lingquan. Even if I hadn't reserved a hand before and deliberately hid here at Baihamen, separated by a world, if I hadn't been separated by a world, under the backlash of Taoism, would I still have time to use the Daoshengzhu? Fang Qing wiped away the blood fountain, sat cross-legged, and silently reviewed the situation. Although Taoism was miserable just now, at the same time, he was also chased by the Tao and instilled some Taoism. Golden elixir cannot be counted. Stomach soil, also known as mud stove soil, is the correct position of earth. There are people who have proven the Tao on its golden position, named Donyuan Siming Linging Shinjun. Also called Zhaojuan. Zhaojun? This title is a bit familiar. Fang Qing immediately thought that the place chosen by the sloppy Taoist exchange meeting was the Zhao Lord Temple. I just said that the sloppy Taoist is a monk from the Zifu. How could he randomly choose a shabby place as the venue? Sure enough, there is a deeper meaning, but that old fox in Juzi, is the cultivator really unaware of it? Or is he deliberately not telling? Golden elixir cannot be calculated. Is it difficult to calculate for monks who have mastered the golden elixir of Qi Dao or above, and even related items? He suddenly became awe-inspiring, thinking of the previous sword cultivation cave and this trip to the Blessed Land. My hexagram calculations seem to have gone wrong several times. This method of divination is really useless. It's not even a golden elixir or above, so it's useless? Fang Qing smiled bitterly. He used to rely on divination to achieve success and turn disaster into good fortune. Although he warned himself that divination was not omnipotent, he was still too dependent on it. The result is that this time I was almost tricked to death by divination. If I believe in the hexagrams and enter the Blessed Land in person, then I will definitely die. If I don't have an idea in the end and return to the Baihamen, I will escape death. Fang Qing sighed. It's really a risk. He composed himself and communicated with Daoshengzhu again. At this time, Murongju's perspective was naturally gone, but Su Hei's was still there. Go quickly. Su Hei's scalp was numb, and he didn't care about waiting for others to trade, so he rolled and crawled away from Yanba Lake. But before he left, he saw a sudden change in the sky above Yanba Lake. The powerful image enveloped him, causing his blood and mana to fluctuate. Is this Z Mansion fighting? Qi is pulling me? Su Hei was horrified in his heart and sighed again. Fortunately there is no female Z Mansion, otherwise the old man would be so close to him that he would be seduced and jealous and fight for his life. He looked back and saw two convinced monks from the Black Parade sect on the Sky Dome, yelling angrily and surrounding another casual cultivator. The loose cultivating Qi cultivator was surprisingly cultivating stomach earth. A magic weapon that looked like a mountain rose into the sky in his hand. He was also a little jealous. The two sides fought as if they were enemies of life and death. Huh? It seems that the Black Gate Zifu fought with a stomach earth Zifu in the Blessed Land? Poor these comrades, if they had run farther away, they would have been fine. Or maybe by building a Taoist foundation, you can take control of your own life and not be easily seduced. How can Su He have anything to say? He just covered his head and ran away, wishing he could run away from the whole county. Before running very far, the location of Yanba blessed land changed again. With a painful curse, the world suddenly changed. A sinister and evil energy was born. On the earth, suddenly a large number of snakes, insects, rats and ants crawled out, fighting and devouring each other. In the sky, various kinds of miasma and plague air emerged, colorful, and continued to spread to the surroundings. Is this a celestial phenomenon? Could it be that the Zifu has fallen to Taoism? Su He felt even more awe-inspiring. No matter whether the Zifu monks are born or die, the weather can affect at least one county. The person who died should be a D2, Zifu. Could it be the ancestor of the Black Sect? The demonic way of Zifu will basically turn into a natural disaster, covering the whole place. If it is the righteous way of Zifu, it will turn into a spiritual land, and the descendants of the legacy. What a pity, how could he not die in the right way? In this way, our ancient Shu may have another treasure land, which is rich in two spiritual objects. It is possible that we can also find the Taoist spiritual objects of the little old man. Su He is an old Geo ghost, and he ran for 2 days in a row before arriving at Yicheng. This Hishui city was built by the Zhang family of the Daoji family. The Zhang family has been practicing Bishui for a long time. They are good at treating diseases, healing injuries, and being kind to others. They have also been the Daoji family for generations, and they are quite famous near Yulin County. What's more important is that the head of the Zhang family lives in Hishui City and is protected by a Taoji array, which is enough to withstand many dangerous situations. Su He hurried into the city. As soon as he sat down in a tea house dedicated to entertaining monks, he heard loud sounds of sorrow and joy outside. Out of curiosity, he came to the window to look around, and saw that white flags had been hung at the Zhang family mansion. Which big shot of the Zhang family is dead? Su He was dumbfounded, almost thinking that he was a disaster star. I heard that it was the Qilin son of the Zhang family who had been in seclusion for a few months to build the Tao Foundation. It is said that the weather has been completed in the past few days, and the Zhang family has even prepared a wedding banquet. Today, it suddenly failed. The Tao Foundation collapsed, the body died, and the Tao Foundation disappeared. Now the wedding banquet turned into sorrow and joy. A few casual cultivators nearby sighed repeatedly. I'm really jealous of the talented people. Su He knew the reason, and said secretly, so that's it, cultivation of the water virtue Daoji just happened to hit the evil atmosphere of Tude. Isn't this a coincidence? This person's fate is really not good. It would be better if he were farther away. This is not even a county away. A man from the Zifu or a Haixinman died? What a good death. In the Shuangbi cave, Fang Qing clapped his hands and applauded. After all, his Fang family has a bloody feud with Haiman. But, this is just an ordinary adventure and treasure hunt. Even if there is something like, stomach earth, elixir, why did a Zifu die? Could it be the hands of the demon clan? Or, is it a sloppy Taoist? This person since the last incident involving Li Rulong, it has been obvious that he is not on the same side as the Black Sect. In short, this matter is a big deal. A monk from the Zifu has a lifespan of 500 years, and he is a giant in suppressing an entire place. The death of one person was enough to drastically change the situation in ancient Shu. That's all. Although this trip to the Yanba paradise did not go as expected, it is impossible to say that a large number of spiritual objects, techniques, and spiritual weapons will flow out in the future. Let Su He act according to his own circumstances, and buy it if he can. Fang Qing gave the order, but he no longer had any hope for it. Fortunately, although there are no physical treasures in this blessed land, I will not forget the alchemy scriptures and the 2 exercises I have read. There is even a Zifu sword technique. As long as you slowly gather energy, and then look for a serious flying sword, I will also be a swordsman in the future. However, the most urgent task is to build the foundation of the Tao, and it must be based on the whale swallowing the Canghaiju. He thought so. With an expression on his face he gradually became more solemn. Also, the broken place of ancient Shu is a bit risky to break through. Even if you are fully prepared, if the Zifu falls and the sky changes drastically, wouldn't it be an unreasonable disaster? Like the Hishui Zhang family, they simply couldn't cry. Of course, taking advantage of it is also a help, but Fang Qing obviously will not leave his own safety to luck. Perhaps, he thought, the dojo where I broke through Daoji can be placed here at Baihaman? Although there is no help here, it is obvious that there will be no negative buff. Even if the ancestor of the Zhong family died last time, Fang Qing did not feel too many changes in the world, let alone a bad omen that lingered over the place for years. For Fang Qing, this is very important. He would rather have no gain at all than fail inexplicably. Next let's study the Xingyuan essay and improve the foundation building pill well. by the way, we can also collect the main materials to refine the small barrier-breaking pill and strive to break through the mid-stage of foundation building in Qi refining. Daoshengzhu ran came out of seclusion and received a Qin Rushue transmission note. This woman has accepted the task of garrisoning Taibai Island and is not in Baihaman. Young master, in the transmission notes, Qin Rushue talked about several things as usual, such as the progress of collecting elixirs, medicinal materials, and major events that happened in the door. Oh? Chuizha has passed the vote and became the master of the punishment hall, and has since risen to the top of the sect? The power of this leader's family has really increased several times after Ling Hujin formed the pill, yeah. Fang Qing held the transmission talisman with a playful expression. In the entire Bihai sect, probably only I and the two pill-forming ancestors knew what Ling Hujin's pill-forming ancestors were all about. After all, the outer elixir is not a real elixir. Leader Ling Hu is probably still in the foundation building stage of Shouyuan. He is not young anymore, right? If the elixir cannot be truly formed as soon as possible, the leader and his entire family may have a lot of fun. Fang Qing only paid a little attention to this matter. The information Qin Rushue said next made Fang Qing even more concerned. The remnants of the Zhong family and the remnants of the Tianxin Link Island merged to form the Sea Destruction Alliance, specifically to carry out assassinations and sabotage activities against our Baihaman? Baihaman also responded tit for tat and turned him into a demon? The Sea Destruction League is undoubtedly a place where defeated dogs gather together to keep warm. Not only the remnants of the two major alchemy-forming forces, but also the other forces that hate Baihaman, such as the remnants of the Hua family on Feiyu Island, will probably join in. Taking it all together, it is quite a potential threat. 9 provides the fastest of course. What really interests Fang Qing is the news about Zhong Lingxiu. This person has not shown up for a long time. What a pity, what a pity. He was still thinking about the fact that Zhong Lingxiu had an ice soul bead talisman on her body. This is a powerful treasure that can be the final word in a fight. Even among the Taoist monks of ancient Shu, I am afraid they are not trivial. If he knew Zhong Lingxiu's location, he would not mind leading people to surround him and kill him to seize his treasure. Outside Xuanbi Cave. The spiritual grasses are swaying, and the green leaves are condensed with dew, exuding a faint aura. Fang Qing just glanced at it and turned a blind eye. Although he asked Qin Rushue to scatter some CS of the second-level elixir in the cave spiritual field, he didn't have 100 years, so he basically didn't expect it to be of great use. On the Alchemy Island, many Qi refining disciples were in a leisurely manner, either gathering in 2s or 3s, or trying to refine alchemy, full of relaxation after the battle. It seems that Baihaman really does not take the so-called Destroy the Sea Alliance to heart. Also, the other party does not have the ancestors of the alchemy. At most a few foundation building stages. Fang Qing has not been out of the cave for a long time. At this time, he casually walked around for a few times and came to Hongquan Peak. Looking at the disciples occupying the spiritual pool and trying to refine elixirs, he couldn't help but laugh, and thought about the time when he was washing yarn and refining elixirs here in the first place. Look, senior sister Gong is going to make an elixir. Suddenly, several disciples gathered in front of them, staring at the location of a spiritual spring, with a hint of expectation on their faces. Fang Qing's consciousness swept away and he laughed dumbly. The person making alchemy here turned out to be Gong Susu. This Shu had a stern face and a calm voice. Junior brothers, what I want to refine today is the Mingyu pill. This pill has a slight beauty-preserving effect. If you want to learn from me, please hand over 50 contribution points first. I can answer 3 questions. Fang Qing was speechless for a moment. How did this woman fall to such a state? Although there is nothing wrong with teaching juniors and juniors, the fees seem to be a little high, and it is obviously a matter of making money. Well, his complexion looks good, but the mana fluctuates erratically. He looks like he is seriously injured. Could it be that? He thought for a moment and had some guesses. At this time, Gong Susu also saw Fang Qing. Her expression became extremely complicated, but she still stepped forward and bowed. Disciple pays homage to Master Fang. Junior sister Hua thanked him for taking care of me before. Ah? It turned out to be Master Uncle who was in the foundation building stage. I recognize this. This is Master Fang of our sect. When Master Fang first came to Hongquan Peak, he used the spiritual pond of mine. Many disciples gathered and saluted, with eagerness and admiration in their eyes. After all, Fang Qing went from being an ordinary disciple to a true disciple, and then to building a foundation. On this small Dan island, he is considered a legend. You come with me. Fang Qing frowned and took Gong Susu to a pavilion. With a flick of his hand, a soundproof barrier opened, blocking the inside and outside. The pavilion suddenly became extremely quiet. You are injured, what happened? Fang Qing asked casually. Uncle Master Qi, I used my military exploits to exchange for a foundation building pill from my sect and tried to build the foundation, but the foundation building failed, Gong Susu replied sadly. After 10 years of war, Baihaman destroyed 2 major alchemy-forming forces in succession, and the benefits gained were extremely rich. The upper levels were full, and finally some residue fell to the bottom. Baihaman released a lot of foundation-building pills, and quite a few chi refining disciples seized this opportunity and succeeded in foundation building. Of course, there are many losers, such as Gong Susu. Not only did this woman fail to build the foundation, but her second-level alchemy teacher was also killed in the battle. No wonder the situation is not good. Fang Qing sighed in his heart, and after satisfying his curiosity, he prepared to leave and pay a visit to senior brother Tianding. Uncle, wait a minute. Gong Susu, on the other hand, bit her silver teeth secretly for some reason and tried to persuade her to stay. Huh? What else is there? Fang Qing glanced at Gong Susu, but saw that the woman's face was red with embarrassment, and whispered. When I saw my uncle's heroic appearance before, my junior sister secretly promised me. I wonder if my uncle still lacks a concubine? She knew that Fang Qing was not a womanizer. After building the foundation, he took in Qin Rushue from Jin Dao and even tried his best to help him build the foundation. But now that she has lost her support, she tried her best before but failed to build the foundation. She has almost fallen into the same fate as Wu Longzi. She has to spend her whole life refining pills for the sect to pay off her debt, but she still wants to grab another life-saving straw. If Fang Qing agrees, this will be the background of the 2 foundation-building monks. Even maybe there is still a glimmer of hope for a second foundation establishment? After all, Qin Rushue built the foundation 3 times and used 3 foundation-building pills to be successful. She is also a legend among the low-level monks of Baihaman. This am I so like someone who has been taken advantage of? Fang Qing slandered, and then his expression turned cold. Fang has no intention of serving as a concubine, but he has one more message for the palace master's nephew to follow the right path and don't always try crooked ways. After saying that, he waved his sleeves and walked away. Only Gong Susu, whose face gradually turned pale, stood silently, deep in the Dan Palace. Senior brother Tianding, Fang Qing smiled and cupped his hands, realizing that this senior brother seemed to be older than before. The 10-year war, even if Dan Dao was only responsible for logistics, was extremely labor-intensive, which is understandable. Junior brother Fang? Elder Tianding looked happy. Are you planning to go out to help me? I am afraid I will disappoint my senior brother. I just built the foundation not long ago, and now I am still thinking about practicing in seclusion. Fang Qing smiled and shook his head, which made Elder Tianding feel depressed for a while. Sigh, IW. As very impatient when I saw those second-level alchemists fighting for power, but now I suddenly lose many familiar faces, but I feel lonely for no reason. The longer a monk lives, the weirder his temper may become. Fang Qing had heard similar rumors and didn't take it seriously. The 2 sides took a few more sips of spiritual tea and chatted for a while before he mentioned his own affairs. Oh? How many second-level precious medicines do you want to exchange? Elder Tianding took Fang Qing's medicine list. Junior brother, what you need is quite complicated. Of course Fang Qing will not directly throw out the ingredients for the little barrier-breaking pill, and Qin Rushue has already collected several of the ingredients. He just added a few other materials that Qin Rushue had not yet collected and gave them to Tianding. I am going to modify the ancient elixir recipe, so I need some various materials, Fang Qing said with a smile. Junior brother, this second-level elixir is the public property of the sect, so it is against the rules to make elixirs for private individuals. 77 Elder Tianding said seriously, unless you serve as the elder of the alchemy palace and refine elixirs for this sect. Senior brother, I have a shui yuan dan here. Please taste it, what do you think? Fang Qing smiled secretly in his heart and handed over a pill. This, second-level mid-grade shui yuan dan? Are you really extravagant? You actually use a second-level demon core to make an elixir? With this demon core, wouldn't it be good to refine a foundation-building elixir? Elder Tianding shook his head repeatedly and scolded Fang Qing for wasting things. I got one by chance, so I tried 1 or 2, Fang Qing Dao. Now we are preparing to try to replace the second-order demon core with the second-order mid-grade monster flesh and blood, combined with other medicinal materials. If it succeeds, it will be of great benefit to our sect. That's it, Elder Tianding calmly put the shui yuan pill into his sleeve. Since junior brother is considering this for the sake of our sect, let's just do it this time and not in the future. The deal between the 2 parties was reached, and the relationship seemed to be closer for a while. Elder Tianding began to give Fang Qing some ideas for replacing the second-order demon core. Fang Qing suddenly felt enlightened after hearing this. After all, he can still learn alchemy knowledge from another world. Recently, he has been studying the Xingyuan essay. Occasionally, he said something, which also made Elder Tianding's eyes brighten, and he repeatedly praised Fang Qing's alchemy talent. The 2 started from alchemy to cultivation, and finally got involved in the Sea Destruction Alliance. Destroy the Sea Alliance? A clown, vulnerable, Elder Tianding waved his hand. It is still active now, but it is just relying on the two major alchemy forces to escape. If they hadn't been left to attract people with evil intentions towards the sect and to investigate the traces of Patriarch Bihai, the sect would have been destroyed by them. What? Is there such a consideration? Fang Qing was slightly surprised. Elder Tianding smiled. The head of the family is very optimistic about you. After all, you succeeded in building the foundation in one go, and you are considered the core of our sect. It doesn't hurt to know some information. Do you know why our ancestor Bihai came to this small Huanhai to establish a sect? Isn't it because there is less competition here? Fang Qing's heart moved. Less competition? There may be some reason for this, besides, it is for a secret realm. Elder Tianding made a surprising statement. Secret realm? Fang Qing was so excited that he had to say he had some stress reaction. Yes, the secret realm was built by monks with great magical powers in ancient times. Not only does it have a powerful aura, but it also contains many treasures and elixirs. Even one of them may raise you and me to a level of cultivation. When Elder Tianding mentioned this, he couldn't help but look forward to it. Yes. Such a magical elixir, I wish I could see it, Fang Qing calculated how many Shui Yuan elixirs he had spent on cultivating himself to the peak of the early stage of foundation building, and he suddenly felt longing for it. Haha, it is said that Patriarch Bihai came here to pursue information about a secret realm. Later, he couldn't find it, so he founded a sect on Bu Island, Elder Tianding said, but our sect's classics record that in his later years, the Patriarch discovered clues to the secret realm and never returned, so? Maybe die in a secret place? Fang Qing had some guesses in his mind. Originally, the disciples of the Patriarch thought that the Patriarch died in the secret realm, but many years later, Tianqin Liandao, Zhong family and other alchemy forces emerged. Although their inheritance should also come from the East China Sea, they do not rule out obtaining the alchemy relics, Elder Tianding said. So, we suspect that these two alchemy-forming forces have clues to the secret realm? Fang Qing blinked, knowing the underlying reason why Baiheman insisted on destroying Tianqin Island and the Zhong family. That's right, even if these two major alchemy-forming forces did not obtain the relics of their ancestors, after so many years, our Bihai sect has almost turned the Zio Wanhai immortal realm upside down, and we have not found any clues about the secret realm, Elder Tianding sighed. So this secret realm may be located at the foundation of these two major forces, that is where we were unable to explore before. This inference is quite reasonable, Fang Qing touched his chin. If the secret realm is located, if there is a spiritual energy leakage, the possibility of achieving high-level spiritual veins is very high. Yes, that's the truth. Elder Tianding stroked his beard and said, our sect has arranged for core disciples to investigate, and there must be news soon. Xuanbi Cave. There may be an entrance to a secret realm near Tianqinai Sland and Taibai Island? Fang Qing was playing with a second-level elixir obtained from the Alchemy Palace with the order of Elder Tianding, with a thoughtful look on his face. No wonder they couldn't wait to send people to guard it just after the war, and the mages were treated well. By the way, Baiheman can also do it. Ren forcibly destroyed the two major pill-building forces before starting to search for the secret realm. Otherwise, it might be a situation where the three families jointly develop the secret realm. How can one of them enjoy it alone? Forget it, now that the medicinal materials are available, we can refine the small barrier-breaking pill first. As for the foundation-building pill? This elixir is ranked at the second level of top grade, but it is quite difficult. What's more, Fang Qing has not yet digested the alchemy path from ancient Shu, so there is no need to worry. Besides, the true energy needed for Tian escape sword technique must be carefully collected by Qin Rushua. Now he feels more and more that he was right in accepting a famous concubine. Even now it seems that it is not enough. After all, Qin Rushua is also very busy. Should we start looking for a second Ming concubine? Or maybe Mingzi will become, but no matter what, the two sisters Gong Susu will not be considered, in the alchemy room. Fang Qing made a secret with both hands, and poured mana into the second-level cold spring. Gulialu. The cold spring continued to emit cold air, and the originally green spiritual spring water gradually took on a red color. This water and fire elixir formula is indeed exquisite. After being sacrificed and refined into the red yang spiritual water, this spring has been temporarily promoted to the second-level mid-level, and is no longer under the hot and cold springs on Dan Island. Looking at the yin and yang of the cold and hot spring water in the cold spring, forming the shape of Tai Chi, Fang Qing nodded with satisfaction. T.'s water and fire elixir is a gift from the former owner of the cave, the foundation-building monk Xian Shaoxin. It can temporarily upgrade a second-order low-grade spiritual spring to the second-order mid-grade level, which is of great benefit to alchemy. After all, the small barrier-breaking pill that Fang Qing plans to refine next is ranked second-level mid-grade, and it is perfectly complementary to use the second-order mid-grade spiritual pool to refine it. Even the refining of enough foundation building pills is almost complete. The foundation establishment pill is a second-level top-grade pill. The key is that it is too rare. It is a bit shocking to refine it in Hongquan Peak. Although it is not impossible to use a second-level low-grade spiritual pool, the spring water grade will undoubtedly lower the success rate. In fact, even the second-order mid-grade spiritual pool is slightly insufficient, but it is barely within the tolerance range. This can be regarded as the legacy of my predecessors, so I still want to show one or two. Fang Qing thought that this matter was handed over to Qin Ruxue, and immediately stopped thinking about it and took out a purple air flower of the second-level treasure. This flower is as big as the mouth of a bull, blooming with a colorful purple halo. At first glance, it is a rare treasure. This main material is suitable for tempering in hot springs. 3 days later, it can be turned into cold springs. 3 hot and cold cycles can be used to achieve it. The recipe for Little Breaking Barrier Pill. Fang Qing has already thought about it more than once, and calculated it carefully. Knowing the auspicious day to open the pond, he did not hesitate at this time and threw it into the spring water. Waves of heat waves swept over, extracting the purple flower into liquid. Fang Qing's consciousness spread out instantly, carefully observing the changes in various medicinal properties, and assisting in the alchemy. 3 months pa. Said before I knew it. This kind of realm-breaking elixir is not only difficult to refine, but also takes longer. No wonder it is more expensive, or in other words, it has a price but no market. He silently looked at the bottom of the spiritual pool, and under his spiritual observation, he saw that there were already 2 prototypes of pills there, which were half-finished small barrier-breaking pills. According to the standard of water method alchemy, at this point, it has been considered a success. The reason why I succeeded in refining it for the first time should be that my alchemy skills are extraordinary. After building the foundation, I have improved a lot. I am quite confident in refining the second-level middle-grade elixir. I have been refining alchemy on Xiaobai Island for nearly 10 years. Although I am not refining the small barrier-breaking elixir, the Shuiyuan Dan is also a second-order mid-grade elixir, which has a bypassing effect. I even have a vague feeling that my alchemy skills have reached the second level of high grade. Even if I refine the foundation establishment pill, I will be sure to make it after 2 or 3 failures. At this time, Fang Qing continued to observe and saw that on the 2 purple pill prototypes, one condensed 2 silver pill patterns, and the other only had a half pill pattern. One of the elixirs is genuine and one is inferior. Although I generally did not make any mistakes when refining them, there were still some subtle omissions in the details, which caused the 2 elixirs to exceed the standard. If you want to swallow them, it is best to keep them warm with water for 1.5 years. If the pool can be sealed for more than 10 years at a time, this inferior product can probably be upgraded to a genuine product. 7 Fang Qing nodded and shook his head. He didn't have that much free time at all. He could only wait for 1 year at most. As for the remaining inferior product, Xiaopa barrier pill? I don't know. How many early-stage foundation establishment monks will be jealous if I release it? I'm not in a hurry. The second-level elixir has restrained medicinal properties and is not easy to evaporate. It can be stored for a long time if it is combined with a specific warming jade bottle and sealing talisman. There is no problem in maintaining its medicinal properties for hundreds of years. Large, it can be used as hard currency at the bottom of the box, or as a reserve for Qin Ruxue. The inferior elixirs of the small barrier breaking down also have the effect of assisting in breaking through the bottleneck, but they may have too much erysipelas and other negative effects. Even if a monk breaks through, he needs to meditate for several years to strengthen his body and eliminate the erysipelas. But these are nothing compared to breaking through the bottleneck. Half a year later, Qin Ruxue made an excuse to go back to the sect to report on the mission, so she turned back to Baiheman and came to Xuanbi Cave. Son, this is the long whale Mingyue Qi. After some heartfelt exchanges, Qin Ruxue handed a jade bottle to Fang Qing. It is easy to collect this, but it is another truth that the young master needs. It needs to be found on the mortal battlefield, which is a little troublesome. I have ordered people to find Guzhan. I hope I can gain something from the site. Oh? I'm not in a hurry. Fang Qing said a few words of comfort and took the long whale and the bright moon. This is as deep as the sea, with a vague image of a whale singing about the bright moon, and it looks very extraordinary. After all, it is a 7th-level true monk, and the person who takes it is expected to have more power than those low-level true monks when he is convinced of Qi and Taoism. As for the other truth, it is naturally needed to practice the Tian escape sword art, and it is also ranked at the 7th level. Lu Jin, also known as Zhenwu Gold and Binga Gold, is the correct Pa. Sidion of Gold. The truth requires a battlefield environment. Xiao Huanhai does not have any conditions in this regard. On the contrary, in the land of ancient Shu, there are many soldiers and troubles, and it is more convenient to collect qi. Fang Qing was moved in his heart and smiled. This is not the case. Urgent, just remember. But what did you find when you were stationed on Taibai Island? 7. He had naturally told Qin Ruxue about the matter between Bihai and the secret realm. Fang Qing naturally trusted his concubine more than the sect. Z said, the sect is indeed interested in investigating Taibai Island, but I have not found any clues about the secret realm. Qin Ruxue said, either the secret realm is hidden very deep, or it is on Tianqin Island. If this secret realm is not hidden deeply, how could Master Bihai have spent most of his life looking for it? How is it possible not to be discovered by the two major alchemy forces? Fang Qing has a very good attitude, just keep paying attention. Anyway, if there are any clues, the entrance to the secret realm will be guarded by restrictions, and you, the formation mages, are indispensable. To be honest, he still has some shadows about the incident in the Yanba paradise last time. Even if you know that this secret realm is easily accessible, you may not put much thought into it. After Qin Ruxue left, Fang Qing took the time to pay attention to Gu Shu. Su He escaped the disaster by luck and kept purchasing spiritual objects related to Ji Shui, but unfortunately he got nothing. Trash. Fang Qing cursed and sighed, knowing that the classes in ancient Shu were too clear. It is impossible for a monk to even take a look at such Taoist spiritual objects. Even as soon as it appears, it will be taken away by Daoji and Zifu forces and stored deep in the cellar. It is basically impossible to take it out without exchange by monks of the same level. After all, it is still a place with scarce resource. Yes, it is not as good as this side of Jade Island. He took a deep breath and came to the alchemy room. Raising his hand, a genuine small obstacle-breaking pill filled with purple energy and 2 silver pill patterns on the surface came into his hand. That's it for now, let's break through to the middle stage of foundation building first, yes. Indoor retreat. Fang Qing silently runs behind Gong to break through the bottleneck in the middle stage of foundation building. Unfortunately, no matter how much he performed in Zhoutian, there were still 20 drops of liquid mana in the Dantian Qi Si, motionless. Sure enough, it is wishful thinking to rely on self-reliance to overcome the bottleneck. At this time you still have to take drugs. Actually, I don't have to care too much about erysipelas. After all, I can use the Daoshengzhu to return to it. Ben Guiyuan purifies mana, but pure mana does not mean that the body is pure. In the future, it is better to take genuine and high-quality elixirs, but not inferior ones. Fang Qing took a deep breath, took out the small barrier-breaking elixir, and swallowed it. Boom. After starting to operate the technique this time, the situation was completely different. The power of the elixir enters the Dantian and immediately turns into dense purple gas, enveloping 20 drops of liquid mana, and attacks the bottleneck in the middle stage of foundation building. Click. It was probably just a moment, but it seemed like a long time passed. Fang Qing was so conscious that he seemed to hear the sound of water slurry bursting out of the silver bottle. He looked inside himself and saw that in his Dantian, the 21st drop of dark green liquid mana was slowly taking shape. The foundation building is in the middle stage. With this 21st drop of liquid mana, Fang Qing suddenly felt that he was completely different. The sea of qi in his Dantian expanded again, and he could swallow the Shui Yuan Dan and continue to improve his mana. Not only that. His consciousness, which was originally 30 or 40 feet high, suddenly increased to about 50 feet. After the middle stage of foundation building, spiritual consciousness and mana surge, the power of spiritual weapons can be better exerted. With my current cultivation level, I may not encounter the botlin. Ek again until the peak of 50 drops of middle stage of foundation building, not counting special conditions. A monk in the middle stage of foundation building can easily defeat the early stage of foundation building. Of course, it is a little difficult to kill. With such magic power, I want to see who in ancient Shu dares to call me Mingzi. Wait a minute, I just have strong magic power, but I don't have any profound Taoism. I might be regarded as a more powerful Mingzi. Fang Qing looked embarrassed and immediately ignored him. No matter how unpleasant Mingzi sounds, she is still considered a first-level Taoist figure, and is not something that a monk in the convinced Qi realm can touch. No matter how bad Mingzi is, he can easily kill a large number of convinced monks. This can be seen from the quality of mana. A drop of his liquid mana is equivalent to the entire mana of a 9th-level Qi-refining monk. Even a 9th-level Qi-conquering monk has more than half of his mana. Use this magic power to defeat the Qi monks and jump up the stairs to fight. You will basically win without losing. And my consciousness, which was stuck at the bottleneck in the early stage of foundation building. Now that I have broken through the middle stage of foundation building, there should be a period of growth after reaching the limit. I may be able to use the 2nd-level Ice Soul Chilling Heart. Will I have spiritual consciousness in the late stage of foundation building or even the fake elixir level in advance? Fang Qing still has a lot of good things at his disposal. He was stuck in a bottleneck before, and good steel must be used on the blade. When I reach the peak of the middle stage of foundation building, my spiritual consciousness should be around 60 feet. By then I will try to use external objects to raise it to more than 100 feet. The spiritual consciousness is strong, whether it is fighting, refining elixirs, or practicing, there are many benefi. T.S. Alas, it is a pity that my Hydreigon Protector magic art still has not found a follow-up, otherwise the effect will be even better if combined with this technique and spiritual body training. The spiritual consciousness of a monk in the foundation building period will not exceed 150 feet at most. 150 feet is 1 mile. The only person who can calculate in miles is the Dan level divine consciousness. As for the spiritual consciousness that breaks through the Dan formation level during the foundation building stage, that's unlikely. Only the third level Ice Soul Cold Heart can have such effects. Because of this, it is the Zhong family's elixir-forming spiritual object. In the middle stage of foundation building, the sect is at the forefront of all foundation building. If you are lucky, you can also gain a position of real power like Chuizha, but this is not what I want. Fang Qing's improved realm is only used as a trump card, and he will definitely use the Daosheng Pearl to hide a layer of mana cultivation. He sat cross-legged and did not leave seclusion. After thinking for a while, he took out another ancient book, which was The Secret of the Whale Swallowing the Tsang Sea. This retreat is just an introduction to the ancient Shu, Shen Shui, technique. Alas, my destiny is most suitable for cultivating Ji Shui, but Shen Shui is also a water virtue, so it shouldn't be as difficult as the secret technique of Great Sun initiation. If I hadn't been unable to find the chance of Ji Shui, Dao Foundation, why would I have done this? The ancient Shu Dao Foundation was really difficult, and Fang Qing had to make 2 preparations. If you overestimate your alchemy skills and cannot refine the foundation building elixir into Ji Shui, Dao Ji Dan, you can only use Shen Shui to forge the foundation. The foundation building pills are all made from second-level demon cores. Even if these monsters do not have Dao Foundation, a Founda Tian building pill that is slightly refined will have at least 30% to 40% of the effectiveness of Dao Foundation pills. When the time comes to refine a few more pills, they will basically be equivalent to one Shen Shui, Dao Ji pill. More importantly, the effect of the immortality caused by the failure of the guardian monk to cast the foundation should be retained. This is the most important thing. Actually, Fang Qing thought to himself that with his second-level body refining and the marrow cleansing of the I Ching that built the foundation, even if he failed to build the foundation, he would not end up with the death of his body, but it was better to have a guarantee for everything. Even if I don't plan to use the Shen Shui method to build the foundation of the Tao, I will definitely practice this whale swallowing the Songhai technique. Of course Fang Qing knows the truth of biting off more than he can chew. He collected these techniques to practice, and at most he was convinced to enter the Tao and serve as an introduction, and then he would not put in too much effort. When you encounter a suitable opportunity, you can directly use the Daoshengzhu to initiate your skills to a usable level to deal with various complex situations. His main training methods are only the Bihai Gong of Qi Dao, and the Qi Dao, and at most one additional training method to assist in physical training. If it were not for the Daosheng Pearl to transform one's power, one would need to have a corresponding introduction first. I don't have to do the same. Fang Qing first empties his body of mana, then picks up the jade bottle containing the 7th-level low-grade long whale Mingyue, runs the magic formula, and is silently convinced. Crash! In the image of the whale song and the bright moon, he instantly felt the mighty power of his Shen Shui flowing into his dantian. Similarly, the magic power of the whale swallowing the Songhai Ju, both in quality and quantity, far exceeds. The Guan Heiling book, with a thought in his mind, wisps of Yuan Qi fell down and were continuously converted into Shen Shui magic power. In an instant, the mana fluctuations in Fang Qing's body expanded crazily, from the first level of convincing Qi to the third level of convincing Qi, and then broke into the middle stage of convincing Qi, and then into the late stage of convincing Qi. It did not slowly stop until the 9th level of convincing Qi reached the great perfection. 2.5 drops of liquid mana are transformed into Yuan Qi. Calculating the consumption in his mind, Fang Qing couldn't help but secretly exclaim, sure enough, the mana is rich. Only under the secret technique of Great Sun initiation, 1 drop of his liquid mana is comparable to the entire mana of a 9th-level Qi refining monk. But if you switch to a convinced monk, there are many differences. If the 9 levels of persuasion in the Book of Guanhailing are perfect, 1.5 drops are needed. This whale swallowing the Songhai Ju is 2.5 drops. From this, we can see the difference in quality between Zifu Kung Fu and Dao Ji Kung Fu. It's just that although I am convinced of the 9 levels of perfection now, if I am asked to cast Dao Ji, even if I have a foundation building pill, I don't have much little confidence. You still need to improve your own Shen Shui, Taoism. This kind of cultivation is certainly not as stable as his Ji Shui, Guan Heiling Shu's own level-by-level cultivation, even if it is the foundation of the Tao. The next step is to study the alchemy book and try to refine the foundation building pill. Fang Qing transformed all his mana to maintain the initial level of foundation building and walked out of the retreat room. For him now, if he doesn't build the foundation of Qi Dao, it will be of little use. No matter how high the secret of magical skills is, there is still no way to deal with the huge gap in realm. The cave is as usual, with only a few transmission notes. Huh? Fang Qing stretched out his hand to grab it, listened to a few words, and his expression changed slightly. A banquet? That's not bad. What he received was Ling Huzhong's invitation. Nowadays, the situation in this sect is very good. It is indeed a time for singing and dancing. Fang Qing has never been an ascetic monk, and he just made a breakthrough today and came out of seclusion in a good mood, so he accepted immediately. A moment later, he drove a spiritual boat and arrived at Ling Huzhong's waterside cave. The sound of silk and bamboo orchestras could be heard faintly, accompanied by the soft singing of the singer. It was obvious that the banquet lasted for several days. Senior brother Ling Hu, Fang Qing entered the waterside pavilion and saw many foundation-building monks acting rather wildly. Haha, it's junior brother Fang? Hurry up and take your seat, you're late, you'll have to drink 3 drinks as a penalty. Ling Huzhong stepped forward enthusiastically. After all, Fang Qing had a clean net worth and was a second-level mid-level alchemy master. He was the key target of the leader's line. Fang Qing had nothing to say, so he sat down directly, took the wine poured by a maid next to him, and put his arm around the waist of a dancer who came up to her. The dancers and musicians here are actually monks, and they even have skills in the various arts. One is practicing music, and the other is practicing dance. First-class musicians who can use music to mediate the inner demons of monks, heal psychological trauma, and slightly stimulate bottleneck breakthroughs. There are also these dancing girls, all of whom still have their vitality and are quite charming. Ling Huzhong really knows how to enjoy it. He took a sip of wine and asked the woman in his arms to help pick up the food, and he was enjoying himself. I just can't help but sigh in my heart. People's hearts can be seen in both adversity and good times. It go. Yes, without saying that Ling Huzhong did nothing during the war. Now, the leader's line has the tendency of blooming flowers and brocade, and burning oil, and the true nature of some young masters is gradually revealed. It's nothing, it's not a sin for children of aristocratic families to enjoy themselves. What's more, it's still to win people's hearts. Fang Qing took a glance and found that there were many foundation-building monks coming, and Shuizhe was among them. He was sitting on the seat to the left of Ling Huzhong with a cold face. There was no dancing girl to serve him. Acting head, according to my junior brother's opinion, your generation can be removed long ago. 7 Of course there were many flatterers at the table, who were praising Ling Huzhong. Fang Qing glanced at him and found that he didn't recognize him. He should be a newly promoted person in the early stage of foundation building, so he didn't pay much attention. Ling Huzhong drank too much wine, and his face was a little red. My cultivation is shallow. The head of our sect has been held by late-stage foundation building monks in the past generations. Let's wait until I am in the mid-stage to talk about it. Yes. This Ling Huzhong waits until the middle stage of foundation building to really want to take over as the leader? Several more experienced foundation building monks present looked at each other and said nothing. After all, strength is the most important thing in the world of cultivating immortals. There is an ancestor in the alchemy stage, and it actually makes sense to serve as the head of Baihamen in the middle stage of foundation establishment. Of course Fang Qing chose to follow the crowd. After all, Ling Huzhong was kind to him during the war and arranged Wu Longzi under him, which saved him a lot of energy. Haha, thank you all. Seeing that the monks who had hinted that they were letting off steam got so much support, Ling Huzhong couldn't help but be overjoyed. Just at this moment, another junior sister of the foundation establishment sister suddenly spoke. Senior brother Ling who hosted a banquet and specially invited Wanbao. The old guy didn't come. He really didn't give the senior brother face. As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere suddenly became a little cold. After all, Wanbao is a real high-level sect and has great prestige, not to mention that he is not from their line. Of course, people don't have to give face. Ling Huzhong also looked at this junior sister speechlessly. The one he was looking for before was really not. Fang Qing looked at this scene and found it interesting as well. Isn't it like a smart person thinking in all kinds of ways, not as good as a stupid person having an idea? Ling Huzhong definitely didn't want to start a war with Elder Wanbao's faction, but he couldn't stop the people below from making noises. What's more, with the unification of Xiaohuanhai, there is no rival outside the Bihai Gate. Isn't it possible that we can only fight within the gate? As long as senior brother Ling Hu raises his voice, how difficult is it for us to launch an impeachment against Wanbao? Another junior brother foundation architect complimented. Fang Qing did not follow the crowd at this time. After all, Wanbao was his old leader during the 10 years of the war and treated him well. Ling Huzhong, however, was somewhat stuck on the frame, unable to get off the tiger. Furthermore, now that the leader's line is at its peak, maybe it can really bring down Elder Wanbao? Just when he opened his mouth and hesitated, dark clouds suddenly covered the sky, and a terrifying spiritual pressure emerged from the center of the island, sweeping over. This? what happened? A group of Foundation construction majors stood up one after another, and some even knocked over the cups in front of them. For a moment, everyone fell on their backs. What a terrifying spiritual pressure. This is. Chuizha looked at the center of the island and saw a beam of light rising into the sky, and a large amount of spiritual energy swarmed towards him. This situation and this scene, it's a bit like the time when the snake in the sea was crossing the tribulation. Could it be that someone in the door broke through the pill formation? Fang Qing looked at this scene with some emotion. Pellet formation? Linghu Zhong's thoughts turned around and he passed by the suspected late-stage Foundation building monks in the door. Suddenly, a thought came to his mind. Could it be that Elder Wanbao's cultivation has advanced further and reached the fake elixir realm of perfect Foundation building, and the door is supporting him in forming elixirs, right? As soon as he thought of this, some cold sweat dripped down his forehead. Is there any other fake alchemy monk in our sect? Could it be Elder Wanbao? Or Elder Tianding? A group of Foundation building monks started talking about it. It takes hundreds of years for our sect to accumulate an amount of pill-forming resources, but it was previously used by the snake in the sea. It's just that in recent years, our sect has swept through Tianqin Island and the Taibai Zhong family, so we have seized many resources. Can we gather some pill-forming resources? Those elderly Foundation builders have guessed some of the truth. Tianding? Wanbao? They all have lower vision. The person who truly formed the elixir must be Linghu Jin. As a rare person who knows the inside story, Fang Qing is very confident in his heart. When it comes to merit, status, and cultivation, there is no need to compare Wanbao with Tianding and Linghu Jin. Linghu Jin refined the tidal pearl into an outer elixir, which has the initial combat power of the elixir. In other words, as long as he can successfully form the elixir, there is no need to worry about the subsequent catastrophe. If the pill-forming heavenly tribulation can kill all the early-stage pill-forming monks, then there will basically be no pill-forming monks who have successfully overcome the calamity. Therefore, this outer elixir method is actually the supreme method to survive the calamity of the elixir formation. Fang Qing looked up and saw dark clouds and thunder dancing wildly, but he felt a little envious in his heart. The environment in which Linghu Jin broke through the pill formation was much stronger than the previous snake in the sea, and it was even less likely to be disturbed by outside pill formation monks. This shows that the sect has not even activated all the power of the 7 mysterious blue wave formation. And, human monks break through the pill formation, which is somewhat different from the monsters. Fang Qing carefully understood the changes in the spiritual power of heaven and earth. This is a hard-won opportunity. What's more, he will definitely reach this point in the future. In his induction, the third-order spiritual energy of the entire main island was gathering at a certain core like hundreds of rivers returning to the sea. A deep and vast energy is constantly being perfected and sprouting through this process. Phew. At this moment, a stream of light suddenly rose. One of the old men in the early stage of Foundation building gritted his teeth, and blood mist erupted all over his body. He sprayed out a blood arrow and shot it towards the Dongjia cave. Poof. The bloody arrow was caught by a slender hand halfway and shattered in an instant. A stream of green water fell down, melting the old man who built the Foundation in an instant. The elders of our sect have formed elixirs, and the rest of the Foundation building monks who dare to approach will be punished as traitors to the sect. The figure of Bibo Fairy Wan Jishuan appeared, her tone was calm. That person seems to be Elder Shan? Linghu Zhong was surprised for a moment, and nodded slowly. So, this person is either Tianqin Island or the deathbed of the Zhong family. Now he should be regarded as the person who destroyed the High Alliance. In any case, with the protection of our ancestors, we don't have to worry. Fang Qing's expression was very relaxed, and suddenly his consciousness moved. He felt that the flowing inspiration seemed to be a little stagnant at this moment. 3 days passed quickly. At this time, even Linghu Zhong and other Foundation-building monks clearly understood the difficulty of the person who formed the elixir. Building pills, it's so difficult. Fang Qing couldn't help but make a fortune, and then sighed. Almost the next moment he sighed, the dark clouds in the sky instantly dissipated, the thunder disappeared, and there was no longer the tingling feeling before. How come the pill-forming calamity has never happened? A female cultivator said stupidly. That must be because the elixir cannot be formed. The true elixir failed before it was completely condensed. A companion next to him spoke, and suddenly he subconsciously covered his mouth and looked around in panic. Junior brothers and sisters, now that such a big thing has happened to our sect, we all have to return to the cave. It was Linghu Zhong who was flustered but not confused at this time. Here are 2 ancestors of Jiadan in our sect. Even now there was another person who failed to form a pill, but it was nothing. 7 Senior brother Linghu said it was very, as expected. The group of Foundation building monks calmed down and returned to their caves. Fang Qing returned to Dan Island but did not enter deep retreat. Sure enough, a few days later, there was gossip. The one who formed the elixir was the leader Linghu Jin. In fact, he unfortunately failed before he could reach the stage of condensing the true elixir. Moreover, because he was too old and had used several secret techniques to reduce his potential, he was already on the verge of running out of gas and the end was not far away. This is really big news. Fang Qing held the transmission talisman and said, if it had been the time when the three major forces of forming pills were standing at the same time, this news would have been kept secret, but there were too many interested people in the sect, and it was such a big matter of forming pills. I can't hide it at all, and the situation is the same for Baihaman now. Xiao Huanhai is still the only family of Baihaman, so there is no need to hide it. He thought for a while, summoned the spirit boat and came to Linghuzhong Shuixi cave. The waterside pavilion at this time was silent, even a little deserted. Seeing him building a tall building, seeing him entertaining guests, seeing his building collapse, a sentence came to Fang Qing's mind, and it seemed to be very appropriate inexplicably. After the transmission note is issued, the waterside formation is opened. He walked into it and saw Linghuzhong with a haggard look on his face. Senior brother Linghu, Fang Qing handed over his hand, take care of yourself, fortunately, junior brother is still willing to visit me. Linghuzhong smiled miserably, it's not like those people who all ran away in one piece. Jing, why is this the case? Even if Master Linghu fails to form the elixir, he is still the master, senior brother is still the acting master. Fang Qing said a few words of relief. Alas, how can it be so simple? My ancestor is about to end his life this time and has no choice but to retire, but I was able to serve as the head of the sect before, relying on his power of forming pills, but now the corner of Linghuzhong's mouth was bitter, as if he was holding a bitter fruit. Huawu Berihong, when I was proud of myself over the years, even though I was quite cautious in doing things, I was bound to be envied by many people. At this time of year, I still have to retreat quickly, I have decided to resign as the acting leader. This, Fang Qing thought for a while, but remained silent. Linghuzhong's real problem is that the leader's family has expanded rapidly through the power of Linghu Jingjiedan, and has usurped too many interests. Originally, as long as Linghu Jin remained an alchemy monk, this would not be a big deal. But this time the elixir formation failed, but the tiger skin was torn off. The strength of the leader's family has been greatly reduced, and naturally they need to shrink in a big way. Fortunately, I didn't follow Linghuzhong to stir up trouble when my head was hot, otherwise, it would definitely be a lawsuit now. Although Fang Qing is considered to be half the head of the clan, he is still aloof. After all, he has no intention of having power, and this is when his benefits show. Even if he is attacked, he has nothing to attack. On Dan Island, Elder Tianding is eager to let him inherit the mantle. Fang Qing said a few words of comfort again, said goodbye and left. From the beginning to the end, no one asked Linghu Jin why he had the power of forming pills in the first place. This is obviously the top secret of the sect, so there is no need to bring trouble on yourself. What's more, he already knew it. After Fang Qing left, Linghuzhong's eyes flashed and he came to the living room. A light flashed above screen, and a pale old man walked out. It was Linghu Jin. Old ancestor, Linghuzhong saluted. Just now it was junior brother Fang Qingfeng, I saw it. This boy has a pretty good character. He is worthy of being built in one go and is worthy of being cultivated by the sect. Although Linghu Jin's face was pale, he looked like he was seriously injured. In this way, the sparkle in his eyes became even brighter. Although I am injured, I can barely survive for a few more years. Just take this opportunity to eliminate all the hidden dangers of the sect. You continue to spread the news, saying that I am about to die, and everyone in the family has begun to fight for power, and see if you can catch a few more small fish that will destroy the Sea Alliance. Yeah. Xuanbi Cave. Fang Qing looked at the teleportation notes flying around outside the cave and was a little bit dumbfounded. Since being promoted to the true biography, this scene has been rare. Such a troubled time, since the news of Linghu Jin's failure to break through the core formation spread, an undercurrent surged in Baihaman. I don't know how many monks are gathering and connecting in secret, but he doesn't need to make a hexagram to know how to deal with it. Despite the wind and rain in all directions, I remain firm and unmoving. The specific reason is that I have nothing to ask for, without weakness. It is not easy to be manipulated, and it is not easy to act impulsively. Nowadays, the head of the family seems to have become a lost dog, but in fact, Linghu Jin is only rumored to be dead, but he is not dead yet after all. What's more, Patriarch Ruan's attitude is also very ambiguous. Fang Qing has always had a good relationship with the monks from the leaders group and would not do anything to add insult to injury. He just stayed in the cave, practicing daily and reading alchemy books. Occasionally go out for fun, listen to music, play chess with others, visit auctions and markets, or go to Taibai Island to find Qin Rushue. Before you know it, several years have passed. For monks in the foundation building stage, retreating for several years at a time may become the norm. Dongfu, in the flower hall. Qin Rushue poured tea for Fang Qing and said with a smile, the chaos in this sect is finally coming to an end. In recent months, Master Cui Zhe and Cui Palace led the evil punishment hall to arrest a group of disciples, including several foundation-building elders. The charges were all collusion to destroy the High Alliance. The atmosphere in the family was soon cleared. The most important thing is that Ling Hujin said he wanted to die, but he never died. It was clearly fishing. Fang Qing took a sip of tea and smiled playfully. The sect seems to be talking. This opportunity to wipe away the arrogance of the previous victory, it can be regarded as killing multiple birds with one stone. Head Ling Hu is indeed the head of Ling Hu. He is still serving the sect when he is about to die of old age. Menshin was worried. Headmaster Ling Hu is going to die? Qin Rushue was shocked. The Sea Destruction Alliance suffered a huge blow. She almost thought that the failure of the pill formation was all a scam. What is false is what is real, what is true is what is false. Headmaster Ling Hu is already old. He failed to attack the pill formation before, how could there be no backlash? Fang Qing shook his head, but there is still an ancestor of the pill formation who is in charge of the sect. Our Bihai sect status is as stable as Mount Tai, but we don't need to worry about it, in addition to sending the Jinchi when you come back this time. But does the sect have an edict? In addition to sending Lu Jin, Zhen to Fang Qing this time, the most important thing for Qin Rushue is to recall the sect. That's right, senior brother Wanbao summoned the island masters of the Array Island and many array masters, and prepared to dispatch us to Tianqin Island in the name of building a third-level array. There is a third-level spiritual vein on Tianqin Island, which was also the main island of Tianqin Island. So it seems, the secret realm has been confirmed to be near Tianqin Island? Fang Qing paid more attention to this news. Go ahead, if you find anything, report it at any time. In fact, Qin Rushue doesn't need to report it. With the help of Daosheng Pearl, he can observe it at any time. The reason for this is to give my concubine a sense of privacy. Although it is very illusory, but for many things, the effect is completely different with or without the skin. After sending Qin Rushue away, Fang Qing came to the alchemy room. His spiritual consciousness was stimulated, and he inspected the second-level cold spring inch by inch, and then looked inside himself. Since breaking through the middle stage of foundation building, the shackles of mana have disappeared. He has swallowed the genuine Shui Yuan Dan and practiced, and his progress has been rapid. Basically, 1 drop of liquid mana can be condensed in 1 year. Under the best circumstances, it would take more than 20 years to reach the peak of the middle stage of foundation building, and then try to break through to the later stage. Of course, due to drug resistance and various circumstances, this is almost impossible. If nothing else, the accumulation of mana in the middle stage of foundation building is inherently more difficult than in the early stage of foundation building. If you still use second-order low-grade Shui Yuan Dan, it may take several to condense a drop of liquid mana. Well, the water quality has recovered well, we can start refining the elixir. Fang Qing patted the storage bag, and jade boxes flew out one after another, opening them one after another. There is a dark second-order water attribute demon core inside one of them. He is preparing to refine the second-level high-grade foundation building pill. Over the years, Fang Qing has continuously studied the Xinyuan essay, and even tried to use the foundation establishment pill in his hand to refine it into a Dao foundation pill, but unfortunately failed. This matter is quite normal. After all, the alchemy paths of the two worlds are slightly different. He planned to refine some more foundation-building pills for experimentation, just to be prepared. These second-level demon cores have many uses, and Fang Qing has not used them all to refine genuine Shui Yuan Dan before. The auxiliary materials for the foundation establishment pill, I have collected several sets from the Zhong family. It's just that when Elder Tianding refines the foundation establishment pill, he needs the help of all the Dan Island disciples. I don't have this convenience, so I can only work harder on my own. Fang Qing turned the water and fire pill Ju, transforming the second-order low-grade cold spring in this cave into a second-order mid-grade cold and hot spring, and began to process all the materials for the foundation establishment pill. A few months later, he expressionlessly kneaded the secret with both hands, letting a pool of spiritual liquid drain away quickly. Obviously, the difficulty of refining the second-level high-grade elixir in the first place was a bit high. When the final elixir was combined, one key was not handled well, and all of them were immediately scrapped. Fortunately, unlike Tianding, I only refine one second-level demon core at a time, so the loss is not big. Fang Qing rested for a few days and continued to open the pool. This time, he was in better condition, and several crises were handled with divine help. Finally, half a year later, Fang Qing fired a magic formula, and a 3-headed water dragon appeared, each holding a blue light in his mouth. He continued to use the water control technique. The 3 water dragons meandered, and one of them suddenly whined and turned into a large amount of water. Obviously, the refining of this foundation pill failed. Fang Qing was unmoved, controlling the cold and hot springs, and the 2 water dragons were like Tai Chi. The remaining 2 foundation establishment pills are located exactly in the fish eyes of the Yin and Yang Pisces. This is a side trick he has learned after studying the pill sutra for many years, which can improve the success rate of the other pill by reducing the probability and even quality of the other pill. A few hours later, the two foundation establishment pills quietly surfaced, but one of them was not only small, but also full of cracks on the surface. Wow. Suddenly, the foundation establishment pill disintegrated, leaving only one genuine foundation establishment pill. One of the genuine pills is pretty good, Elder Tianding can concede. NTLY produced two good ones and one bad one. Occasionally, three of them are genuine. Fang Qing knew that he lacked Elder Tianding's many years of alchemy experience. What's more, although he has some talent in water method alchemy, most of it relies on the spring water affinity property of Jishui. When it comes to refining the second-level elixir, the mana of Jishui, with only the Qi level is not enough. In other words, when the Dao foundation is cast with Jishui, his alchemy skills may be greatly increased. One establishment pill is not enough. Fang Qing took out a jade box, put the foundation establishment pill away properly, and began to refine it. Time is like water. In the outside world, after some treatment in the Bihai sect, many monks calmed down and began to practice daily, visit friends, and study miscellaneous studies. The restless atmosphere in the entire sect that was originally caused by becoming the overlord of Xiao Huanhai was cleared. Linghu Jin, on the other hand, passed away sadly, and it is said that his funeral was handled in a very low-key manner. As for Tianqin Island, the news was even more tightly sealed. The outside world only knows that Baihaman plans to vigorously develop Tianqin Island and turn the island into a giant market, and even invites a large number of formation mages to set up formations. But they didn't know that Baihaman secretly visited Shinsong and was trying their best to conquer that secret realm. The entrance to the secret realm is guarded by a powerful restriction, the power of heaven and earth, corresponding to the stars above and the earth veins below. The power has exceeded the third level. Even if the island owner of the formation island takes action, it will be difficult to truly unlock the Baihaman. Fang Qing has Qin Rushua as a spy, so he naturally knows the progress of Baihaman's exploration. According to Qin Rushua's estimation, it may take decades to slowly pass away, plus the right time and place. It is possible to open a small hole in the restriction dash in this case. There is no need to spend too much attention on it. He withdrew his thoughts and looked at the hot and cold springs in front of him. At the bottom of the spiritual pool, two blue pills were lying. Two authentic ones. Now, I can barely be considered a quasi-second level top-grade alchemist, right? Fang Qing pinched the magic formula and received two foundation-building pills. He smelled the strange fragrance of the medicine and felt a little in his heart. Dong dong, there are not many second-level demon cores left. This time I refined the foundation establishment pills, which almost consumed all my several-year inventory. However, the effect is not bad. Now that these two are included, he has 8 foundation establishment pills in his hand. This is a number that can make any force jealous. If you are lucky, it will be enough to train several foundation-building monks. Of course, Fang Qing will definitely not release any of them, but will prepare to refine them into Dao Ji Dan to prepare for his own Dao Ji. Even though I have read many alchemy books and practiced it once, it is still difficult to practice it. But these second-level demon cores are all water attributes. According to the classification of ancient Shu, they belong to Zhen Shui. Even if they do not have a mysterious Dao foundation, it should be quite beneficial for Zhen Shui to cast a Dao foundation for the monks who are convinced. In case the training is difficult, we still need to make preparations to go to Zhen Water. Instead, thinking of this, Fang Qing couldn't help but feel heartbroken about the loss of Tianfeng Lingquan in the Yanba Blessed Land last time. If he had succeeded at that time, he would have tried Jishui to cast the foundation. Suhei is also a waste. Blessed Land has opened such a big event, and many spiritual objects have been circulated, but they have not been able to get what I want. Of course, now that Hyman has died and Zifu has died, the Pu family immediately tore up the previous agreement and attacked Bajuan. In the past few years, chaos has arisen again. Thinking of the situation in ancient Shu, Fang Qing couldn't help but shake his head. Obviously, for those lower cultivators and civilians, it is difficult for them to control their own life and death. A change in the leadership has caused countless wars and displaced many people. Yeah. Ancient Shu. Fang Qing walked out of the temporary cave and stretched. At this time, he had a feeling of a bright sun in his body, and he had impressively transformed the cultivation of the secret technique of the Great Sun Initiation. Using the secret technique of the Great Sun Initiation to create the foundation of the Tao, at this time, if I say that I am not a master of the secret realm, I am afraid no one will believe it. Of course, the real master. The advantage is that you can promote 4 Mingzi or Mingfei, so that they can instantly have Tao foundation strength. Although this kind of Mingzi Mingfei is despised here, in the Qi refining Dao, they are proper early-stage foundation-building monks. It's just that it takes too much to promote Immortal. It's best to have a foundation. The best one is one who has been initiated by me and has the same skills as me. The Taoist tradition of the secret realm is very shameless. If a master fights with others, he must bring Wu Mingzi with him. Is this a just group fight? After achieving Taoji, many things in ancient Shu can be promoted. Especially the follow-up to horse-headed Vajra protector magic. Fang Qing has been coveting it for a long time. In this wretched place, you can't trust all the fortune-telling. He first made a divination for himself, and then shook his head. It's still this wretched place, the hierarchy is too strict, and the supervision is too careful. Every Daoji, all cultivators must have a foothold. For those like me who don't have a foothold, I might be beaten by a higher cultivator one day. So, you still have to find a background for yourself. As for how to find a background? Fang Qing naturally had plans. Amurayama. This mountain is located on the border of Bajuan. The peak is short and not amazing in appearance. On the mountainside, some buildings have been built, some spiritual fields have been cultivated nearby, and there are some people. On this day, several rays of light fell near the building, and soon the sound of fighting was heard. Ahem, I am living in seclusion here, why do you have to deal with it so hard? The old blind man from Fuzufang sacrificed an inkstone-like magic weapon, which instantly became as huge as a rockery, with black wind surging, protecting the whole body. Stop talking nonsense, old blind man, the spiritual fields you cultivated belonged to my Mu family. Several monks who were in the early and middle stages of Qi, each controlled a magical weapon, and their arrogance was arrogant. In the building, there are still some mortals, looking worriedly at the battle in the sky. The old blind man was old and frail, and gradually became overwhelmed. He sighed in his heart, alas, the old blind man was indeed destined to suffer this disaster. Stop. At this moment, a young voice came. Although it was not very majestic, for some reason, these convinced monks actually stopped and stood still in midair. After a few breaths, a white jade flying boat came with a shining stream of light. There was a person standing on the boat, wearing water, with unfathomable magical power. It was Fang Qing. Well, they haven't moved, that's good. When he saw this scene, he was quite satisfied. Jishui is indeed my destiny. After being promoted to Daoji, the original power of words has become even more effective. Daoji overhaul? When the monks of the Mu family saw Fang Qing, they were all dumbfounded. Even the old blind man was shaken and couldn't control himself. Although he said he was very optimistic about Fang Qing, in fact he invested in many young monks, and there was only one Li Rulong who truly became a Taoist monk. The Taoist monks in the ancient Shu land were so noble that they could be called the ancestors of one party. How could it be so easy? Why are you here? Is there someone behind the scenes? Fang Qing looked at the Mu family monks. No, we just know that there is only an old man with weak magic power. Here want to annex the spiritual land. Even if he cannot annex it, we can take advantage of the autumn harvest to harvest some spiritual rice and go back. Several Mu family monks could not lie at all and told their innermost plans frankly. Cut the spiritual rice? Fang Qing's mouth twitched slightly. He hadn't seen such a poor cultivator for a long time. Ahem, Senior Fang, the Mu family is a small and submissive family nearby, so this is the only plan. The old blind man coughed, and then saluted Fang Qing solemnly before speaking. Forget it, you can commit suicide later, Fang Qing said indifferently. As soon as he finished speaking, the monk in the early stage of submission couldn't help but put the long sword in his hand on his neck, and was knocked away by the monk in the middle stage of submission next to him. No, don't. But the monk in the middle stage of conversion also struggled with his expression, and held the magic weapon several times. Wanting to aim at his own heavenly spirit, he let it go again, shouting, Senior, have mercy on me. Senior, have mercy on me. Even if it is the power of words at the Taoist level, it will at most make the monks commit suicide in the early stage of admiration. In the middle stage, there will be some difficulties. After all, life and death are human beings' great desires, and they are not so easy to twist. Fang Qing knew it in his heart and spoke again, kill. He did not use his magic power, but just uttered one word indifferently. But in an instant, the water vapor from heaven and earth condensed and turned into swords and other weapons, piercing the torsos of the convinced monks. Blood splatters, people laugh and kill. The old blind man couldn't see this scene with his dark eyes, but he could sense it, and he was also shocked. Is this the power of Daoji? Well, this verbal confrontation is quite powerful enough to crush and subdue the rookie. Fang Qing nodded secretly when he saw the scene. This is an upgrade. D version of Daoji's later power of speech, which he named tip, gun, tongue, and sword. It can speak words into soldiers and fly guns to kill people. The key is that it does not consume mana, similar to a talent spell. When I cultivated Zhen Shui, Lu Jin, and other Taoist traditions, I did not have this kind of talent. Sure enough, a monk's destiny must be consistent with the Taoist traditions to be infinitely mysterious. He pressed down the escape light and was respectfully invited into the living room by the old blind man to serve tea. In the living room, the two parties sat down separately, and the old blind man drove away his son, granddaughter, and other idlers, and solemnly said, "Senior, are you here for this thing?" He reached into his sleeve and tremblingly took out a bone bowl. This bowl is bright yellow in color, a little dark, and has a bloody and evil aura. That's right. Since I promised fellow Taoist, I will naturally take over the cause and effect for fellow Taoist, Fang Qing said calmly. Actually, he had no background, so he simply gave his family a background in the secret realm. Since the secret monks were not allowed to travel eastward, it was fine for him to use this background to hang out in ancient Shu. The old blind man had been eating and drinking for so many years, didn't he live a good life? Thank you, fellow Taoist. But, do you really want to surrender? That secret area is, the old blind man looked dazed and couldn't help but give some advice. What else can we, the casual cultivators, do? Fang Qing took the bone bowl with a calm expression. There is nothing strange about this bowl in his hand. Try using the Great Sun Initiation secret technique later. Although this trip achieved its goal, Fang Qing did not leave immediately. This old blind man is well informed, so he naturally wants to chat a little more, and by the way, make final confirmation about the horse-headed Vitra Dharma protector magic. This Bajuan has been in Chaos again recently. Since the fall of the Black Gate Zifu, the Pu family has torn up the previous agreement and launched an attack brazenly. The old blind man sighed quietly. Is Yashang not caring this time? Fang Qing was a little curious. How to manage? There is only one Zifu in the Black Cancer sect, and now it is obviously abandoned. The old blind man chuckled. We are a demonic force after all, and we pay attention to the law of the jungle. The Black sect is now a weak one, and will only end up being divided and eaten, unless there is another powerful Zifu. The demonic way, the right way? What is righteousness, and what is the devil? Fang Qing was a little emotional. The old blind man also has a lot of thinking, and can only give some superficial opinions. If there are any mistakes or omissions, please don't blame me, the old blind man said. In the ancient times, good and evil were divided into Tao, sun, gold, and fire. Which one is the evil? Of course it is the remaining three virtues of Taiyin, water, earth, and wood. This is the difference between a successful king and a defeated enemy, because the 12-year-old are occupied by the first three. Obedience is righteous, and rebellion is evil. In other words, the sun and the two virtues of gold and fire had the upper hand in the ancient times, occupied the position of year-old. If Taiyin and others want to ascend, they can only resist, and they will naturally be beaten into demons. It makes some sense. Fang Qing agreed in his heart. This Mayun cliff, as well as the Incorp sect in the south, all cultivate Tuda. The old blind man said, Tuda is a demon. Isn't this wrong? I heard that the Hahuan sect in the east seems to have cultivated Fengri. Fang Qing raised his doubts. Haha, after the ancient times, the chaos of good and evil was only divided by the behavior of the monks themselves. Those who used human elixirs and subdued blood and energy were called demons. The right path W. As cultivated using heaven and earth spiritual objects and monster materials, the clues of these two can be seen from the heavenly signs of Taoism. The old blind man said, therefore, the great sun Taoism also has demons and cultivators, and there are also good people among Tuda. I once read an ancient book, which said that in ancient times, there was a powerful, stomach earth, who acted in the way of a divine king, protected the people, and was worshipped by thousands of families. The great sun Taoism? Could it be that the orthodox Dainian monks are the right path, and now they are all the devil? Fang Qing thought of the intelligence he had collected back then. As for stomach earth, it even made him think, the way of the god king? Could it be referring to the kitchen lord? No wonder he is called Dong Yuan Si Ming Linging Shenjun instead of Dong Yuan Si Ming Linging Shenjun. He is not called the real king, but the divine king, because he follows the Shinto way. In any case, it can be regarded as good bamboo shoots. It's just that this person's divinity has been scattered everywhere. I'm afraid the end will not be good. Oh, this is a terrible place. Good people don't live long. After chatting with the old blind man about good and evil, Fang Qing immediately left with a deep bow and turned into a stream of light and left. This bone bowl, going all the way back to the temporary cave he opened at home, Fang Qing took out the secret bone bowl and looked at it. It has the ability to assist in the death of life, which is quite magical, but when his Daoji level, Jishui, mana was injected into it, there was no reaction at all. Fang Qing understood it in his heart and transformed it into the star sun, mana of the Great Sun Initiation secret technique. In an instant, the bone bowl trembled slightly, and lines appeared one after another on it, forming various mysterious and complex cipher symbols, surrounded by a seed word. The 6-word greatly. GHT mantra? Fang Qing searched with his spiritual consciousness and understood its meaning. but he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. I thought it might be the horse-headed Vitra protector magic. What's next? After a little enlightenment, he knew that this 6-character Great Light Mantra is a special secret mantra in the Hidden Realm. It can bless various practices and be used for refining weapons to increase the treasure's light and improve quality. It's an infinite mystery. Yes. Just when Fang Qing was offering sacrifices to the bone-refining bowl. Secret area. 9 Under the snowy mountains, there is an ancient temple. The floor of this temple is paved with gold bricks, and the walls are built with milk. The pillars are supported by white bones, exuding an inexplicable charm. The temple door is strange, like a door to the afterlife. The entire temple is burning with unknown grease candles, emitting a faint scent of sandalwood. A lotus bone platform was built in the backyard of the temple. An old monk wearing a coxcomb hat and a cassock of the master of the corpse forest, with deeply sunken eye sockets, is holding a bone knife, cutting the flesh and bones of a corpse in front of him, so that the great horrors can eat it. This is the sky burial ritual, which imitates the deeds of the immortal Buddha enshrined in this temple, the Lord of the Corpse Forest. The Lord of the Corpse Forest, also known as the Protector of the Corpse Forest, the Master of the Corpse Forest, also known as the Master of the Tomb, became a Buddha in ancient times and was worshipped by the Temple of all Rebirths without appearance. In the secret treasure area, this kind of worship is the Temple of the Original Buddha, which is the temple of the origin of all Dharma. Its status is only under the Temple of the Supreme Origin on the top of the Snow Mountain Dainichi Reincarnation Temple. After completing the secret ceremony of sky burial, the old monk clasped his hands together and silently chanted sutras. When he opened his eyes, there was already a ferocious-looking tantric cultist wearing a tiger skin robe under the lotus white bone platform. He didn't know how long he had to wait. Hey, this sect has another Dharma protector Vajra. The old monk showed a smile and looked very happy. Asked the Dharma king for enlightenment. The kneeling esoteric cultists kowtowed repeatedly. There are believers in the land of ancient Shu who uphold my path of cause and effect, and their destiny is in their bodies. They can be conquered as Vajra to protect the Dharma of this temple. The old monk looked at the ferocious-looking tantric believer. Sangji, you have passed through the 2 places of joy and defilement, achieved the victorious concentration, and obtained the white bones. The Dharma and Vajra protector emits the boundless light of wisdom. The perfect practice of the Guru state is only one step away from realizing the Dharma king without any retreat. You should conquer this Vajra Dharma protector and your destiny will be perfect and realize the Dharma king. Follow the Dharma's decree. The ferocious-looking tantric cultists were ecstatic and kowtowed again and again. It's just that Moyunya has never been happy with us tantric monks. It doesn't matter. Buddha's edicts have been passed down on the Daoshengzhu mountain for a long time. The day when we make the eastward journey is not far away. Old monk Hun he looked towards the east with his turbid eyes, then turned back and stared at the white bones of the only deity enshrined in the Daoshengzhu temple, the Lord of the Corpse Forest. The thought suddenly came to his mind, my Buddha has not received any instructions from the Buddha for a long time. During this eastward journey, I am afraid that I will have to do one more thing with the Incorp sect to complete the calamity. Huh? Why do you suddenly feel like you are on a whim? In ancient Shu, Fang Qing, who was trying the 6-character Great Ming mantra, suddenly stopped playing around. On a whim, he immediately made a hexagram. Mixed good and bad? Based on this hexagram, my fortune is good first and then bad, with good fortune hidden in the bad? Fang Qing was lost in thought. The hexagrams in this poor place cannot be fully believed, nor can they be disbelieved. This probably means that with the help of the secret domain background, I can indeed run for a while in ancient Shu, but will it be discovered and exposed in the end? So good things come first and then bad things happen? But whether it can really make me respond to the bad omen still depends on the strength of both parties, so it is a mixed blessing? In the final analysis, strength is the most important thing. He took a deep breath and calculated his own methods. Needless to say, the spiritual weapons and talismans on the Qi refining roadside. On the Qi convincing roadside, the strength of the Daoji monks, apart from the realm, mainly depends on the mystery of the Daoji. Jiugan Lin is the recovery of logistics, and the position is Lin Yuan. Nowadays, the most blessed body escape technique, the secret technique of Great Sun initiation, is too powerful and has heavy cause and effect. Once it is used to its best, the enemy must be silenced or converted. From this point of view, Lu Jin is still good now. Lu Jin, Dao Ji Sharp Chapter, if combined with a flying sword, Fang Qing can fight even the monks in the late stage of foundation building. If it is placed at the Jasper Gate, he can easily kill the monks in the early stage of foundation building. On the ancient Shu side, Jingda was originally to show the Tao, and it should not be a big problem to defeat the Tao foundation of other Taoist traditions in the early or even middle stages. So, the top priority is to find a flying sword? I now have the 6-character Great Light Mantra. You can also practice one yourself. Alas, it's a pity that the flying sword collected by the monks of the Z Mansion last time in Yanba Blessed Land Fang Qing felt a little heartbroken when he thought of this, and then thought of that Zifu level Su Jinhuan Feijian. If we were in Shaohuanhai, we could still do the math, and there would be no need to think too much about it at this time. Ko Su Jinhuan was obviously being stared at by many Zaifus. How dare I have to worry about it? In terms of the richness of spiritual materials, ancient Shu is far inferior to X. Iao Huanhai. Why not go there to collect sword-making materials and then make sacrifices according to the rules of ancient Shu? In the heavenly escape sword technique, there are several sword refining methods recorded. Fang Qing knows that the flying swords of ancient Shu are different from the flying swords of the Qi refining Dao. The flying swords of the Qi refining Dao like to be refined into various prohibitions and spells. They are not so much flying swords as magic weapons that look like flying swords. The flying sword here is a double refinement of form and quality. It only needs that sharp edge and is intertwined with the life of the monk. It can be turned into the life, which will increase with the improvement of the monk's realm. If calculated in terms of levels, it can be divided into 1 to 9 levels. The 1-level flying sword is the lowest, but its value is comparable to several truths. If it is 9 turns, it is one of the most famous flying swords in Yunai. Back then, Master Yanba, the great swordsman of Zifu, carried his sword, Su Jinhuan, which was a 7-turn flying sword. Now my strongest fighting method has become the flying sword? What kind of serious swordsmanship is it without a natal flying sword? I seem to be an unorthodox swordsman to begin with. He transformed a body of Lu Jin, mana, observed the Taoist basis in his own Qi Si, and immediately gained a lot of insights. Fang Qing took out a flying sword of Baihaman from his storage bag and waved it at will. Chi. One after another sword energy condensed, and the sharp energy soared into the sky. With the blessing of the sharp chapter, the ordinary flying sword in his hand seems to be as powerful as a spiritual weapon. Sword cultivators rule the roost with swords. In addition to their cultivation, they also have the realm of swordsmanship, from the initial condensation of sword energy to the sword moving with thunderous sound, refining the sword into silk, the differ. Entiation of sword light, the sword's intention becoming powerful, and the sword's heart. Ming, one sword breaks all laws and so on, these swordsmanship realms, except for the initial concentration of sword energy and the last one sword to break all laws, the rest are equal. If the realm is forcibly in theory, condensing sword energy is the conquering level. One sword can break all the laws, or is it the Purple Mansion level? And the other realms are all located in the Daoji territory, and there is no distinction between superior and inferior. If you have proved the sword cultivation of the thunderous sound of the sword, you can also prove the differentiation of the sword light and the heart of the sword. Transparent, furthermore, the sword cultivator of sword-moving thunder sound is not necessarily stronger than the sword light differentiation, nor is it necessarily weaker than it. With the blessing of the sharp light chapter, Fang Qing is a peerless genius in sword practice. Condensing sword energy is just the beginning. With the whistling of the flying sword, there is even a faint feeling of causing wind and thunder. The sword moves with the sound of thunder. It can also be called the sword whistling and the wind thunder. It is also helped by the wind. Jishui is a good wind. My destiny is still somewhat helpful at this time. Fang Qingrua realized something and stabbed out with a sword, thunder rolling. Stab it. An ancient tree hundreds of meters away was split into 2 in an instant, and the cut was extremely smooth. The sword moves with the sound of thunder, and the speed of the sword is improved. The speed of the sword is like the sound of thunder, shocking xiao xiao, and it also increases the sharpness of the flying sword, complementing the sharp sword. His eyes were bright and he wanted to practice other sword styles. Suddenly he heard a mournful cry from the flying sword in his hand, and a crack appeared on the sword body. Aft. It's just a magic weapon, not a spiritual weapon. It can't withstand the Daoji sword technique. Will it be damaged after being used a few times? Fang Qing shook his head and secretly put the matter of creating a natal flying sword on the agenda. Yuan Qingfeng. This is a relatively well-known city in Yulin County. The monks who come and go are generally at a higher level than those in the early stage of adhering to Qi. It is said that there are occasional Taoist overhauls. Now that Ba County is once again in the flames of war, all kinds of businesses and traveling merchants have naturally dispersed. On the contrary, Yulin County seemed peaceful. Fang Qing used the Daosheng pearl to hide most of his cultivation. At this time, he was a Lu Jin, casual cultivator who was convinced of the 9th level and was ready to buy some sword refining materials. After all, there are some key points in the sword refining technique of Tian escape sword art, which requires materials unique to ancient Shu. He used mirage pearls for his identity. He changed his face, with sharp sword eyebrows, a high nose, full of heaven, and more importantly, he is not afraid of divination and prediction. Wait for this person to find out the market situation, then trade with Jishui, Daoji large number. Fang Qing is also an experienced trader. He knows that if he wants to exchange good things, he still has to find those Taoist forces. In a shop. The Xianyuangang gold that the guest needs, our store happens to have a small piece, weighing 1 pound or 3 taels, but Tianqian star sand is really not available. The shopkeeper is a 7th level monk who is convinced, and he is very enthusiastic and polite to Fang Qing, who is at the 9th level. That's all, then I'll take the Xianyuangang gold, I'll exchange it for the elixir that enhances mana. Fang Qing took out a medicine bottle. But I was a little speechless in my heart. Tianqian star sand is the most important. Without this precious material, it will be difficult for the flying sword to be refined for 1 round, but Yingang essence, 100 refined black iron and other materials can be collected on Jasper Island. It turns out to be a pill that enhances mana, and it doesn't have any vitality at all, it's really rare. The shopkeeper took the medicine bottle, pulled it out of the fortress and took a sniff, his eyes flashed, and he praised it. Fang Qing was about to collect the piece of Xianyuangang gold, when a young man's voice came from beside him. Fellow Taoist, wait a minute. He looked over and saw a young man wearing a gold robe and looking very energetic. This Xianyuangang gold is a high-quality material used for making flying swords. I also like it very much. Is this fellow Taoist willing to part with me? The young man stretched out his hand and played with the Xianyuangang gold, with a hint of a smile at the corner of his mouth. Your Excellency, are you from the Kongjin Zhao family? Before Fang Qing could speak, the shopkeeper was already looking at the mark on the corner of the young man's sleeve and spoke with a reminder in his tone. Exactly, I'm Zhao Wufeng. Zhao Wufeng looked at Fang Qing. But Fang Qing smiled and took away the Xianyuangang gold. I'm sorry, I never wrong myself to accommodate others. The shopkeeper's smile suddenly became stiff. Yeah. Haha, I was abrupt. Your Excellency's temperament of being more willing to bend than bend is quite to my liking. Do you know Gao's surname? Zhao Wufeng laughed and asked. Loose cultivators are gold. Fang Qing's expression did not change. He walked out of the shop, shopped for a while, and then flew out of the market. Fellow Taoist, please stay. He flew not far away when a voice came from behind. Fang Qing's consciousness swept away and it was Zhao Wufeng. He kept escaping until he came to a place with beautiful mountains and clear waters before slowly turning around. He saw Zhao Wufeng following him unhurriedly. Fellow Taoist, are you a sword cultivator? That's right, you are practicing, Kongjin. You seem to be a sword cultivator as well. Fang Qing stood with his hands behind his hands, slowly admiring the landscape. He had heard a little bit about the Kongjin Zhao family. It seemed that this family was the one who plotted against Li Rulong before, but was tricked by Li Rulong and lost the Taoist seed Zhao Wuxiu. Haha, sure enough, 6 Zhao Wufeng laughed loudly, and held out 3 more feet of Qing Feng. I am convinced of the 9th level of Qi, and my fellow Taoist is also convinced of the 9th level, so it is time for a duel to the death. Sword, how about it? Are you mentally ill? Or you want to use human elixir? But it's a pity that I practice, Lu Jin, and you practice, Kong Jin, they are not compatible at all. Fang Qing felt a little weird. Fellow Taoist only knows one, but not the other. Zhao Wufeng seemed to be very confident in himself, and sneered, there is a magical power in Jin De, called mutual killing, we are sword cultivators of the same level. At that time, you can initiate a life and death sword fight with each other. All external forces are forbidden, and you can only decide the outcome with the sword in your hand. The winner can use the blood of the loser to temper the edge of the flying sword, and both his cultivation and his own flying sword equipment have greatly improved. With the 9th level cultivation of you and me now, the winner will definitely be able to forge the Dao Foundation. My Taoist friends are my Taoist opportunity. Oh? Fang Qing had to admit that his understanding of Jin De was still not as good as that of the children of the Jin De family, and he was a little ignorant. Killing each other? Can they only be of the same level? If the lower cultivators counterattack the upper cultivators, the benefits should be greater? But if the upper cultivators kill the lower cultivators, there should be no benefit? That's it. Even if you can defeat the 9 Revolution flying sword in a life and death sword fight, you can absorb its essence and be promoted to the 9 Revolution, but it's simply impossible. How difficult is it to go against the odds? To be able to dominate at the same level is already a first-class sword species. Zhao Wufeng said softly, the sword is called Qingfeng. What is the name of Taoist fellow's flying sword? Me? Fang Qing took out his own magical weapon with cracks, the flying sword, this sword, Wu Ming, you are better than that Zhao Wuxiu. A waste who only knows how to use skills to trap and take human elixir to attack Daoji. I am ashamed to be associated with this person. He just relied on being a direct line of Daoji and chose a path that seemed easy to follow. In fact, he lost his heart in sword cultivation, and it was inevitable that he would die with his sword. Zhao Wufeng watched. Holding the flying sword in Fang Qing's hand, your flying sword is damaged? As a sword cultivator, how can you not cherish your own flying sword so much? No, you bought the sword refining materials before to repair the flying sword? What? Do you still want to give me time to repair the flying sword? Fang Qing asked interestingly. If this is true, this person is quite interesting. Fellow Taoist, are you kidding? Zhao Wufeng sneered, fellow Daoi. Flying swords are not good, this is an opportunity given to me by God, please. He flicked the sword with his fingers, the sword was like a dragon's roar, and the sword energy was overflowing. Obviously, this person has reached the state of condensed sword energy in the way of swordsmanship. With the sharpness of his sword energy, it is difficult for any monk to conquer him. Whoosh! Zhao Wufeng thrust out his sword and took it straight to the middle palace, like a white rainbow piercing the sun. The flying sword in Fang Qing's hand flashed, and the sword moved with thunderous sounds. Click! As soon as the lightning flashed, Zhao Wufeng clutched his throat, his eyes gradually losing their luster. No, possible. Although I am still convinced by the 9th level of mana, the realm of swordsmanship will not disappear. Fang Qing's expression is inexplicable. After killing Zhao Wufeng with sword cultivation etiquette, he suddenly felt something different. All kinds of mysterious virtues suddenly emerged in his heart, and even Lu Jin's mana was like taking a big tonic pill, and it instantly climbed to the peak, as if he wanted to directly create a sharp metal. Not only that, Fang Qing picked up the Qingfeng sword and immediately felt that his flying sword had some connection with this sword. It seems that with a little bit of real fire sacrifice, the Qingfeng sword can be melted and merged into this flying sword weapon. When the time comes, is it possible that this magical weapon, the flying sword, will become a low-grade spiritual weapon? This, as long as you kill the enemy, you will have all the Taoism, magic power, and flying sword quality? Is this killing each other? Fang Qing was horrified. Once a serious sword cultivator in this world encounters a bottleneck, he will probably go out crazily to find a suitable opponent for a life-or-death sword fight. Even if the flying sword ceremony does not go well, he goes out to find someone to fight with RS and refine the sword at the same time. Isn't this a reckless man? Just now, he felt some inexplicable magical power in the void, or the power of the secret ritual. In other words, the sword cultivator's life and death sword fight is indeed a rule of heaven and earth. In other words, Jingda inscribes the rules of heaven and earth. If you use mutual killing, combined with the method of human elixir, the probability of being promoted to Daoji by a convinced Qi sword cultivator is almost 80% or even 90%. There is no greater display of gold and virtue in this world than this. Wait a minute, what I should pay more attention to isn't it that the Daosheng pearl can hide its cultivation and deceive this world? If heaven and earth really knew that he was a Taoist monk, and the upper-level swordsman crushed the lower-level swordsman, there would be no feedback from the swordsmanship at all. But Fang Qing really felt the benefit of killing each other just now, so he was definitely regarded as a convinced swordsman in the life and death sword fight just now. This is obviously the power of Daoshengzhu. But what if you can do this? The swordsmanship and magic power gained by the Qi sword cultivator are of no use to me at all. If I want to really get huge benefits, I still have to find a sword cultivator in the early stage of Taoism to have a death duel. The more talented the opponent is, the richer his luck, and the more treasures he has, the greater the benefits after victory. Of course, you can't blame others if you die. In addition, in a life and death sword fight, all external forces are rejected, so using talismans and other means, or even asking outsiders for help, are obviously impossible. The consequence of forcing this will definitely be a failure of the secret ritual, and even if you win, you will not get any feedback. Sword cultivator, what a madman! He popped out a burst of fire and burned Zhao Wufeng's body to ashes. The Zhao family had a Daoji die before, and now another one has died. I'm afraid there won't be anyone who can attack Daoji within 100 years. For the Daoji family, these Daoji seeds are also very precious. If 2 people die, the era is basically over. Fang Qing knew that the Zhao family had become mortal enemies with him. Well, it's just a Taoji family. This family has practiced Kongjin for a long time, and there are many swordsmen, famous for the Gengjin sword Ju, that's all. What's more, in a few days I will change my appearance and become Fang Shui. Lu Jin, the people killed by Fang Jin, a sword repairer, have nothing to do with me. Ji Shui, what does Fang Shui, a Daoji overhaul, have to do with me? With a flash of sword light, the rock wall in front of him instantly shattered, and Fang Qing used his spiritual consciousness to control the flying sword, opening up a crude cave. He sat cross-legged and took out Zhao Wufeng's Qingfeng sword. This sword is 3 feet long and has a cold light. I don't know what kind of materials were used to refine it, but it is completely integrated. Even if you find a second-level weapon refiner, it will be difficult to separate the original mineral materials. But at this time, as Fang Qing took out the flying sword, a magical weapon, and smelted it with the innate real fire of the Foundation establishment monks, the green-edged sword melted quickly, and drop after drop of metal solution penetrated into the cracks in the flying sword body, quickly filled it, and then wrapped the entire flying sword. After a while, a wave of low-grade spiritual weapon level appeared. Sure enough, the second-level low-grade flying sword, this is it. I am not a second-level weapon refiner, but it is very easy. But if I want to retain this molten metal, or repair other magic weapons, I can't do it at all. Is this the power of magical power? Fang Qing put this brand new spiritual weapon flying sword on his knees, sat cross-legged in silence, and comprehended and he had learned today. Killing each other, gened as magical power, engraving the heaven and earth? This magical power cannot be attributed to Lu Jin. Lu Jin is the right position of gold, and the one who is in the right position is the king, so the magical power of Lu Jin will affect the entire Jin de cultivator. From this point of view, the 5 virtues and the correct position of the sun and the moon are very important. It has a very strong symbolic meaning, maybe similar to Zui Sui? Or slightly inferior? It's a pity that my destiny is suitable for Ji Shui, not the right position of water virtue. I always feel that I am a head short for some reason. After adjusting his breath for a while, Fang Qing transformed his magic power into Ji Shui, giving birth to the Taoist foundation of Jiu Ganlin, and became a Taoist monk with upright roots. As for appearance? Then it's still square water. In my capacity, Dao Ji Xian Miao mainly focuses on treatment and logistics. It is best to be kind to others. And the growth experience is clear at a glance, and it can be clearly checked after he is released, a few days later. He traveled across the waves and came to Yuan Qingfang again. This time, the atmosphere in the city was obviously quite tense. Occasionally, a few golden-robed monks would block the intersection for questioning. Humph. Fang Qing snorted coldly, and the expressions of the golden-robed monks suddenly changed, and they saluted respectfully. Zhao Dongshan, coming from the east, pays homage to the senior. What happened? Senior Qi, we are members of the Zhao family. One of our sons was killed by Jie Xiu near this city, so we came to investigate. Zhao Dongshan answered hurriedly. I heard that there will be a road foundation exchange meeting in this market in the near future. You will lead the way. Fang Qing nodded, his voice calm. Yes, senior, please invite. Zhao Dongshan immediately respectfully invited Fang Qing to a tea house. This tea house has 3 floors, and the first and second floors are empty at this time. Fang Qing arrived at the 3rd floor and immediately felt different. A stream of water faintly appeared in his hand, opening the invisible curtain in front of him. Several qi machines immediately emerged. On the 3rd floor of the tea house, several Taoist monks were already sitting in 2s and 3s. Some were wearing high crowns, some were dressed like fishermen on the Hanjiang River, and several fairies with different temperaments were all looking over at this moment. Sure enough, after Daoji, the circle became much larger. There were more Daojis in this room than I had ever seen before. Yes. This Taoist friend is very familiar. Seeing Fang Qing come in, an old man in gold robe stood up to greet him. He has an air of magnanimity and a face as beautiful as a jade. He must have been a rare handsome man when he was young. He carries an ancient sheathed sword on his back. There is a sharp aura in his movement. He is obviously a swordsman. I, Zhao Gongming, can barely be regarded as the landlord of this place. Before. Juniors are disturbing me, please don't blame me. It turns out to be fellow Daoist Zhao. My condolences, 9 Fang Qing bowed, knowing that this person was probably the ancestor of the Zhao family of Shixiu, Kong Jin. After he took his seat, he looked around casually and found that the only Daoji monk he knew was probably Pai Shouyuan. This man was sitting in the corner with a serious expression. Huh? At this moment, Fang Qing felt another gaze falling on him. He raised his eyes and saw a Daoji monk wearing a bamboo hat and his whole body covered in black robes. This person's aura was dim and unclear. He should have used some kind of concealing treasure. When he saw Fang Qing looking over, he immediately looked away. Fang Qing felt a chill in his heart and secretly raised his guard. Everyone, we are here for a small gathering just to exchange news and exchange information. Nowadays, there is turmoil in ancient Shu, and the death of Zifu is even more extraordinary, Zhao Gongming said in opening statement. The fall of the Z Mansion? I only know that the Black Sect Z Mansion fell in the Misty Land, but I don't know the details? Fang Qing asked. This, I just heard from hearsay. It is rumored that Master Nating died at the hands of Master Sanji, and some said that the demon clan Zifu was involved. In short, the Black Gate has declined. I think it is only a matter of time before Bajuan falls into the hands of the Pu family. When Zhao Gongming talked about this, he couldn't help but feel a little high-spirited. After all, he was considered a subordinate of the Pu family. The Pu family takes the lion's share of Bajuan's profits, and there is always some leftover for these Daoji families. That's it, Fang Qing nodded, said no more, and listened quietly to other information and even the monk's spiritual insights. After a few hours, it was time for the exchange. Comrades, I'm here to attract jade. This is a piece of water that sinks in the underworld. I want to exchange for beauty-resident spiritual objects, such as Qianfeng, resistant beauty pill, etc. A female cultivator in a purple gauze skirt wearing a snake bun and a jade hairpin on her head spoke, holding a jade bowl in her hand. In this bowl, there is a large amount of gray water. Dark wall submerged in water? Should it be the spiritual object that, while water, belongs to? Is it just the beauty pill? This elixir Fang Qing has been introduced to me. It is a specialty of ancient Shu. It can make female cultivators look beautiful forever. Of course, the effect can only last for about 100 years. On the alchemy book on the other side of Bihai Gate, there is a similar description of the elixir, but it is called Dingyan Dan. It is ranked 3rd level and its effect can last for 500 years. After waiting for a moment and seeing no response, the female cultivator immediately sat back with regret. Immediately another Taoist monk stood up and raised his fists in all directions. I have a Tianming Quancher in my hand. I want to find a Taoist friend who is good at refining weapons to refine a Taoist spiritual weapon. Soon, it was Fang Qing's turn. Fang Qing chuckled lightly, holding a few jade boxes with his magic power, and slowly opened them. I have several pills suitable for Shui de monks to increase their magic power, and several materials produced by the Shen Shui monster. I want to exchange them for a few days for the Xuanqing sand. This Tianqian star sand can not only be used to refine Flian G swords, but can also be used to refine other Dao-based treasures, but you are not afraid of being spotted. On the other hand, Zhao Gongming looked at Fang Qing in surprise. If what he remembered correctly, the casual cultivator seemed to be looking for the spiritual object Tianqian star sand. It's just that one of the two is a Qi sword cultivator and the other is Jishui, Daoji. At first glance, they are not the same person. This person maybe have clues about the casual cultivator? Or even his elder? Zhao Gongming's eyes were deep. As everyone knows, at this time, Fang Qing was also secretly stroking the Firebird talisman and other items in his sleeves, with a little expectation in his heart. The mutual killing of Daoji sword cultivators, I wonder what the effect is? I did a divination before I went out, and it was a good trip. Maybe this person still has the Tianqian star sand that I need? He waited for a moment, but there was no response from the monk. He sighed with some disappointment and put the spiritual objects away. At this moment, a message quietly sounded in Fang Qing's ears. His heart moved, but his face remained calm. When the exchange meeting was over, he left Yuan Qingfeng on a wave. Yuan Qingfeng is 100 miles away. Fellow Taoist, please come out and see me. Fang Qing came to the edge of a stream and shouted in a deep voice. The light and shadow distorted, and a figure shrouded in black robes emerged. It was the monk who was sizing up Fang Qing at the exchange meeting. This fellow Taoist, you sent a message before, saying that there are clues to Tianqian star sand? Fang Qing looked at this person with some surprise in his heart. If the divination had not shown good fortune, he might not have come here. I have 3 or 2 days of Xuanqing sand in my hand. The man in black robe spoke, his voice hoarse and unpleasant. 3 taels? Barely enough. What do fellow Taoists need? I am cultivating the sweet rain below. If you fellow Taoists despise those spiritual things, the water from the sweet rain below is a good healing product, Fang Qing said with a smile. I don't even want it, I just need your help. The man in black robe let out an ugly laugh like a night owl. The ancestor of the Zhao family, Zhao Gongming, obviously has ill intentions towards you. You cooperate with me and lure this person out to kill him, and give him 3 or 2 days of Xuanxingsha immediately. Fang Qing listened, but was silent for a long time, and suddenly said, brotherly? The man in black robe shuddered, and then tore off his clothes, revealing a body with golden scales and horns on his head. Who is Li Rulong if he hasn't turned into a half-demon? How did you recognize me? Li Rulong's eyes narrowed slightly, and the moon shadow of the cold pool, wind, frost, rain and snow appeared all around. Fang Qing sighed, brotherly is the only Daoji monk I know who can give me a sense of familiarity. Not to mention, you have a grudge against the Zhao family. You can guess it with just a casual guess. Back then, he and Li Rulong had a good relationship. Even if Li Rulong didn't know that Luo Desheng was the pawn arranged by him in the end, the situation would be the same. When a few of us entered Fuzufang City, I did not expect that many things would happen after that, let alone that Taoist friends could actually create Taoist foundations. Li Rulong stared at Fang Qing, not knowing whether it was envy, jealousy, or regret. Regret, alas, it's just a struggle. It should be noted that all gifts have already been marked with prices behind the scenes. Fang Qing sighed, as if he really had no choice but to surrender before being promoted to Daoji. Li Rulong glanced deeply at Fang Qing, but he seemed to believe it. After all, he is deeply aware of the difficulty of cultivating Taoist foundations. Like him, this person has probably paid an unimaginable price. That's all. Now that the matter has been said, would fellow Taoist be willing to join me in doing what Zhao Gongming did? Li Rulong invited. My Daoji mysticism is not good at fighting. Fang Qing shook his head. Brother Li, you have been wanted by the Zifu forces. How dare you show up in ancient Shu with such arrogance? Humph, the black sect Zifu has long since fallen. As for the Pu family's ancestor Pu Shanjun, I'm waiting to see what happens to him. Li Rulong snorted coldly and said with a look of disdain, as for me? Naturally, I have the Z mansion to cover me. As long as I don't reveal too many clues, I can still hide my whereabouts for the time being. Li Rulong took refuge in the demon clan Luofeng Mountain. It seems like something is going to happen again. This person seems to be particularly dissatisfied with Mr. Pushan. In other words, there was a grudge to begin with. Fang Qing thought for a while and tried a sentence. The ancestor of the Pu family is from the Zifu. Hey, this person had good luck in the first half of his life, but he violated Moyunya's taboo and lit an ember calamity fire for him. Now the road has long been cut off, and it is the early stage of the Zifu for a lifetime. Li Rulong sneered. Pu Shanjun was plotted by Yashang? Fang Qing was not surprised that Pu Shanjun was plotted. After all, he was not a monk from Moyun Cliff. Strictly speaking, he was a casual cultivator. What is strange to him is that the Huada monk swallowed the strange fire. It was obviously a matter of great benefit to his Taoism and magic power, but how could it become a severance of his Taoism? Pu Shanjun practices tail fire. Although this fire is called tail, it is actually also known as first rising fire and branch fire, which means the first birth of flame. Li Rulong smiled and said, this was obviously what he was paraphrasing. If you swallow the strange fire, other spiritual fires can be used, but there are only a few types of room fire that correspond to their images. If you refine them rashly, you will lose your path and it will be difficult to sense other tail fire, supernatural powers. This embers of fire is what room fire belongs to. What a plan. Fang Qing remembered that when he heard about the deeds of this ancestor of the Pu family, he felt that this person was quite like the protagonist of a novel. When he was young, he encountered many strange encounters, and by chance, he received the inheritance of the Z mansion. He cultivated the Dao Foundation and was reborn. He has never failed since his debut. He also found the spiritual fire of heaven and earth, swallowed it and successfully refined it. In the later stage of the Dao Foundation, he was rampant in ancient Shu, and he was called an invincible opponent under the Z mansion. Who can think of it? Is this person's path actually cut off? Even, it is just a plan and plaything of the people on the cliff. In this practice of Qi Dao, there are pitfalls in every realm. When I advance to Zifu, I don't know what big pits are waiting for me. Oh? Do I have a way to produce pearls? That's okay. This is also the reason why Fang Qing started to use other traditions. As long as I step on enough pits, the pits can't catch up with me. How is it, fellow Daoist Fang? In view of our past friendship, I will tell you everything I know and will tell you everything. Will you agree to deal with that Zhao Gongming with me? Li Rulong waited for a moment. A hint of impatience flashed across his face, and he exuded a dangerous aura. Fang Qing's heart trembled. After being transformed into a demon, he was indeed different. Does his transformation into a half-demon also have an impact on his character? Today's half-demon Li Rulong is no longer the great hero and good man he was before, who stood up to heaven and prayed for the people. On the contrary, he is quite bloody, brutal, and cunning. Just when he was about to refuse, his consciousness suddenly moved and he sensed someone approaching. Gee, quickly. Li Rulong laughed loudly. It seems, fellow Taoist, it's not going to work without help. Yeah. Behind him, Zhao Gongming wielded a golden flying sword. His body and sword merged into one, with a gloomy expression. Fang Jin, Fang Shui, he is very old, nearly 200 years old, and the Daoji ancestor of the Zhao family has died, leaving him alone. Once he dies at the end of his life, the Zhao family will be in danger of overthrowing. Therefore, Zhao Wuxiu, who had just cultivated his direct bloodline, raised Li Rulong with the method of human elixir. Unexpectedly, Li Rulong cheated his grandson by using the leap method to change the day and night. This matter involves many Zifu plots. Zhao Gongming did not dare to go into details, so he could only interrupt Ye and Shuatuan and train another genius in the clan, Zhao Wufeng. After getting rid of the prejudice in his heart, Zhao Gongming was delighted to find that this son had the style of ancient swordsmanship, and his talent was still higher than that of Zhao Wuxiu. Before, it was the family resources that poured into Zhao Wuxiu, which made him appear slightly mediocre. After the family resources were tilted, they immediately shined brightly. Recently, they have cultivated to the 9th level of Qi Convince and prepared for the Tao Foundation. When new Taoist monks are trained, Zhao Gongming can die in peace. But I didn't expect that he would die suddenly. Zhao Wufeng's death was not just a matter of losing a Taoist seed, but also that the Zhao family had no one left. The probability of family monks producing talents is lower than that of the sect. Most members of the Zhao family have low qualifications and cannot even break through the threshold of the late stage of Convince. Occasionally, a few condensed late-stage clan elders are in their 70s or 80s. After the optimal breakthrough age, they will definitely die if they forcefully break through the Daoji. Maybe there are some good ideas among those newly convinced young children, but his longevity can no longer wait this long. Therefore, Fang Qing killed Zhao Wufeng, which for Zhao Gongming was almost a hatred of genocide. Even if there is a little suspicious clue, we must follow it. This is actually Fang Qing's intention. He wanted to try Daoji-level cross-killing feedback. However, things changed a little. Huh? There is another person? No, this is evil spirit? Half-demon Li Rulong? It's really you. Zhao Gongming saw Li Rulong again, and suddenly realized everything in his heart. In his opinion, Fang Shui, an ordinary, Jishui, Daoji, is unlikely to have a special enmity with him. Unless someone instigates it. The messenger is Li Rulong. This person has a blood feud with his family. No matter what he does, it is not surprising. Li Rulong? The wanted half-demon still dares to show up? When Zhao Gongming saw the two Daoji, he didn't leave. Instead, he lowered his sword light and prepared to entangle them from afar. He has already sent out a signal. As long as he persists for a while, a familiar ancestor of the Daoji family will come, and he will be able to capture and kill this half-demon. As for Fang Shui, he was almost ignored. Although they are both in the early stage of Daoji, his cultivation is profound and he is already at the peak of the early stage of Daoji. He is also a Kongjin monk, so how can he be regarded as a mere Jishui? The only one who is worried is Li Rulong. Alas, seeing this scene, Fang Qing couldn't help but sigh. Of course he sighed, the opportunity he finally got was definitely lost. He teamed up with outsiders to kill the sword cultivator, and it was difficult for him to transform his skills in front of Li Rulong, so it was impossible to get the feedback of kill each other. Humph, fellow Taoist, it's not too late to find your way back now. Zhao Gongming shouted sharply, the light of the flying sword in his hand split, and in an instant, the sword's shadow filled the sky. He is a Daoji sword cultivator. He has practiced flying swords for many years. With the mysterious he LP of Kongjin, Daoji, he has proved the two realms of swordsmanship, sword moves with thunderous sound and sword light differentiates. The sword light is as fast as the sound of thunder, and it comes suddenly, with the power of thunder, which makes people feel chilly. Fang Qing randomly arranged a circle of Jishui, mana and sword light, almost collapsing at the first touch. Alas, I, the Taoist master, am not good at fighting, so I can only wave the flag to cheer for my fellow Taoists. He took the opportunity to step back a distance, preparing to observe the fighting skills of the ancient Shu Taoist monks. Haha, fellow Taoist, it is already a great achievement to lure this person out. Li Rulong laughed loudly, his demonic aura soared into the sky, and turned into a coquettish purple moon. It was windy, frosty, rainy and snowy all around, and the air was freezing. The purple evil spirit turned into a ferocious hand covered with scales, grabbing at the sword light that filled the sky. Puff. The sword light is extremely sharp and can cut gold and jade, but after coming into contact with the big purple hand, a surprising scene appeared. The big purple scaled hand exudes the mysteries of Taoism. It overcomes hardness with softness and grasps the golden sword light. In an instant, the sword light turns into wind, frost, rain and snow. The body of the flying sword flew back, revealing the ancestor of the Zhao family with a surprised look on his face. You, friend Taoist, you know, my basic name is Tyragang, I am good at the transformation of physical properties, and I can restrain metal and fire. When you meet me today, you have met your nemesis. Please leave your life here. Li Rulong laughed loudly, spread out, and turned into several black shadows approaching. Zhao Gongming had some cold sweat on his forehead and put away his sword to protect himself. With his experienced fighting skills and his stronger magic power than Li Rulong, he was able to support himself without any effort. This person, dragged and refused to leave. Could it be that he was waiting for reinforcements? If I don't kill him today, it wouldn't be good if he runs back and yells that I am in league with the demon clan. It's better to silence him. Fang Qing traveled around the edge of the battlefield, occasionally casting a few spells to cheer for him, and quickly analyzing the battle situation in his mind. Li Rulong is young after all. Even if the Taoist traditions are in conflict, it is still very difficult to quickly win over this veteran Taoist sword cultivator. After deciding on the calculation in his mind, Fang Qing walked on the waves and suddenly joined the battle. Kill! He shouted angrily, and the water vapor in the sky and the earth condensed, turning into swords, guns, swords, halberds, axes, hooks and forks, and they all hit Zhao Gongming. Zhao Gongming threw a treasure at random, which was a golden ball. Immediately, the golden energy spread out and turned into a strong wind to protect the body. The vapor-condensed weapons can easily kill the chi subdued monks, but they are helpless against this thin layer of golden wind. Humph, it's just, Jishui, Dao Ji. His aura is obvious that he has just been promoted. His Dao Ji is still mysterious. How dare someone like this who is not good at fighting dare to come and kill me? Zhao Gongming secretly resented in his heart, if it were normal, I could kill this child with 3 swords. At this moment, Li Rulong released a flying sword. The shape of this flying sword is somewhat similar to the old Dingjun sword, but it is green all over, like a poisonous snake. It fights fiercely with Zhao Gongming's flying sword. The 2 swords are constantly clashing, and gaps the size of rice grains appear on the sword blades, attracting all the sword cultivators' attention. The opportunity has come. How could Fang Qing not know that his Taoist master was not good at fighting? The reason why he still tried so hard was to lower Zhao Gongming's vigilance. Seeing that Li Rulong also cooperated and stepped up his offensive, he immediately reached into his arms and activated a second-level talisman that had been hidden for a long time. Chirp. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth exploded violently, and a majestic red firebird emerged. It is the second-order high-grade firebird talisman. This talisman is at the Bihai Gate. Due to environmental restrictions, its value is slightly less than the ordinary second-level high-grade talisman. Fang Qing picked it up and bought it. But here in ancient Shu, the golden fire was a manifestation of the world, and the increase it brought made the wingspan of the transformed firebird exceed 3 feet, and the fluctuation of mana far exceeded that of the Blue Sea Gate. Stab it. The blazing fire spiritual power even directly dissipated the golden energy, causing the layer of golden wind to shatter. Then, after the transformation, many mysterious patterns appeared on the body of the fire phoenix, and the power of the flames increased, and it rushed towards Zhao Gongming. This, a talisman that is close to the power of Daoji's late stage? Zhao Gongming was unable to dodge, and was even more surprised. He almost withstood most of the power of the firebird talisman head-on. He screamed, his beard and hair were burnt black, and half of his body was almost turned into black coal. But there is a Taoist mysterious aura, which turns into an incandescent golden aura, barely maintaining his vitality. Damn, the second-level high-grade talismans can't defeat the early stage of Daoji? When Fang Qing saw the scene, he was also awestruck. Zhao Gongming recalled the flying sword and was about to escape. Poof. At this time, a green flying sword was like a poisonous snake spitting a letter, passing through the sword light defense and piercing his eyebrows. It was Li Rulong who took action, with the timing and angle chosen just GHT, revealing his extremely strong fighting talent. Zhao Gongming died immediately without saying a word. His body turned into a ball of gold gas, which exploded suddenly and turned into a large number of gold and iron objects scattered. After killing Zhao Gongming, Li Rulong looked at Fang Qing with fear. Obviously, Fang Qing's ability to easily pull out a talisman that was close to Daoji's late-stage power was beyond his expectations. Fellow Taoist, sure enough, there is another chance. After a few breaths, Li Rulong laughed loudly. My great revenge has been avenged, and I want to thank you, fellow Taoist. The spiritual things in this person will be divided equally between the 2 of us, and the Tianqian star sand promised before, which he handed over to fellow Taoist. As soon as he raised his hand, a jade bottle and several other objects flew towards Fang Qing, including Zhao Gongming's golden flying sword. Fang Qing took the flying sword, glanced at it with his consciousness, and found that it was like a piece of stubborn iron. The power of these monks' natal flying swords will be reduced by at least 30% after losing their masters, but overall, it is still slightly stronger than my spiritual weapon-level flying sword. His consciousness scanned the jade bottle again, and he saw star sand-emitting starlight suspended in the bottle, like many fireflies gathering together. Nachi nodded secretly. With this thing, you can go back and refine your natal flying sword. This trip is indeed auspicious. Fang Qing looked at Li Rulong, who was about to speak, and directly cupped his hands. Zhao Gongming must have called for help. I can't show up, so I'll leave now, Taoist friends. The mountains are high and the water is long. See you later, see you soon. Li Rulong looked at Fang Qing's walking figure with a faint gaze, which eventually turned into a sigh. 100 miles away, Fang Qing made a prediction. Well, continue to stay, there are some little Dylan's. Li Rulong is willing to take risks. Can't he just come to kill Zhao Gongming? And he probably also has the mission of Luofeng Mountain? There is still chaos in ancient Shu, so I have to hide first. I just happened to go back to sacrifice the flying sword. Once the sword is completed, I at least have the means to threaten the monks in the late stage of Foundation establishment. As for the monks in the late stage of Dao Foundation? Let's wait a little longer. It's a pity. I originally wanted to recruit a capable disciple and send him to the secret realm. Now it seems that I can only shelve it for the time being. The reason why Suhei is not used is naturally because this person is average in strength and has used it quite smoothly in recent years. He doesn't want to see the other party die easily. Xiang, yeah. Half a month later, Qin Rushue returned to the sect safely. Inside Xuanbi Cave. This woman is wearing a plain white skirt, the ribbon around her waist is slightly scattered, and her stockings have fallen to the floor, revealing snow-white jade feet, with bright red coton on them visible. Fang Qing sat by himself and drank a glass of spirit wine. What excuse did you use to come back this time? The administration of Jingdao Island is very strict, and it is difficult to get away with ordinary excuses. I can only forcefully perform my exercises to create the illusion of being possessed, and was approved to return to the sect for training. Qin Rushua's cheeks were a little pale, and she did look like her vitality had been damaged. If Fang Qing did not fully trust him, it would be impossible to do this after receiving an ambiguous message. So that's it, Fang Qing nodded. He had just checked that the woman's injuries were fake, so it would not be difficult to recover. However, the injuries to her meridians were real, and it would take several years to recover. Young master. I wonder how dangerous it is? Qin Rushua bit her lip. If there is any clue, I can secretly inform the sect like last time, so that we can be prepared. After all, she is an independent thinking monk, and she has quite a few friends in the sect, especially on the Formation Island. If I can, I would definitely like to lend a helping hand. I don't know, Fang Qing shook his head, he really didn't know. The art of divination and calculation, the more clues you have, the more detailed the calculation will be. Just like this unforeseen disaster, it would be good to be able to predict one's own good or bad luck. After he heard about the advanced methods of calculation, he might be able to forcefully calculate one or two even if there are no clues by sacrificing his own lifespan. Unfortunately, the backlash was too great, and he has not reached this level. That's all, you should rest well for a few years anyway. I will give you the elixir, which will not delay your practice. Fang Qing said a few words of comfort and let Qin Rushua leave. Although in the eyes of outsiders, this girl is his Taoist companion, or at least his concubine, Qin Rushua, as a foundation-building monk of the sect, deserves a lot of benefits, and she also has her own second-level cave and spiritual field. I just come to Xuanbadong to spend the night frequently. It's a pity. I'm afraid these years of stability will be gone forever. Fang Qing watched Qin Rushua leave, looked at the sky, and sighed quietly. A few months later. Tianqin Island. This island was once the main island of Tianqin Island. Tianqin Island is a core-forming force after all. Even after a great war, half of the palace buildings on the island were damaged. Now, they have all been repaired and transformed into caves for many foundation-building monks of Baihamen. In terms of the number of people, it far exceeds that of Zhong's Taibai Island. After all, after many years of attacks on the Zhong family's Taibai Island, the spiritual veins have almost lost their level. According to the Earthmaster's exploration, it may take many years of warming to gradually recover. During this period, the fewer monks stationed there, the better. Because of this, when Baihamen announced that it would transform Tianqin Island into a giant market, the casual cultivators did not have the slightest doubt, but were very happy. This night, the moon was dark, the wind was high, and the waves were roaring. Crash! Suddenly, a jet-black wind that was tens of feet long suddenly hit the Tianqin Island protection formation. The piercing thunder siren sounds. Enemy attack? A monk is attacking the formation? The owner of the formation island flew up in the sky, looking at this scene, feeling the unfathomable spiritual power in the dark wind. A look of horror appeared on his face. Dan-forming monk? Quick. Notify the ancestor immediately. Bess. Eyed him, Elder Wanbao appeared floatingly, with a talisman in his hand. I didn't expect that I was just leading a team to provide supplies and condolences, but I actually bumped into. Is it a remnant of the Sea Destruction Alliance? Crack. The black wind and the power of the formation suddenly cancelled out, and one of the ferocious ancient magic weapons appeared. Elder Wanbao looked solemn, muttered something, and activated the talisman in his hand. A flash of light. This talisman is blue in color and has a ring on it. After being activated, it immediately transformed into a ferocious water dragon. Holding the ring magic weapon in its mouth, it flew out of the formation to face Gugu. Damn it, where are the disciples of this island? The leader of the formation island shouted angrily, almost vomiting blood in his heart. The Tianqin Island protection formation was originally a third-level formation. It was later broken by two major alchemy monks from Baihamen. Now it has been repaired by his hands again. The power is slightly reduced, but it should be enough to withstand ordinary alchemy monks for a period of time. The premise is that there are enough disciples to guard each formation. But since the destruction of Tianqin Island and the Zhong family, the disciples in the sect have really become lax, and many of them have slipped out of the island to play, and now they are trapped outside the formation. Haha. Old Zhong will take revenge on Baihamen's dog today. A white-robed man with a centipede-shaped scar on his face laughed crazily, and the cold light of ice in his hand turned into a crystal-clear weapon, passing over the head of a Baihamen monk outside the formation. Poof. The head flew high, carrying a fountain of blood. When it fell, it was still staring in the direction of the formation. Not far away, there are several flying puppets harassing the foundation-building monks at Baihaman. When the Baihaman monk saw that the formation was fully open, isolating the inside and outside, a look of despair appeared on his face, and he flew in the direction of Bu Island. Beyond Tianqin Island, a large number of high-level monks from the Sea Destruction Alliance had gathered at some point, including some rogue cultivators. They all stared at the formation greedily, as if they were waiting for a gluttonous feast. Crash! The water dragon screamed sadly and exploded into water spray all over the sky. Dots of blue light dissipated like fireflies. Obviously, the talisman of Elder Wanbao is not as good as the real talisman of the alchemy monk after all. Hee. Is this the strongest person in the formation? A hoarse and unpleasant voice sounded. In that case, I am happy to accept it. As soon as the words fell, there was a flash of silver light. A strange silver talisman was struck, and many silver tadpole-like flames swam on it, faintly twisting the void, and tearing a hole in the weak spot of the formation. No. The Third Order Forbidden Talisman? The island owner of the formation island exclaimed, there is no such high-level talisman in Zio Wanhai. Are you a foreign monk? The Third Order Forbidden Talisman, if hit on the weak spot of the Third Order formation, can slightly freeze the operation of the formation, temporarily open a gap to escape, or create a short-lived passage. At this time, as the silver channel opened, a black-robed alchemy monk wielded the ancient magic weapon and suddenly descended on Tianqin Island. The owner of the formation island couldn't help but look desperate. If he were a third-level formation mage, with the help of the power of the formation, he could still fight against the pill-forming monks. But he is only a second-level high-grade array mage. Facing this demonic elixir-forming ancestor who obviously knew the point formation method, he was almost helpless to fight back. Let's go. Elder Wanbao looked ferocious, his face flushed, his mana surged again, entering the fake elixir level, and it seemed that he had used some kind of forbidden technique to destroy his body's potential. None of you can leave today, Gugu, the black-robed pill-forming monk, waved his hand, and a jet-black light blade several feet long emerged, and instantly passed through Elder Wanbao's chest. Its force continued unabated and hit a formation base. Bikuj high-speed debut. After a while, the ground shook and the mountains shook, the formation base exploded, and a large number of fragments of the formation flag scattered, enveloping the severed limbs of the monks. Outside, many monks saw the Tianqin Island formation slowly dissipating, cheered, and rushed forward. Jade Island tonight will obviously not be peaceful. Fang Qing had just entered trance when he heard the panicky ringing of bells. He swept his consciousness and saw a large number of transmission notes flying around outside the cave. He took one and was suddenly shocked. Tianqin Island was attacked? The sect urgently summoned all the foundation-building monks to discuss matters in Hanhai Palace? Fang Qing sighed, feeling as if a stone had finally fallen to the ground. He rode the light and came to the Hanhai Palace. At this time, dozens of foundation-building monks had gathered in the Hanhai Palace, all looking at the first building at the top. A late-stage monk. This monk looks like a middle-aged scholar, named Shurtiexin. He was the temporary leader selected from the sect after the death of the leader Linghu. Brother, what happened? A foundation-building elder with a red face couldn't help but ask. I don't know, I only received the highest-level alarm from Tianqin Island. Master Wuan has already set off to check. Shurtiexin's face was solemn. We will guard the island and activate the power of the 7 mysterious blue wave formation to the maximum, implement the island ban and prohibit foreign disciples from entering the island. Follow the order of the sect leader. However, most FR formation masters are on Tianqin Island. A group of foundation-building monks looked at each other with some hesitation, and finally looked at Qin Rushiwei. Qin Rushiwei's face was a little pale. I am willing to shoulder this important task. At this time, among the sect's array masters, she actually had the highest cultivation and attainments. Many foundation-building monks discussed the urgency again. The way to deal with it is to meditate in the Hanhai Palace and wait. In the early morning, the sky is bright, the east is purple, and the morning light is faint. A special transmission note turns into fire, rushes into the Hanhai Palace, and comes to Shurtiexin's hand. Shurtiexin's expression suddenly changed. Last night, the Sea Extermination Alliance launched a large-scale attack on Tianqin Island, and the formation was broken overnight. Blood flowed on Tianqin Island. All the senior brothers including Wanbao and Xuanzhen died in battle. Hiss. In the Hanhai Palace, there was a sudden loss of voice. Tianqin Island was guarded by a large formation. How could it be broken so easily? Could there be a traitor? How could the Sea-Destroying Alliance have such strength to bloodbath Tianqin Island? Could it be colluding with Jiexiao? Which robbery cultivator has such courage? A white-haired Foundation establishment cultivator stroked his beard and said doubtfully, "There seems to be a pill-forming demon cultivator in the Sea Destruction Alliance." Shi Tiexin sighed, not hiding the news, and he couldn't hide it. What? When did my little Huanhai gain another pill-forming demon cultivator? There has been no celestial phenomenon of alchemy formation recently. Could it be an outsider? Damn it, it must be the Zhong family and the remnants of Tianqin Island. They took the thousands of miles of sea route to escape to the world of immortality in the East China Sea, and they spread some news to attract the devil to form a pill. Even so. Why can Zio Wanhai, a SP? A ritually poor place, attract alchemy monks? If they were hired, would the two bereaved dogs have so many spirit stones? A group of foundation-building monks were talking about it. Fang Qing's heart trembled. This Zio Wanhai immortal realm is just a barren land, and most alchemy monks don't look down on it. Could it be that the news about the secret realm has been leaked? Although Baihaman has been concealing this information, the other two major alchemy forces are not fools and may have guesses and clues. What's more, when the time comes for the sect to be exterminated, even if there is no treasure here, they will still have to publicize it, just to make it difficult for the Bihai sect. I just didn't expect that the matter of catching wind and shadow would really attract a demon cultivator. While Fang Qing was thinking, another transmission note came through the air. Shi Tiexin's expression was ugly. The latest news is that senior brother Tianding went out to pick up his disciples and was attacked by monks from the Sea Destruction Alliance and was seriously injured. A few days later. Xuanbi Cave Mansion. Qin Ruxue rarely took time to meet Fang Qing. Now the essence of the Array Island has been completely wiped out on Tianqin Island, and even the master of the Array Island, Xianzhen, is dead. She seems to be the #1 person on Jin Island. If Fang Qing is still the acting island owner of Dan Island, then Qin Ruxue does not need to add the word agent. The feeling of this kind of mom-and-pop shop is so strange that Fang Qing almost thought that after a while, the entire Bihai sect will all have the same surname. Fang, young master, you have entrusted me with the matter of my concubine before, and I have already figured out my identity. Tomorrow, 2 disciples will come to visit the master. Qin Ruxue explained the task assigned to Fang Qing. Do you have the latest information about Master He Yuan and the Destroying Sea Alliance? Fang Qing asked casually. Master He Yuan is sitting on Tianqin Island and has not changed the name of the Sea Destruction Alliance. It seems that he is very malicious towards our sect. Qin Ruxue frowned, seeming a little worried. It may be a bluff. He is a magic pill collector and has no relationship with those 2 families. Fang Qing had a different view and suddenly asked, do you think Master He Yuan knows about the secret realm of the ruins? Is it about the entrance? Qin Ruxue thought about it and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Even if you didn't know it before, you will definitely know it after you capture Tianqin Island. The next day, Qin Ruxue left in a hurry, but in the morning, 2 Qi refining stage disciples came to see Fang Qing with her invitation. The 2 disciples are a man and a woman. The man has thick eyebrows, big eyes, and strong features. He looks a bit honest. The woman has red lips, white teeth, and a wheatish complexion. She has a bit of the vigor and boldness of a fisherman's girl, and her smart eyes steal glances at Fang Qing from time to time. Both of them bowed down together. Greetings to the elder. Excuse me, my cave is short of a handyman. Since junior sister Qin recommended you too, there must be something special about you. Fang Qing sat cross-legged casually and said leisurely, each of you will tell me your name, as well as your cultivation techniques and cultivation level. The female disciple immediately said, Elder, the little girl's name is Cha Hongya, and she comes from Dawayu village. He is practicing the white water technique, the 6th level of qi refining. The male disciple spoke a step slower. Little Xiang Dahu, practicing the thick earth technique, the 6th level of qi refining. Dawayu village? Fang Qing looked at Cha Hongya. It's Cha again. Could it be a member of Old Man Cha's tribe? It's just that we have settled our grievances with him long ago. He knew that Qin Ruxue was doing bad things out of good intentions. On the contrary, this big tiger is the descendant of Xiang Shaoцen whom he asked Qin Ruxue to look for. He actually learned the water and fire pill technique, so he wanted to give it a chance. Not bad. Cha Hongya puffed up his chest proudly, and glanced at Xiang Dahe next to him. Seeing that this man still looked taciturn, he was even more sure that he could be chosen. This is awesome. He is the acting island owner of Dan Island and one of the most important people in the Bihai sect. Once he joins his sect, wouldn't it make him prosperous? Fang Qing was noncommittal and glanced at Xiang Dahu. Why are you still so weak? Elder Qi, I didn't have the realm-breaking elixir before. I failed to attack the bottleneck in the late stage of qi refining on my own and suffered a slight injury. Xiang Dahe looked bitter, and it seemed that he was about to miss this opportunity. I am no longer a little kid. It's an injury, but it's an injury to the foundation. If you don't take care of it, it will not only be more difficult to be promoted in the future, but it will LSO be impossible to break through the foundation building. Fang Qing shook his head and made a judgment. As soon as he said this, Zhao Hongye almost cheered. Huh? Xiang Dahu was also shocked. Is it so serious? Your ancestor was also a second-level alchemist. Even though his qualifications were low, how did he get to this point? Fang Qing frowned and asked, Elder Qi, that Master Xiang is not my direct ancestor. He has no children in his life. I am a distant relative. Xiang Dahu's heart becomes more and more bitter. If he has a foundation-building elder as his, how could a patron get into this position? I see, Fang Qing nodded to himself. If he had a close disciple or a direct descendant, the water and fire pill art might not be left to him. Forget it, just keep it. He pointed at Xiang Dahu and said, Elder? Zhao Hongye was stunned in place, seemingly even more unbelievable than Xiang Dayu. In terms of beauty and cultivation potential. What's wrong with her? Huh? Fang Qing slightly released his foundation-building momentum, which immediately shocked Zhao Hongye. The little girl made a mistake, please ask the elders to punish her. That's it, let's go down. He waved his hand and dismissed Zhao Hongye casually. He had a clear conscience about old man Zhao. He felt that he owed him something, so of course he would not promote him specially. Then he looked at Xiang Dahu. You will live in a cottage next to the spiritual field outside my cave. You will be responsible for farming and pest control. Inside my cave, no one can enter without an edict. Do you understand? Understood, thank you elder for your support. Xiang Dahu was overjoyed. After sending this person away, Fang Qing would certainly not immediately give him something to repair the foundation. This kind of servant must be observed for a period of time to confirm that he is diligent and capable before he can show mercy. It's a good little white mouse that can be used to test the water of Rai. Or even in the future. That's all, let's just use it as a backup first. In the blink of an eye, several months passed. The world of Zaya Wanhai immortal cultivation is turbulent. Not only does a pill-forming monk occupy Tianxin Island, but he also blatantly becomes the leader of the sea-destroying alliance and opposes the Baiheman in a high-profile manner. The Bihai sect was not to be outdone. In addition to several fierce battles between the ancestors of the pill formation, Chuizhi also frequently led his law enforcement disciples to attack and kill the monks of the Sea Alliance. The two sides went back and forth in Zaya Wanhai, forcing many casual cultivators and foundation-building forces to take sides. For a time, a confrontation between the two camps formed. Of course, all of this seems to have nothing to do with Dan Island under the protection of the Baiheman formation. Inside the Dam Palace, Fang Qing took the lead and flipped through several alchemy books at will. He came to be the master of this alchemy palace. He didn't do many things, but he read a lot of various alchemy books. Especially the Tianding Alchemy Sutra was very inspiring to him. It even contained several third-level elixir recipes collected by Tianding elders, which made Fang Qing find everything new and fresh. Gold-forming elixir is an elixir of elixir formation in the world of immortal cultivation in the East China Sea. It can increase the foundation-building perfection, that is, the fake elixir monks have a 20 to 30% chance of breaking through the elixir-forming elixir. It's a pity that the required materials have long been extinct in Xiao Huanhai. Even when Ling Hujin broke through, he couldn't use this. Most of the foundation-building monks here in Xiao Huanhai relied on their qualifications to break through the core formation, or they used some third-level heavenly materials and earthly treasures to assist, such as the third-level Ice Soul Cold Heart. This kind of behavior is not only wasteful, but in terms of assistance, it is not as good as the specialized Jingjin elixir. Elder Tianding included this elixir recipe, and he obviously had some thoughts about elixir formation, but unfortunately he became desperate later. He has recorded it in the alchemy book. It is difficult to find the main material of Jingjia Dan, and it is even more nonsense to try to substitute it. After all, Tianding is only a second-level high-level alchemist, not a third-level high-level alchemist. With his alchemy skills, even modifying the auxiliary ingredients of the Jingjia elixir recipe is enough. But for me, I can remember first. If I go to the East China Sea to cultivate immortality in the future, it might be useful. Fang Qing swept his consciousness and found that Hualingsu and Gongsusu were no longer in the Dam Palace. Obviously, after he became the lord of the alchemy palace, many people below him would look at his face and try to figure out his thoughts. Wulongzi, Gongsusu, and even Hualingsu, who had had issues with Fang Qing before, all lost their positions in the alchemy palace and were sent outside the mountain gate to be beaten to death. With the current level of damage to the Baiheman monks, the master of Chuizhi Palace must be very happy to receive these three talents. I even heard that news spread that Cha Hongya was disliked by him for some reason, and was also sent to Chuizhi's command. At this time, Han Qingfeng walked in, his expression not very good. Old Han, what happened? Fang Qing asked casually. Palace Master. The official document from Hualong Pond is here. They killed more than 20 second-level snakes and took out 10 second-level demon cores, which can be used as the main materials for refining the foundation-building elixir. Han Qingfeng looked a little angry. He also specially opened the sex warehouse, took out the 3 demon cores accumulated during the previous beast tide, and sent them all to you. It is not easy for my junior brother to act for the elixir palace, so I specifically support. It doesn't matter even if you refine less. Oh? Fang Qing smiled inexplicably after hearing this. If we use more resources than before, but the foundation building pills are far less than expected, won't we have to endure a lot of criticism and resentment? That's right. It's clear that we want to give us a good look. Han Qingfeng thought for a while and said tentatively, Palace Master. Have you offended someone? How can I have an enemy if I work hard? Fang Qing spread his hands innocently. It's just that the wind will destroy it. I am young and have a shallow cultivation. I am afraid that many people will look down on me. There is also Qin Rushue, who is now the master of the Formation Island. If it weren't for the difficulty of cultivating formation masters and the sect needs her to preside over the formation, I'm afraid she would have faced even more difficulties than me. Even these people on Dan Island will obey? If nothing else, did those who sent Gong Susu and others away really want to follow his wishes, or did they do so deliberately to create the illusion that he was overbearing and petty? What about punishing those who check the red leaves? The other party is not a monk from Dan Island, so there is no need to flatter him so much. In this way, even if you are caught, you can say that you are loyal and considerate of the palace master. Even pleading guilty without saying a word makes Fang Qing look suspicious. In short, sitting in this position, no matter what you do, it is wrong. Huh? What should we do? Han Qingfeng actually regretted it. He only blamed himself for not thinking clearly before and boarded the pirate ship. I want to jump off the ship now, but I wonder if it's too late. I'm afraid I can only go all out to refine the foundation establishment pill this time. Fang Qing sighed and seemed to be very dejected. Oh, it's difficult to do things. In fact, if he goes all out, he can guarantee that every demon core will be refined into 3 foundation establishment pills, surpassing the alchemy skills of Elder Tianding, becoming the undisputed master of the Dan Island, and blocking everyone's mouth. But why bother? After being the acting palace master for so many years, I have taken all the benefits that I should get, and I have also seen the pill prescriptions that I should see. It is time to retreat bravely. After that, alchemy is just a little more fun. If you perform too well, you will have endless burdens. Of course, you can't screw up, otherwise the sect will hold you accountable. Maintain the skills of a second-level alchemy master, just don't go up or down. Half a month later. Hongquan Peak. Xiang Dahu is not an alchemist, so he can only wander at the foot of the mountain, watching the spiritual spring on the top of the mountain overflowing and turning into a medicinal spring surrounding the entire mountain. His eyes are full of envy. The foundation establishment pill. Every time Dan Island opens a pool to refine the foundation establishment pill, it is a major event in Baihaman, and all advanced alchemists have to go and work on it. The other disciples watched from the outside of Hongquan Peak and joined in the fun. Just 5 days ago, Fang Qing followed the practice of Elder Tianding and preached about the foundation building elixir recipe and his own understanding at the podium, and then announced the recruitment of all available alchemists to officially open the pool for alchemy. It's another true discipleship held every 10 years. I wonder who will be selected this time. True disciples don't have to perform tasks forcibly. I really envy us. Most of the disciples are envious and looking forward to it. There is only a little discordant sound. Voice. The acting palace master's alchemy skills are average. I'm afraid he will have to waste a lot of materials. If he can't get 25 genuine pieces, it will be great fun. Humph, who is gossiping about it? Ruining the reputation of my alchemy island? Xiang Dahe glared and saw a master of the 9th level of qi refining. When the other party saw him, he was disdainful at first, and then when he heard the brothers around him whispering about Xiang Dahe's identity, he became a little resentful. He didn't say anything harsh, just covered his face and left. So, by becoming an elder servant, my status will be improved? Xiang Dahe didn't expect that he would be in the middle of qi refining and that he would drink the 9th level qi refining monks one day, and he couldn't help but feel a little crazy. It's begun. At this moment, there were several more shouts, attracting everyone's attention. All the disciples looked at the top of Hongquan Peak with bright eyes. The top of the peak, beside the 3rd level cold spring. Fang Qing's consciousness spread out and controlled the entire audience. This collection of alchemy is a time-saving and labor-saving move for the main alchemist. Someone has done all the basic steps for me. I only need to concentrate on refining the 2nd level demon core and the final step of combining the medicine. No wonder that after gathering the crowd, the level of the refined elixir can be increased by a small level. Well, the main ingredients have the right medicinal properties, let's pass it on. He made a secret with one hand and let the main ingredients flow along the spring to the second-level alchemist on the mountainside. He felt quite emotional in his heart. Thinking back to that time, when I was just promoted to the first-level alchemy master, I was just an ant at the foot of the mountain, assisting in refining the Xuanchuang water. This kind of mysterious frost water must be combined with 2 other spiritual waters on the mountainside to become a second-level spiritual water before it can process the auxiliary material, green dragon ginseng. Now, Fang Qing occupies the 3rd-level spiritual pool and is the master of this alchemy. The gap is simply heaven and earth. The processing of century-old stone milk needs to be speeded up. Old Han, you preside over the cold and hot springs, and use the hot refining method to extract the medicinal properties of the San Kaiwa. The foundation-building elixir has been refined many times. At this time, it is easy to adjust the progress of each second-level spiritual pool and check for deficiencies. Han Qingfeng received the divine consciousness and refined it step by step, secretly surprised in his heart. This level of fluency is almost as good as that of senior brother Tianding. Alas, senior brother Tianding really has a sharp eye, and the acting master's alchemy skills are far better than mine. At the top of the peak, Fang Qing made a secret with both hands, and the cold spring water turned into water dragons, swallowing all 13 second-order demon cores. Many second-level alchemists had different expressions when they saw the scene. If you are not confident enough, you can prolong the time of refining the elixirs and refine them one by one. But now Fang Qing has chosen to do it at the same time. It can be said to be confident or arrogant. If the alchemy fails, you will definitely be impeached. The combination of 9 dragons, sinking, descending, dividing, combining, Fang Qing constantly changes his handprints, and every step is in line with the standards, making it impossible to make mistakes. He seemed to be fully focused, but in fact he still had some energy left to check the assembly line below. These second-level alchemy masters are trying their best, but also, everyone has eyes and spiritual awareness. You can basically tell which one is not working hard when refining alchemy. The most important thing is that I am here, why should I ruin my reputation? And, the medicinal materials sent were not tampered with. After all, they are all members of the sect, and the interests of the sect must be considered. If such tricks are used, there is no guarantee that they will not be discovered. This is a clever conspiracy to push the boat along, and wait for me to fail. It's a pity that Fang Qing's alchemy skills are even better than Tianding. If he is determined, he can open the eyes of these people. Tianding refining the foundation-building pills can produce 2 genuine pills, 1 inferior pill, and occasionally all 3 are genuine. My alchemy skills are slightly worse than his, and I can stabilize 2 genuine pills. Occasionally, 1 more inferior pill will be enough. Fang Qing had already made up his mind and shouted, "Start the combined pill. Add the bilong ginseng first." Huh? As time passed by, not only Han Qingfeng, but also the other second-level alchemy masters of the foundation establishment couldn't help but admire. As expected of the acting palace master, this method of combining alchemy is only inferior to that of the old palace master. Under the auspices of Fang Qing, the second-order demon core was smoothly refined, and blended into the essence of green dragon ginseng, century-old stone milk, 3-talent flour, and other medicinal liquids. It began to be steadily combined, and the prototype of the elixir slowly appeared. Unconsciously, several months passed. At the bottom of the 3rd-level cold spring, more than 30 pieces of blue light lie quietly. Get up. Fang Qing looked a little tired, and he made fists with his hands. Water dragons formed from the bottom of the pool, each holding a blue light in their mouths, and flew out of the spiritual spring. Crash, BR. During this period, a few water dragons occasionally collapsed, and the prototype of the pill exploded, completely destroyed. In the end, 29 water dragons hovered stably, and the foundation-building pill in his mouth finally took shape. Huh? Han Qingfeng swept his consciousness and knew in his heart, 29 Qingdan, 26 genuine, 3 inferior. It seems that the palace master used the method of sacrificing pills, sacrificing several bad pills to increase the probability of achieving genuine pills. There are only 25 true disciples, so the 26 genuine foundation-building pills have met the minimum requirements, with 1 more genuine pill and 3 inferior pills. Of course, if it were the elder Tianding, the pill yield rate would be higher. And Fang Qing's pill success rate gives people a sense of wonder. The feeling of being neither good nor bad, barely enough, but not up to expectations. The people behind the scenes must have been very troubled when they saw this scene. Fang Qing ignored this. After handing over the foundation establishment pill to Shi Tianxin, who came in person, he returned to the Xuanbi cave to cultivate on the grounds that the magic power was too much. All the tasks were left to Han Qingfeng. Not long after, the sect's true inheritance competition ended successfully, and occasionally unfavorable remarks about Fang Qing came out. He didn't care at all, but he calmed down to practice, occasionally playing with Qin Rushue, and occasionally observing Xiong Dahu. This boy was neither arrogant nor impatient. He had been living in a thatched hut outside the cave, and spent most of his time practicing and taking care of his soul. He was taciturn when he occasionally went out to trade necessary items, and never revealed the secrets of Xuanbi Cave. Fang Qing had a good impression of this son, and planned to give him a bottle of sweet rain water to help repair the damage to his foundation. Until this day, an unexpected visitor came to the door. Brother Tianding? Fang Qing looked at the Tianding and found that this senior brother looked good. His hair had grown a lot, he had a beard, and his temperament had changed drastically. He looked like a knight-errant. On the other hand, his realm could be maintained at the late stage of foundation establishment. Congratulations, senior brother, your cultivation has been restored. He ordered Xiong Dahu to serve tea and said with a smile, thanks to the spiritual water given by junior brother, otherwise my brother's injury would never have recovered so quickly. Tianding said with a smile. Senior brother also collected a second-level high-grade healing elixir. With that spiritual water, he finally did not fall into the great realm. That's it. Fang Qing probably understood. At this time, they exchanged a few words, and Elder Tianding looked quite embarrassed on his face. Junior brother was only the temporary master of the palace. Now that senior brother has recovered, he should return to his position. Fang Qing said, and took out the bronze token. Hey! How can I bear this? Tianding's face turned red. He did not expect that his injuries would recover so quickly. Furthermore, he took away his junior brother's power and position as soon as he came out of seclusion, which felt like repaying kindness with revenge. Haha, junior brother happened to have nothing to do. As long as senior brother doesn't force me to go to the battlefield. Fang Qing laughed and forced the bronze token over. Now that he has benefited enough, it is time to retire. Presumably for this reason, Tianding will not care about some of his actions while acting as the master of the palace. What's more, he and Qin Rushue are outside. It seemed to the world that she was an adulterer, and she occupied Dan Island and Jean Island to open a mom-and-pop shop. It was a good time to take a step back to hide herself. After Elder Tianding left, Fang Qing looked at Xiong Dahu who was standing next to him and said with a smile, Dahu. I will no longer be the acting palace master, but I can take care of the herbal garden myself when I have free time. How about I write a book and recommend you to help senior brother Tianding? Elder, please don't drive me away. Xiong Dahu hurriedly knelt down and said, young man is what he is now. Please thank the elders for your blessings and don't dare to vote for others, you. Sigh, Fang Qing waved his hand, but did not give the treasure immediately. He was going to see how this big tiger performed when he was down and out. After all, a person's character may be completely different in good times and bad times. The typical one is Li Rulong. After sending Xiong Dahu away, Fang Qing took stock of the storage bags. He has gained a lot during his time as the master of Dan Island. Well, no matter what, it's just the collection of third-level gold-forming elixir recipes and even barrier-breaking elixir materials. All good val. UE for money. Among them, Fang Qing has collected more than 50% of the materials for the second-level high-grade barrier-breaking pill. He estimates that it will still be at least 10 or 20 years before he reaches the peak of the middle stage of foundation building, so there is no need to rush and collect it slowly. That's it. As for the main ingredients and auxiliary elixirs in the Jin Dan recipe? Even with Tianding's connections and experience, the entire Bihai sect couldn't get enough resources, so Fang Qing had no choice but to leave it alone. Elder Tianding came out of the mountain again, and Fang Qing immediately resumed his previous leisurely life in Nanshan. Of course, it's just that he feels this way. In fact, outside the Bihaimen it is completely dire straits. Various battles between monks emerge one after another, and the world of immortality is in chaos. This also leads to the prevalence of calamity cultivators, which makes the low-level casual cultivators miserable. Inside Xuanbi Cave, Qin Rushue cut a piece of spiritual fruit and brought it to Fang Qing's lips. Master, is that Xiong Dahu still suitable for use? It's okay. Fang Qing swept his consciousness and saw Xiong Dahu working diligently in the spiritual field outside the cave. Because this person did not show any other thoughts even when he was down, so he passed the test. Not long ago, Fang Qing officially gave Xiong Dahu a bottle of Gonlin spring water to help him repair the damage to his foundation. Click. The spiritual fruit turns into a pure stream of ice when entering the mouth, leaving a fragrant fragrance on the teeth and cheeks, which is endlessly memorable. This ice spirit fruit is indeed a specialty of Taibai Island. In the past, only the ancestors and direct descendants of the Zhong family could enjoy it, but now it has flown into the homes of ordinary monks. He took another bite and couldn't help but praise it. At this time, Qin Rushue came over with a few more transmission notes. Young master. There are transmission notes from the sect, and one of them belongs to Chuizha? Isn't this master of the punishment hall actually in charge of the external war? Fang Qing was slightly surprised. Nian. The reason why the transmission notes were issued was to apologize. All the disciples such as Gong Susu and Hua Lingsu sent by Dandao were killed in this ambush. And the same is true for Cha Hongye, dead? This is a battle between monks, life is as cheap as grass, Fang Qing sighed, and there was no more. Anyway, he has retreated, so outsiders won't think it was him who signaled Cuizhe to kill him, right? On the other hand, Cuizhe, as the #1 sword cultivator in our sect, his combat power is almost comparable to that of the late Foundation establishment. Could it be that he has met Master He Yuan? He wondered. No. If he meets Master He Yuan, this person will not be able to come back. The Sea-Destroying Alliance respects Master He Yuan, and the monks mostly teach magic skills. The ones who ambushed and seriously injured Cuizhe before were the remnants of Tianqin Lianlian Island, Lu Qianfan. This person is a second-level puppet master with a mid-stage foundation building cultivation. He should have recently broken through to the late-stage foundation building stage with magic secrets. He led several second-order puppets and many demonic monks to ambush Cuizhe. Cuizhe was only in the middle-stage foundation establishment after all. When he encountered late-stage foundation establishment monks and was surrounded by second-order puppets, it was considered good to escape with his life. This is Mu Shouyu Lin. Cuizhe, as the most famous foundation-building monk of the younger generation of our sect, has excellent spiritual roots and qualifications, and is the seat of Pil formation, so he will definitely receive special attention. Fang Qing shook his head and said indifferently, if you want to live forever, you should stick to the sect like you and me, and have fewer grudges and fights with others. Qin Rushue covered her lips and smiled softly. Young master thinks he is a mere cultivator, but he is not. As far as I know, the Sea Extermination Alliance has offered rewards to high-level monks in our sect, including foundation building, pill-forming techniques, secret techniques, spiritual weapons, second-level realm-breaking elixirs, etc. This blacklist has been spread throughout Zio Wanhai. Both the young master and I are on it. As the sect's high-level production talents, they will definitely be rewarded. This is to be expected. Fang Qing was about to record the jade slips on the blacklist. His consciousness swept away and he was speechless. It's too much. Among the many second-level alchemists on Dan Island, my reward is only slightly worse than Tianding. How can I go out in the future? Don't worry, young master, after all, there are only a few major repairs in the later stages of Xiao Huanhai's foundation building, and even fewer among casual cultivators and aristocratic families, Qin Rushue said. She is the person who knows Fang Qing's strength best and is extremely confident in Fang Qing. Haha, Fang Qing smiled and said nothing. For Fei Qidao, I dare not say that, but for Xiao Huanhai, his plum blossomy is still enough. Even if you go shopping, you can avoid deadly dangers such as Master He Yuan on a whim. When you said that, I remembered it. I just took this opportunity to go out and collect some rare medicinal materials. In the past, those rare medicinal materials were treasured by the Foundation establishment family and were difficult to escape. However, as the war broke out, some aristocratic family islands were directly conquered, while others tried to reveal their secrets and wanted to exchange them for talismans and magic weapons to temporarily increase their combat power. In general, there are more opportunities, but also more dangers. By the way, Master, there is another clue about the second-grade high-grade obstacle-breaking pill recipe you ordered, Qin Rushue said. Oh? Which one is it? Fang Qing became energetic. The earlier you prepare for this elixir to break through the late stage of foundation building, the better prepared you will be. It's Zhonghua. There is a plant of the spirit shell in the Zhou family medicine garden. I had originally agreed to trade it with my concubine. But in the past few days, I suddenly changed my mind and prepared to send it to the black market auction on Sanyuan Island. I think I want a higher price. Black market auction? I don't know who organized it, so bold. Fang Qing's eyes lit up, and he secretly calculated in his heart, and he became interested. It should be that several foundation-building forces have joined forces to ensure safety in the late stage of foundation building, Qin Rushue said. Master, do you want me to come forward to bid? If you go out, you will definitely be paid better than Cuizhe. Maybe Master He Yuan will ambush him personally, so let's forget it, I'll go there myself. Fang Qing took out the mirage beads from the storage bag, and wisps of mirage energy emerged, and combined with the disguise technique, he instantly transformed into the sword cultivator Fang Jin who had appeared in ancient Shu. Not only that, even the magic power in the body has been transformed, even Wan Jishuan might not be able to recognize it in person. I won't go through the main entrance. I will go out directly through the gap in the formation. Remember to leave a back door for me. Now Qin Rushue is fully in charge of the sex formation. The 7 mysterious bi-wave formation is like Fang Qing's back garden. You can come in and out as you want. Thinking about it this way, it is true that if he becomes the master of Dan Island again, it will be too harmful to Baihaman. No wonder he will be secretly resisted. A few days later. Fang Qing is dressed in a green robe, with straight sword eyebrows, full of heaven, flying with the sword of Sha Palang. He is now converting Lu Jin magic power into a pure swordsman. He uses the art of merging human and sword into one, turning it into a sword energy like smoke and mist, coming and going in all directions, which is very satisfying. In terms of escape speed, this sword escape method is even faster than the light escape method used by monks in the late stage of Foundation establishment to fly at full speed. It is even more flexy. In terms of flexibility, and its concealment is also very good. The purpose of Fang Qing's trip is Sanyuan Island. This island is located at the junction of the three major forces of Baihaman, Tianqin Island, and Taibaijongjia. There was originally a Sankaifang city. Now that we are experiencing war, business in Sankaifang city is better than before. Even this black market auction was held near Sankaifang city. Speaking of it, except for the last war, I really rarely go out. Fang Qing browsed the scenery of each island and couldn't help but think deeply. It has to be said that since the former great spiritual planter passed down the methods of spiritual algae and sea rice, the mortals in Xiao Huanhai can basically have enough food and clothing, and their lives are pretty good. Even if there is a war in the world of cultivators, as long as they are not the kind of blood demon cultivators, they will not specifically target mortals. So the life of the mortals in Xiao Huanhai is pretty good. Of course, it is normal to encounter shipwrecks and monsters in the sea. In general, it grows vigorously and tenaciously like weeds. Of course, the biggest thing happening in Xiao Huanhai now is the war between Baihaman and the Sea-Destroying Alliance. Both sides used Bu Island and Tianqin Island as their strongholds, and released a large number of monks to fight and fight, vying for one resource point after another. Fang Qing's consciousness was now 50 feet away, and as far as he could see, he saw a group of monks fighting. A few of them were wearing Baihaman's standard blue robes. They were obviously Baihaman disciples, but they were now running for their lives. The one chasing these disciples was a Foundation establishment monk wearing a black robe. His cultivation level was only around the early stage of Foundation establishment. In the past, at the early stage of Foundation building, he was already the core figure of the Sea Destruction Alliance. But now? Just average. Master He Yuan is said to have brought a lot of Foundation building pills, and he has also recruited his subordinates. He can command many Foundation building monks. Of course, the total number of Baihaman is definitely greater, so Baihaman still has some remaining power and occupies Taibai Island. Huh? Among those Qi refining disciples, there was actually an acquaintance, Wei Gudong from the Immortal Fate Conference back then? Fang Qing's mind moved when he saw an old man. When I was promoted to true successor, this person also gave me generous gifts. That's all, we are from the same sect after all. He secretly converted a trace of Ji Shui mana, turned his sword light, came behind the Foundation building demon cultivator, and shouted softly, "Fellow Taoist, please stay." Huh? When the chasing demon Foundation building cultivator heard this voice, for some reason, he actually stopped escaping the light. Why did I stop? He was a little confused. When he turned his head, he saw stars in the sky and a sword light like lightning and fog. Whoosh! With a flash of sword light, the man's head fell off. Sword masters fight, life and death are only a matter of seconds. What's more, Fang Qing also secretly used the talent spell of Power of Words to make the opponent stunned for a moment. He had no time to take out the defensive spiritual weapon. Only the defensive light shield transformed by his own magic power was naturally easily pierced by the slaying wolf. The first time the sword was unsheathed, it drank the blood of a Foundation builder. It's not bad. Fang Qing thought to himself, and with a flash of sword light, he picked up the storage bag on the headless corpse. This monk in the early stage of Foundation building is very poor, and there are not many good things in the storage bag. There are only a few black jade slips, with a disturbing aura, which should be passed down by the devil. You can refer to it. He was about to leave, but found that several disciples of the Baihaman had stopped to escape. One of the old men saluted respectfully. "I'm Wei Gudong, thank you senior for the rescue." "I don't know. Senior, my surname is Gao. I will make offerings day and night to repay my great kindness." On the flying boat, Wei Gudong bowed respectfully, with a cold sweat on his forehead. When was there such a powerful swordsman in Xiao Wanhai? Just killed a Foundation building murderer with one sword? The only ones who can easily kill those in the early stages of Foundation building are the late-stage overhauls and even the ancestors of the Pill formation. Even Palace Master Cui is probably far inferior to such a person. I am a casual cultivator. I just don't see the rampant demonic ways. You can go on your own. Fang Qing had no idea of exposing his identity, maintained his aloof image, and flew away with his sword. Whoosh! After flying dozens of miles, he slowed down his sword light and took out a black jade slip. Blood-destroying technique? With a sweep of his consciousness, the skill in the jade slip emerged. The magic technique emphasizes quick results. Although this evil blood technique only has the foundation building part, the advantage is that even those with low qualifications can progress very quickly. Moreover, if you encounter bottlenecks in the middle or late stages, you can break through by refining the essence and blood of the foundation-building monks, and the effect is slightly worse than taking the barrier-breaking pill. Fang Qing studied it and couldn't help but feel a little awe-inspiring. Proficiency in demonic skills does have advantages, but it also makes it easier to become possessed. And according to the Bahayman classics, if you break through with monk's essence and blood, you may make rapid progress in the early stage, but you will easily encounter more difficult bottlenecks in the later stage and be trapped for life. It can only be said that there are advantages and disadvantages. On the other hand, in ancient Shu, I don't seem to have heard that taking blood energy can lead to bottlenecks. Sure enough, the magic is so prosperous. He flipped through several other jade slips, but he didn't see the famous black magic fire secret technique that burned senior brother Tianding bald. There is only one secret technique that can quickly restore mana by destroying the body's potential and burning essence and blood. Fang Qing only glanced at it and ignored it. It seems that the person he killed in the early stage of foundation building only had an average status in the Sea Destruction Alliance. Regardless of the skills or secret techniques, it was all that most broaden his horizons. Recalling the process of fighting just now, Fang Qing knows that the ancient Shu Taoism here is quite like a dimensionality reduction attack, ignoring the numerical values and relying entirely on the mechanism. Sanyuan Island. This island has 3 major islands, 1 main and 2 auxiliary, arranged in 3 directions. Each island is guarded by a large formation. Fang City is located on the main island, and the other 2 smaller islands are occupied by the 2 major foundation-building families, the Liu family and the Jiang family. These 2 families are also the main shareholders of Fang City. The Liu family has 3 foundation-building monks, one of whom has reached the middle stage and is in his prime. Although the other Jiang family has only one ancestor who is in the early stage of foundation building, he controls a second-level mid-level spiritual beast, the Wanshou turtle. This turtle has extraordinary blood. Although it grows extremely slowly, it is extremely talented. It barely has the combat power in the late stage of foundation building. It has killed 2 tribulation cultivators in the early stage of foundation building. Because of this, the Jiang family's status is slightly higher than that of the Liu family. They are one of the owners behind this black market auction, providing high-end force protection. This auction is a black market auction and is not held in Fang City. It's a cover-up. With a smile on his face, Fang Qing walked into Fang City on the main island. There were many pedestrians on the road, most of them monks in the qi refining stage. There were various stalls on both sides, displaying spiritual herbs, medicine bottles, ancient coins, magical instruments, raw ores and other sundries. It turned out to be a foundation-building overhaul. This senior looked so young. Fang Qing did not hide his foundation-building momentum while walking, which immediately made many monks give way in awe. His expression was indifferent. Occasionally, his consciousness swept over the elixirs and minerals on the stall, and he couldn't help but shake his head secretly. Maybe it's because I usually come into contact with more good things in the sect. Looking at it now, it feels a bit unbearable to look at it. Most of these minerals, flowers, and plants are first-level low-grade, and there are few even middle-grade ones. Fang Qing was speechless. I heard that some casual cultivators once picked up the fragments of ancient spiritual treasures, and they skyrocketed to the sky. But I am proficient in divination, and I didn't even pick up any leaks. Occasionally, a few interesting-looking fragments and the like can be seen clearly under the sweep of his spiritual consciousness. They are artificially made to trick the pickers. There are also several first-grade and near second-grade spiritual objects. The stall owner seems to be throwing them in the corner without caring. In fact, he glances at them from time to time, obviously fishing. This world of immortality. The water is just average, at least it can't drown me. That's how simple the people are. Fang Qing sighed in his heart, turned around and walked into a shop in Fang City. Good thing, at least the treasures of the store are at the second level. He bought a few second-level elixirs from a herbal shop, and then turned around and entered an attic with a plaque of red sleeves. Nothing to do today, just listen to music. A few days later, on an island not far from Fang City, 2 9th-level qi refining monks. He was guarding the entrance to the black market auction with a lingering evil spirit. When it got late, a few streams of light occasionally fell. Most of them covered their bodies, took out their vouchers, and entered the venue. Stop. One auction voucher can only be entered by one person. At this moment, the 2 men stopped a pair of monks who looked like grandfathers and grandsons from outside the auction. 2. The old man brought his granddaughter to open his eyes. Please be accommodating. the grandfather was in the middle stage of chi refining, with a smile on his face, and secretly stuffed a few spiritual stones over. What do you think of our auction? If you make more noise, you will be beaten to death. The two ninth-level chi refining monks were furious and slapped down the spirit stone with a wave of their hands. At this moment, the sword light flashed, and a young man's shadow fell on the reef. Senior, please. The two masters of the ninth level of chi refining immediately changed their attitudes, nodded and bowed, especially enthusiastic. Yes, Fang Qing swept his consciousness and found that the girl wearing a veil had rosy cheeks and almond-shaped eyes, and her skin could be broken by blows. She was barely a beauty. Unfortunately, I have become a little tired of aesthetics in the past few days, so I didn't bother to pay more attention to it, so I just walked into the passage of the auction venue. Behind the back, there was also the indignant voice of the little girl. Why can he go in without even a voucher? Haha. Girl, just because I am a foundation building major, you are so clueless. We brothers won't let you in, but it's for your own good. Otherwise, you and your grandson are so young and careless, right? If you really go in, you might become a commodity tonight, huh? Unexpectedly, the two guards, looking so fierce and evil, were quite humane. Fang Qing nodded secretly, and when he arrived at the auction venue, he saw an underground cave with a semicircular platform built. The Jasper Palace lanterns lit up, illuminating each box. There are many seats under the box, many of which are already occupied by people sitting cross-legged. Most of them are mid to late-stage chi refining monks. Another major foundation-building cultivator is here. Seeing Fang Qing, many monks looked in awe, with a hint of envy. He is still a new face, and there have been a lot more unfamiliar foundation-building cultivators recently. I heard that the Sea Destroying Alliance not only distributed a large number of foundation-building pills as rewards for meritorious service. There is also a secret method that allows monks at the ninth level of chi refining to break through the foundation building without the need for foundation-building pills. If you use the magic method to break through the foundation building quickly, your lifespan may be greatly damaged, and you may even stay in the early stage of foundation building forever, a more mature monk sighed. If we can successfully complete the foundation building overhaul, it doesn't matter even if our life is shortened. Another young man didn't know the preciousness of youth and longevity, his eyes were shining. Fang Qing naturally turned a deaf ear to these comments. As soon as he entered the venue, a woman in grey robe greeted him. The distinguished guest is a foundation building overhaul, please enter the box. In this venue, except for the Tianyu room, fellow Taoists can choose at will. As long as the lights in the room are not lit, there are no monks included. Yes, Fang Qing cherished his words like gold and flew into a box at will. This box was set up with a layer of barrier restriction. After his mana was injected, a Jasper Palace lantern lit up immediately. In addition, there is a roster on the square table. He opened it at will and found that it was tonight's auction catalog. The first item was a first-class high-grade elixir, chalcedony pill. This elixir can help monks who have reached the 6th level of chi refining to break through bottlenecks and advance to the later stages of chi refining. It can be regarded as a small masterpiece. Other than that, there are just a bunch of top-quality magic weapons, talismans, elixirs, and so on. There are actually turtle eggs laid by the second-order Wancho turtle. Fang Qing glanced at it and didn't have much interest in this kind of spiritual pet. After all, spiritual pets like the longevity turtle are notoriously slow to grow. One turtle is passed down to 3 generations, and the turtle will still be there even if people leave. And, if he really wanted to train assistants, wouldn't it be easier to just instill a few quick foundations at will? We found the second-grade high-grade elixir, Qiang which is all in the later lots. Fang Qing looked at the last few auctions, and found that Qiang could only be regarded as average. The most popular thing should be a genuine foundation establishment pill. You can even get the foundation establishment pill. This auction is quite powerful. He took a look and found that there were a few good items, such as a second-level mid-grade spiritual weapon and a secret inheritance. Xuanfeng Shadowless Escape? The first 3 levels of this escape technique are suitable for practicing in the foundation building period. The last 4 levels require monks with elixir formation or above to master it. It is said that the early stage only increases the escape speed, and the later stage allows monks to comprehend the wind escape technique. This escape technique is one of the fastest escape techniques in the world of immortality, as famous as thunder escape and sword escape. Of course, the ones on the auction are only incomplete techniques, only the first 4 levels, and it requires wind spirit roots or wind attribute spirits to practice. The value has dropped a lot. Fang Qing looked at it thoughtfully. His birth name is Jishui, and Jishui likes wind, so he is quite good at practicing wind attribute spells. Maybe you can buy it, for reference? Anyway, after he became a trader in 2 worlds, he still had no shortage of the most basic spiritual stones. While Fang Qing was thinking about it, there was a commotion at the auction venue. Fang Qing's consciousness sensed that a late-stage foundation-building monk had entered the scene, and there was also a relatively powerful demonic aura. 2 late-stage foundation-building combat capabilities? This security is barely acceptable. It's a pity that there is no talisman that I want most. This is purely because he is overthinking. The talisman requires the Master Jidan to weaken the power of the magic weapon before it can be refined. Almost everyone has a trace, and it is basically impossible to leak it. Unless a monk is lucky and happens to find the cave left by the previous generation of alchemy monks. Even so, as a very powerful talisman that can be activated even during the chi refining period, it must be used as a trump card and is unlikely to be sold. Welcome all comrades to come to the black market auction. After the 2 major foundation-building late-stage combat forces were in place, colorful forbidden brilliance lit up, focusing on the semicircular platform. A woman in a purple dress with a smoky look and charming demeanor, and a mature charm in every move appeared, and she bowed to all the people around her. That person seems to be Jiang Zian, the elder of the Jiang family? He has perfected his strength in chi refining. Many chi refining monks below were talking about it, and some of them were soul-granting, and they were obviously caught in the charm of this woman. Okay. Without further ado, I will start the auction of the first item, Chalcedony pill. This pill can help. Jiang Zian smiled sweetly and started to auction the pill. Fang Qing looked at the many shocked chi refining monks below, looked at the booklet in his hand, and couldn't help but shake his head. These chi refining monks at most occasionally heard about some foundation building pills. They had no idea how many good things there would be in this auction, and they were all shocked. Little did he know that these lots could not be seen clearly in the eyes of the foundation building monks in the box. Even, just by relying on this roster, you can plan sniper attacks calmly, causing the opponent to consume a lot of spirit stones in advance, etc. The second level longevity turtle egg only costs 500 spirit stones. Gwen is the best spirit beast to guard the family home and inherit the clan. There was a hint of provocation in Jiang Zian's voice. With a little investment, there may be a second level clan-suppressing spirit beast in your family in the future, comparable to my Jiang family. This opportunity must not be missed. The time will never come again. The auction house suddenly fell into silence. Obviously, Fang Qing is not the only smart person. The Turtle Egg Foundation building monk looks down on it, and it is a bit expensive for the chi refining monk. The most important thing is that it may not be used in his lifetime. Seeing this, Jiang Zian couldn't help but curse the clan elder who put the Wancho turtle eggs in the auction. The other party hopes to use the auction and his own charm to successfully sell off this unsaleable product. No matter how eloquent she is, most immortal cultivators are good at calculating and would not do such stupid things. You old man, you don't know how to set the price a little lower. Maybe some unsuspecting cultivators will be tricked. Just when Jiang Zian was about to lose her smile, a timid voice rang out, 500 spirit stones. Okay, 500 spirit stones once, twice, 3 times. Deal. Congratulations to this little girl for getting a second-level spirit beast egg. Jiang Zian spoke quickly, fearing that the casual cultivator would regret it. Huh? Fang Qing swept his consciousness and discovered that it was actually the grandfather and grandson at the entrance of the auction, who had been let in again for some reason. What surprised him even more was that this grandson seemed to have a lot of money. Looking at this inexperienced person, did he get the inheritance from his predecessors through good luck, or did he hit by some chance? Don't show off your wealth. It's a disaster, not a blessing. Fang Qing could clearly feel that someone was already greedy for that grandfather and grandson. Perhaps many monks here will transform into tribulation cultivators after the auction. The next lot is one of the highlights of this auction, the ancient secret technique of wind escape, Xuanfeng shadowless escape. This technique comes from ancient cultivation ruins, with a total of 7 layers. Unfortunately, the stone slabs recorded on the last 3 layers were damaged in the battle. But even so, it is a rare escape technique that even the ancestor of the pill formation can practice. It seemed that the previous octi on was too cold, so Jiang Zian secretly changed the order and let the final auction take the stage to heat up the atmosphere. Wind escape is naturally a good tool for chasing enemies and escaping. It's a pity that you need wind attribute spiritual roots or related spiritual bodies to get started. The knowledgeable late-stage chi refining monks in the venue below all shook their heads and sighed. It is not known whether this technique is suitable for monks like us in the chi refining stage to practice. Another chi refining consummation monk frowned, seeming hesitant. They were attracted here, of course, because the auction had spread rumors that the foundation establishment pill would be auctioned, and all the spiritual stones had to be left for last. It's really not worth it to spend a small amount of secret skills. This escape technique is very exquisite. If you are a chi refining monk, as long as your legal body is strong and you practice 1 or 2 levels of body refining, it will not be a big problem to reach the first level. On the stage, Jiang Zian finished the introduction and looked at the major boxes. She knew in her heart that the real main force competing for this thing was the foundation-building monks in these boxes. The ancient secret technique, Xuanfeng Huayanjian, the base price is 2,000 spirit stones, and each increase must not be less than 100 spirit stones. The atmosphere in the box was quiet for a moment, and then a gentle voice sounded, 2,000 spirit stones. The two boxes were mainly bidding, and the price was quickly raised to 3,000. The number 3 box with the word D is from Safeng Castle. Wang Xiaofeng, the ancestor of Safeng Castle, is rumored to have a wind-attributed spirit body. Sure enough, he is quite interested in this technique. The other box should be the casual alchemist Yuan Dancher. He is a second-level fire alchemy master. Although he practices fire attribute skills, he has a Da. Who is the apple of his eye and has prominent wind attribute spiritual roots. Intelligence flashed in Jiang Ziyan's mind. In the end, Yuan Dancher should have succeeded, and the price is between 3,500 and 700 spirit stones. She is also an old auctioneer, and she has a rough estimate of the strength and financial resources of all the distinguished guests. The key is that the ancestor of Safeng Castle still has a large family to take care of, and he really can't spare many spiritual stones. Sure enough. After the quotation for the dizzy number 3 box reached 3,500 spirit stones, he chose to give up. Just when Jiang Ziyan thought it was over, another voice came from the box, 3,700 spirit stones. Huh? Jiang Ziyan's heart moved, thinking of the information collected by the maid below, a strange foundation-building monk, but with powerful magic power, suspected to be a strong man in the middle stage of foundation building. Fang Qing transformed, Lu Jin, Daoji. Although he was only in the early stage of Daoji, he was so powerful on Bu Island that he was directly mistaken for a monk in the middle stage of foundation building. 3,800. 3,900. 4,000. 4,100. In another box, Master Yuan Dan, with red hair and eyebrows, felt the calmness in his opponent's words, so he could only sigh and give up the offer. 4,100 spiritual stones. Congratulations to the senior in box number 7 for obtaining this ancient secret technique. Jiang Ziyan's smile became even brighter. After all, the more spiritual stones auctioned, the greater the benefits for the Jiang family, and the same is true for her. Fang Qing doesn't like any of the next auction items. Even the middle-grade spiritual weapon is inferior to his own 100-soul flag in terms of quality. He waited until he was drowsy, and finally heard Jiang Ziyan's voice, the second-order high-grade elixir Qianhua's. Hi, this elixir is not only the main ingredient of many second-order elixirs, but can also be swallowed directly to increase the mana of monks, or after being boiled, it can be used to refine the body or feed spiritual beasts. The starting price is 1,700 spirit stones, 1,008. 1,009. Dan Master Yuan's eyes lit up when he saw this Qianhuaji. The second-order high-grade medicine is very attractive to him. Furthermore, only in his hands can the value of this precious medicine be maximized. 2,000. I will give you 2,000 spiritual stones. 2,100 spiritual stones. At this moment, the young voice came out from the box number 7, unhurried, with the meaning of determination to win. Dan Master Yuan did not back down this time, but continued to bid, and even came to the vicinity of 4,000 spiritual stones, making him almost think that what was in the opposite box was a trust found at the auction. Forget it, the 4,000 spirit stones are already worth more than Qianhuazi itself, and it is very likely that you will lose money if you make the elixir in my hands. I'm waiting to see your joke. Master Yuan Dan gritted his teeth and stopped quoting. Otherwise, if the other party doesn't follow, it will be a trap for you. 4,000 spirit stones. Congratulations to the senior in box number 7 for obtaining the second-order high-grade elixir, Qianhuaji. Jiang Ziyan was even more excited. As expected, this senior has rich financial resources and has spent nearly 10,000 spirit stones. Such a generous amount of money even made her a little wet, at this time, in another private room. What's going on? That's just Master Yuan Dan, why is there another strange foundation establishment monk? A tall old man with gray hair and ugly facial features was questioning a middle-aged man in black robes. This middle-aged man has the early stage of foundation building, but he's rank in front of the old man. I don't know, according to my news. Qin Ruxue is very interested in this thing, maybe she will come in person, or maybe, she entrusted a fellow disciple to come to the auction? This middle-aged man is surprisingly the ancestor of the Lingbei Zhou family, Zhou Mingjing. The ugly old man next to him is Lu Qianfan, the man who destroyed the Sea Alliance. Obviously, the Lingbei Zhou family has secretly defected to the Sea Destruction Alliance, and even arranged a killing plan against Qin Ruxue, who is at the top of the black list. I just didn't expect that none of the big fish came, only inexplicable people came. That's all, according to my observation, that person's cultivation level is only in the middle stage of foundation building. When the auction is over, you and I will do it together. A cold look flashed in Lu Qianfan's eyes. Are your fragrant insects ready? Of course, my group of fragrant insects has grown up on Qianghua branches and is extremely sensitive to its scent, and will never find a mistake within 100 miles. Zhou Mingjing took out a spirit shell and swore. Yes. If you do your job well, this alliance will not treat you badly. When the time comes, capture this person and collect his essence and blood. I will reward you with a secret technique that will help you break through to the middle stage of foundation building. Easily, Lu Qianfan sat back and waited patiently. Breaking through the late stage of foundation building, his mana and consciousness increased greatly, and his puppet control skills also increased greatly. His strength more than doubled? In Baihaman, as long as it is not Ruan Jishuan, he is not afraid of anyone who comes. Even if he encounters the core foundation of Baihaman holding a talisman, he will use puppets to contain him and escape will not be a problem. At this time, the auction has officially entered the most intense part, the auction of the foundation establishment pill. Tioch. The last item on the lot, the foundation building pill. There was a hint of trembling in Jiang Ziyan's voice. This pill has been identified by an appraiser and is undoubtedly authentic. It can increase the monk's 30% confidence in refining qi and completing the foundation building, and protect the meridians to protect against death if the foundation building fails. The starting price is 5,000 spirit stones.